How did one of DC's most feared vigilantes go from taking down villains of the week
You have failed this city.
to taking down freaking interdimensional beings at the dawn of time?
You have failed this universe.
Well, suit up, because we are about to uncover one of the greatest DC shows of all time, Arrow. The show follows the story of Green Arrow. By night, he brings justice to those that have failed this city, but by day, he's Oliver Queen, a rich billionaire thanks to his family's company, Queen Consolidated. Oliver chose to become a vigilante after he spent 5 years shipwrecked on an island before finding his way home. The experience shaped him from a rich playboy to a self-sacrificing hero, turning him into one of the most feared archers in history. The guy is basically Batman meets Hawkeye, meets a can of green paint. Or a modern-day Robin Hood minus the stealing, if you will. This show was also the first of what will be known as the Arrowverse, as this show becomes a shared universe with several DC shows like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl. We'll even get a few crossover episodes with each show. So yeah, this video is going to be pretty intense. The show begins with Oliver getting rescued from an island called Lian-Yu. He was shipwrecked there 5 years ago after his family's yacht, the Queen's Gambit, capsized during a storm, leaving him as the only survivor. In order to survive on the island, Oliver had to forge himself into a weapon, hence the numerous scars and burns on his body. He donned a green hood for his head and learned how to shoot a bow and arrow with the help of the people he met on the island. He vowed that if he ever returned home, he would bring justice to those that poisoned his city. His family, unfortunately, are some of those people, as their company had been conducting illegal activities. His father, Robert, who was on the yacht, sacrificed himself so that Oliver would one day return home and right the wrongs of his family, and then give him a list of names in a book written in ghost ink. That's a lot to unpack. Oliver returns home to Starling City and is reunited with his mother, Moira, his younger sister, Thea, and his best friend, Tommy Merlin. Oliver learns that while he was missing, Moira married a friend of his father's, who is also now the family company's new CEO, Walter Steele. Oliver is disappointed to learn how quickly Moira moved on after Robert's death. Later, Moira tries to get Oliver a leadership position at the company, but he rejects every attempt because he can't be the vigilante his father wanted him to be and simultaneously be the company man his mother wants him to be. Oliver tries to reconnect with his former girlfriend, Dinah, Laurel Lance, a legal aid attorney fighting corruption. She wants nothing to do with him because he cheated on her with her sister, Sarah, who also died in the shipwreck. Yeah, it's worth noting that when Oliver went missing, Laurel and Tommy started dating. Shockingly, Oliver isn't surprised when they tell him, almost as if he already knew. During all of this, Oliver gives Thea a hosen, a stone arrowhead he found on the island as a symbol of reconnection. Remember this, the hosen will be very important next season. Later, Oliver and Tommy are captured by a group of masked men wanting to know if Robert told Oliver anything specific before he died. Oliver doesn't reveal anything, and then takes them out without killing them, as Oliver wants to adhere to a no-kill rule as a vigilante, something that'll be tested time and time again. Spoiler alert though, he's not great at sticking to this rule. It's later revealed that Moira organized the kidnapping as she wanted to know what Robert told Oliver before he died. How shady is Oliver's family? Back home, Oliver and Tommy are questioned by a detective in the Starling City Police Department, named Quentin Lance. Oliver tells him it was a mysterious green-hooded figure that saved him, but Quentin isn't buying the story. Quentin happens to be Laurel's father and is determined to bring down the Queen family because he blames them for the death of his daughter Sarah. Afterwards, Oliver evades his new war veteran bodyguard, John Diggle, and builds his lair called the Foundry in an abandoned warehouse in the Glades, the most crime-infested area of the city. Oliver's first target in righting the wrongs of his family is to go after corrupt millionaire Adam Hunt. He dons his green hood and bow and arrow and threatens Adam to atone for all the people he's scammed.
Just tell me what you want.
Oliver gives Adam a time frame to deliver the money as a part of his atonement, but Adam purposefully fails to deliver on time. With Quentin's help, Adam organizes a trap for Oliver, but Oliver fearlessly springs the trap, defeating all of Adam's henchmen. Adam ends up escaping, and Oliver is forced to do the same when Quentin arrives with several cops, but Oliver made sure to steal the money before he left. One name down, countless more to go. The next episode begins with Oliver attacking another victim on his list.
Marcus Redmond, you failed this city.
Please, no, please, no.
One of them happens to be Martin Summers. a billionaire with drug connections to the dangerous Chinese triad. This dangerous gang was recently responsible for the death of a dock worker, and Laurel just happens to be representing his daughter. Oliver confronts Summers as the Hood, which is what the media is calling him, and threatens him until he agrees to turn himself in. But as soon as he's released, Summers contacts the triad and they send the assassin, Chien Na Wei, to kill Laurel. Oliver happened to be with Laurel at the moment, as he was trying to reconnect with her after failing the first time. He protects Laurel from Chien along with Diggle's help. Because Summers chose to be a coward and not just face justice, Oliver forces a confession out of him. Oliver then runs into Quentin pointing a gun at him, and gives Quentin a recording of Summers' confession. Despite Oliver showing Quentin that they are on the same side, Quentin still thinks the Hood is dangerous, because he's a vigilante taking the law into his own hands. Summers is arrested, and we jump to a flashback when Oliver first got to the island. He saw in Robert's book a strange symbol, and in the present we see Moira conspiring with a mysterious man affiliated with that same symbol. In the same flashback, we see that right after Oliver buried his father, he was attacked by an unknown hooded figure wearing a bow and arrow, dressed very similar to how Oliver will later dress as a vigilante. In the next episode, Oliver is targeting another billionaire on his list when this target is killed by Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot. Oliver takes a bullet in the shoulder and treats it, but later discovers it was poisoned with curare, a rare deadly poison. He quickly treats it with an herb he discovered on the island, only known as Lian Yu herb, but he still goes unconscious and slips back into another flashback. On the island, the unknown hooded figure reveals he was trying to protect Oliver. Oliver misunderstood the man because he was speaking Chinese and tried to escape, but only to get captured by an unknown group of armed men. He's later rescued by the same hooded archer and learns his name is Yao Fei. After recovering, Oliver does some research on Deadshot and traces his money trail to the Bratva, a Russian mob. Oliver turns out to be a captain in the Bratva, thanks to what happened to him in the past 5 years. So he pays them a visit. I guess it really wasn't the quiet island vacation everyone thinks it was. They gave him intel on Deadshot, but when Oliver tries to apprehend him, a gunfight ensues and Deadshot gets away. Deadshot did leave behind his laptop, but it was riddled with bullet holes, so Oliver enlists the help of the company's sweet and dorky IT technician, Felicity Smoke, to recover what was on the laptop. Oliver will repeatedly come to Felicity for anything tech-related, and he does it so often that she develops a big old crush on him. Felicity uncovers blueprints for the Exchange Building, where an important auction is taking place. Many high-class people will be attending, including Oliver's new stepdaddy, Walter. Oliver can't stop Deadshot alone, so he enlists the help of a reluctant Quentin, who is still under the impression that the Hood killed the billionaire instead of Deadshot. Deadshot's next target is someone named Warren Patel. So Quentin and Diggle make sure Patel is kept safe during the auction. However, Deadshot tries to kill Walter instead, but Quentin saves him at the last second. As more people are killed, Oliver attacks Deadshot as the Hood, unaware that Diggle is following him. Oliver manages to kill Deadshot by putting an arrow through his eye, but Diggle is injured. So much for the no-kill rule. Oliver saves Diggle's life, but is forced to reveal his identity to him. The next episode begins right where we left off, with Oliver offering Diggle the chance to help him fix the city. A long time ago, Diggle's brother Andy was one of Deadshot's victims, but the police were never able to catch him, and it left a bitter mark on Diggle. But despite Oliver just avenging Andy's murder and proving he's on the side of justice, Diggle still refuses to help.
Oliver, you're not a soldier. You're a criminal. And a murderer.
Diggle ends up resigning as Oliver's bodyguard. Later, Oliver discovers a connection between Peter Declan, a man about to be executed for killing his wife, and a man on Oliver's list named Jason Broder. It turns out, Jason murdered Declan's wife after she almost blew the whistle on damning information about Jason's company. As the Hood, Oliver enlists the help of Laurel taking down Jason in order to prevent an innocent man from being executed. During this, Laurel finds herself very impressed with the Hood and becomes infatuated with him, unaware it is the person she hates more than anyone in the whole world. Unfortunately, Jason has enough leverage in the city to come out of this looking innocent, so the Hood forces a confession out of him through intimidation. Oliver then learns that Jason orchestrated a prison riot to get Declan and Laurel killed, so Oliver rushes to save them and Declan is freed. Diggle then has a change of heart after seeing the good Oliver did and agrees to help Oliver clean up the city. Throughout the show, Diggle becomes Oliver's moral compass, helping him overcome each obstacle, and they develop a strong brotherly bond. Meanwhile, Quentin has Oliver arrested on the suspicion that he is the Hood. Episode 5 begins with Oliver back on the island. Yao taught Oliver how to survive by teaching him archery and how to kill. During one lesson, Oliver was once again captured by the unknown group of men. Here, he meets their leader, Edward Fires, who tries to enlist Oliver's help in finding Yao, who is actually a disgraced Chinese general.
No. Who's he?
You're a poor liar.
Oliver refuses to help, so Fires puts Oliver in the loving care of a mercenary named Billy Wintergreen. After much torture, Oliver gets rescued by Yao. Back in the present, Oliver is being detained by Quentin when he requests Laurel be his lawyer. Laurel still hates Oliver and doesn't think it's a good idea to represent him, let alone go against her father, but she eventually gives in. She gets him placed under house arrest in order to prove if he is the hooded vigilante or not. If he is, then crime will continue. But if he isn't, then the Hood will show up while Oliver is at home.
Fortunately for you, with the legal case, there's no way that you're this vigilante.
I agree.
Because he's actually trying to make a difference. We both know that's not really your style.
Apparently, getting arrested was all part of Oliver's plan, as someone was bound to put 2 and 2 together that the Hood appeared right when Oliver returned. However, the ankle monitor was not part of the plan. So Oliver has Diggle pose as the Hood to take down a German arms dealer while Oliver hosts a lavish prison-themed party at his mansion in order to keep up the Playboy lifestyle ruse. Eventually, Oliver gets the idea to build a nightclub above his lair so he can use it as a plausible alibi for his nightly vigilantism. During this, Oliver takes a polygraph test to prove his innocence to Quentin. Quentin drills Oliver with questions regarding the recent vigilante acts and Oliver's time on the island, revealing that he was tortured and trained to be a killer, hence the scars, but Oliver passes the test when he denies all of this. Regardless of the evidence, Quentin is still convinced Oliver is guilty. Laurel is shocked by what Oliver went through on the island, and the two of them reconnect with a kiss. However, they both feel it is best if they don't resume their relationship after everything that has happened, and Laurel begins to suspect Oliver might really be the hooded vigilante. During all this, Walter discovers that Moira had the wreck of the Queen's Gambit in a company warehouse for the past 5 years, and suspects she's hiding dangerous secrets from him. He distances himself from Moira, which devastates her. In episode 6, Oliver resumes crossing off names on his list, but Diggle argues they should focus beyond Robert's list and more on the average citizens of Starling City, specifically a recent group of bank robbers known as the Royal Flush Gang. Oliver refuses at first, as he is more focused on honoring the sacrifice his father made, but eventually he agrees. During this, Felicity does some digging and learns that the robbers are a family unit led by Derek Reston, a former employee of the Queen Industries. Robert outsourced 1,500 jobs to China, and as a result, the Reston family lost their home. Oliver now sees stopping the Reston family as righting another of his father's wrongs and tries to help Derek and his family. Derek refuses help from the Queen family, and he and his family carry out the last bank heist. Oliver tries to stop him, but Derek is killed by a security guard. Derek's death devastates Oliver as he blames himself for not doing more, but Diggle assures him that he made his father proud just by trying. This prompts Oliver to slowly shift towards protecting the city from criminals and not just on Robert's list. The next episode begins with Oliver meeting his mom for lunch when she's almost shot by an unknown assailant. Oliver learns that the assailant wasn't aiming for Moira, but an associate of the mob boss, Frank Bartonelli. This isn't the first associate of Frank's to be killed recently, so Oliver decides to infiltrate Frank's business and find out what's going on. He meets with Frank, who blames Chien and the Triad for the attacks as he had nothing to do with them. Oliver then unexpectedly finds himself on a date with Frank's daughter, Helena, and begins falling in love with her. Frank's right-hand man, Nick Slavati, attacks the restaurant they're in, and that's when Oliver learns that the assailant behind these recent attacks is Helena. When Oliver confronts Helena on why she's killing her father's associates, she explains that she's been doing this for revenge after her father murdered her fiancé, Michael, as Frank believed Michael was going to leak damning evidence to the FBI.
If it can't be love that you feel, then it becomes hate.
Hate for who?
Salvati then abducts Oliver and Helena, where Helena reveals that she's the one leaking information to the FBI because she hated how evil her father was. Salvati says Michael's death is Helena's fault and then reveals he was the one who killed him. Oliver and Helena break free, and she kills Salvati.
I didn't have a choice, Oliver. No one can know my secret.
Oliver confronts Helena about the killing she's done, and arguing revenge is not justice. By now, Helena has figured out Oliver is the Hood, but firmly believes her way is the only way to protect the city. They argue a bit over who's more right than the other, and eventually make love in her bedroom. Nothing to get you all hot and bothered like vigilante justice. Meanwhile, Walter comes back home to a still devastated Moira, and Oliver finally accepts Walter as his stepdad, realizing Walter was the best thing to happen to her after Robert died. The next episode begins with Oliver preventing Helena from provoking Chien and the Triad to waging war against her father. Helena is furious at Oliver, but allows him the chance to prove revenge isn't the answer. Diggle doesn't think it's a good idea. Oliver and Helena are working together, but Oliver is convinced he can convert her.
It ends badly.
Either way, I gotta try.
Oliver teaches her how to shoot a bow and arrow and shows her his father's list. Then he equips her with a crossbow and a purple suit like his, and she goes by the name Huntress. They take down the drug dealer on the list, Oliver's way, and Helena begins to love this new, less revenge style of taking down criminals. Later, they go out for a fancy dinner and run into Laurel and Tommy. Tommy was recently cut off financially from his father, so now he can't live a rich lifestyle like he used to. Laurel has assured him that she still loves him even without his money, but Tommy is still insecure about it. So, to help his best friend, Oliver puts Tommy in charge of his nightclub, now called Verdant. Laurel and Tommy end up double dating with Oliver and Helena learns Laurel is Oliver's ex-girlfriend. She senses Oliver still cares for Laurel, and it upsets her. After this one tiny setback, Helena ends up going back to her old ways and attacks the Triad, killing their leader. As Helena predicted, this causes Chien to take revenge against Frank, but Oliver arrives to stop her from killing Frank. Oliver then prevents Helena from doing the same thing, and they are forced to fight each other. Frank then shoots Helena with her crossbow, injuring her, and Oliver is forced to flee with her before the cops show up. He heals her, but she's furious at him for stopping her. She leaves, but not before threatening to reveal Oliver's secret identity to the public if he tries coming after her again. Meanwhile, Walter's still suspicious of Moira and does some more digging with Felicity's help. They discovered Moira is associated with a secret organization called the Tempest. But all they could dig up on it was that mysterious symbol from earlier. Later, Walter finds another book that looks just like the one Robert has with Moira, and it's the same symbol. It's worth noting that Tommy's father, Malcolm Merlin, is the founder of Tempest. The plot thickens. The next episode begins with Adam Hunt being brutally killed by a Hood copycat named Dark Archer, who then begins killing several others on Robert's list. Oliver finds out and enlists the help of a reluctant Quentin in finding his copycat and giving Quentin a burner phone with a direct line only to him. Eventually, Dark Archer takes some hostages, threatening to kill one each hour until Oliver turns himself in. He's more a fan of the aesthetic than the man himself, I guess. Oliver rescues the hostages and fights his copycat. They both get injured in the fight, during which Oliver learns that Robert wasn't the author of the list. Oliver escapes thanks to Diggle, and it's later revealed Dark Archer is Malcolm Merlin. Merlin then has Walter kidnapped after he discovers too much regarding his secret plan. Merlin reveals that in 6 months' time, their plan will finally come to fruition as thousands of people will die for what they believe to be the greater good.
Shut it!
During this episode, we get more flashbacks to Oliver's time on the island. At one point, Yao captures Fires, revealing to Oliver that he knew a way off the island. Fire reveals to Oliver that the island is a prison for dangerous criminals, and his unit was tasked with killing them when the program was shut down. Only 2 managed to survive, Yao and Wintergreen. As they walk, it's revealed Fires allowed himself to be captured to lure them into a trap. Wintergreen and Fire's men attack them and Yao fights them off so Oliver can escape. The next episode takes place 6 weeks later and overall isn't too important, so we'll just kind of skim right through it. Oliver has been avoiding fighting any crime as he hasn't been the same since his fight with Merlin. There's also been no word on what happened to Walter, and Oliver assumes he's dead. In the end, Oliver regains his purpose as the Hood when he takes down a pyromaniac named Firefly, and Moira becomes CEO while Walter is missing. Also, Quentin entrusts Laurel with the untraceable phone she's used to help Oliver catch Firefly. And we see a flashback to the first time Oliver had to kill a man on the island. Oliver donned the mercenary's uniform and took his gear, including the map of the island. And that's pretty much it. The next episode begins with an armored truck being robbed, and after doing some research, Oliver is convinced the mastermind is former Marine Ted Gaynor, another name on his list. Diggle doesn't believe so because Gaynor happens to be Diggle's old commanding officer from when he served in Afghanistan.
This guy saved my life. Received accommodation for it.
don't care what your book says, he's not a stick-up.
Oliver confronts Gaynor and steals some encrypted data, but Diggle shows up to save Gaynor. Still convinced he's been framed, Oliver scolds Diggle for ruining his investigation, but allows Diggle the chance to prove Gaynor is innocent. Meanwhile, Oliver has Felicity decrypt the data, and it reveals Gaynor's plans to rob their next armored truck, proving Oliver was correct. The revelation devastates Diggle, and Gaynor forces Diggle to join them by threatening to kill his sister-in-law, Carly. But during the heist, Diggle backs out.
I'm the one with the grenade launcher. Get out of there!
Oliver arrives to give Diggle some aid and kills Gaynor when Diggle can't do it. During this, Thea discovers Moira and Merlin are working together. She tells Oliver about this and then reveals that Moira and Merlin were intimate shortly before Robert's death. When Oliver confronts his mom on why she cheated on Robert, Moira reveals it was Robert who was repeatedly unfaithful to her. Later, Thea crashes her car, taking an experimental drug called Vertigo, and is arrested. We also see another flashback that Oliver was able to infiltrate his way past Fire's men, but Fires spotted him a mile away and recaptured him. Oliver was trying to rescue Yao, but Fires reveals that to Oliver that Yao was working for Fires all this time. The next episode begins with Thea's plea bargain being denied. The judge orders the charges be brought to trial since Vertigo has become an epidemic in the city, so Oliver tries to track down the supplier and learns that his name is the Count. He enlists the help of a police detective and an old love interest of his, McKenna Hall, in tracking down the Count. Unfortunately, they don't have much on the Count, and Hall apologizes, wishing she could do more for Thea. So Oliver uses his authority as a captain of the Bratva to gain underground information on the Count. They give him the information, but only if Oliver kills a traitor for them. Surprisingly, Oliver kills the man, but then it's revealed Oliver only made the man appear dead with a neat trick he learned on the island.
Whoa, that's a neat trick. You gonna teach me that one day?
No.
They arrange a meeting for Oliver with the Count, but Quentin, Hall, and several cops break up the meeting. Oliver tries to stop an escaping Count, but the Count injects Oliver with a dose of Vertigo in its purest form. It simulates excruciating pain, but thankfully Diggle was able to treat Oliver using the Lian Yu herb. We then get another flashback to Oliver back on the island, where he was forced to fight Yao to the death. Yao killed Oliver using the same trick Oliver pulled on the man in front of the Bratva, in order to make it look like Oliver was dead. So that's how he learned it. Yao then disposed of Oliver's unconscious body over a waterfall, but not before giving him an upgraded map of the island. So Yao was still good all this time. Back in the present, Oliver was able to hold on to the sample of Vertigo injected into him, and has Felicity use it to track down the location of the Count. Despite still feeling the effects of Vertigo, Oliver engages the Count and his men, which ends with Oliver giving the Count a taste of his own medicine. Laurel then persuades Quentin to get Thea community service and 2 years of probation, which she begins serving at Laurel's legal office. Later, Felicity shows Oliver the book with the list of names Walter had and explains he got it from Moira. The next episode begins by showing us what happened to Oliver after Yao saved his life. The map led Oliver to the wreckage of a crashed plane, where he meets Slade Wilson. It turns out Wintergreen was Slade's former partner in the Australian intelligence, hence their similar masks. Slade begins training Oliver to one day infiltrate the Fire's airfield, the only way off of the island. Back in the present, Oliver confronts Moira about the book, but she denies any knowledge of it and destroys it. Diggle isn't convinced, so he spies on Moira as she goes throughout her day, and catches her secretly meeting with Merlin regarding Robert and the Queen's Gambit. He records their meeting and has Oliver listen to it, and he's shocked to learn that the Queen's Gambit capsizing wasn't an accident and Moira knew about it. Moira also kept mentioning something called the Undertaking. I wonder what that could be. The episode ends with Oliver confronting Moira as the Hood. The next episode picks up right where we left off, with Oliver threatening his mom, but Moira gets the jump on him and wounds him when he hesitates to shoot his own mother. Understandable. In order to escape, Oliver is forced to reveal his identity to Felicity, who's begun to suspect Oliver was the Hood due to everything he has been asking her to do.
Wow. Everything about you just became so unbelievably clear.
She takes him back to the foundry, where she helps Diggle save Oliver's life. Flashback to the island, where, after enough training, Slade believes Oliver is ready to help him take the airfield. Along the way, Slade reveals he and Wintergreen were sent here to find out about Fire's mission, but their plane was shot down and they were captured. Wintergreen accepted Fire's offer to change sides, while Slade escaped and has been hiding on the island ever since.
Everybody is in this life for themselves.
They reach the airfield and secure it, but then Oliver learns that once they escape, Slade plans on destroying the island with an airstrike. Oliver realizes that this would kill Yao and feels guilty about letting Yao die. Oliver absolutely owes Yao after he saved his life. Slade tells him that Yao knew the risk and that saving him is pointless, but he still lets Oliver try and save Yao. The resupply plane that will take them off the island will be here in 3 hours, so Oliver has to hurry. Oliver makes it back to Yao, but he's recaptured by fires. He's about to be executed by Wintergreen, but Slade has a change of heart and rescues Oliver, killing Wintergreen. Despite missing their ride off the island, Slade and Oliver continue to work together to get off the island, with Slade stating that Fires was hired by another party for a purpose. It's then revealed that Yao changed sides because his daughter Shadow is held captive by Fires and has the same dragon tattoo present-day Oliver has on his back. Back in the present, Oliver recovers from his injury and offers Felicity the chance to join Team Arrow. She accepts, but only so they can find out what happened to Walter. Eventually, she comes around and officially joins the team. Every team needs their computer geek. Dodger is another skippable episode, except for Laurel and Thea having a run-in with a thief named Roy Harper. They press charges against Roy, but Thea has a change of heart when she learns Roy became a thief so he could take care of his mom after she got hooked on Vertigo. Eventually, they form an intimate relationship.
First, stay out of the ways.
And second,
Don't fall for every sob story a guy like me tells the police.
Also, Moira wants out of Tempest, so she makes a deal with Chien to kill Merlin and free Walter. The next episode begins with Oliver killing a hired gunman on his list, and he then asks Felicity to hack the gunman's phone so they can find out who his target was. Meanwhile, Merlin interrupts Tommy's birthday party to invite him to attend an awards ceremony where Merlin will be receiving a humanitarian award. Pretty ironic.
Yes, very ironic.
Tommy and Merlin haven't been on good speaking terms ever since his mother died when he was 8, after which Merlin left for 2 years and then came back like nothing happened. So Tommy doesn't really want to go until Oliver encourages him to attend. Eventually, Felicity finally cracks the gunman's phone and discovers his target was Merlin. Chien and the Triad are at the awards ceremony along with their newly recruited gunman, who just so happens to be a very much alive Deadshot. Oliver alerts Quentin and races to the ceremony to protect Merlin, as he doesn't know how evil Merlin is yet. As Merlin and Tommy escape to the upstairs penthouse, Tommy learns the horrifying truth that his dad is Dark Archer. However, Deadshot shoots Merlin with a Karari bullet before he can don the suit, and Oliver arrives to help save Merlin's life, during which he's forced to reveal his identity to Tommy. Tommy has a hard time accepting the fact that his best friend is the famous hooded vigilante. Honestly, can you blame him? Between his dad and his best friend, it's almost like he's the weird one for not being a vigilante. Afterward, Oliver informs Diggle that Deadshot is still alive and it devastates him. So Oliver promises Diggle that they will take Deadshot down for good this time. Merlin survives in the end and is shocked to learn the Hood was the one who saved him. Merlin then apologizes to Tommy for not being a good father ever since his mom died and reveals that when he left he found himself in a place called Nanda Parbat, where he met a mysterious man that opened his eyes to a way to fix the city. Laurel then gets a surprise visit from her estranged mom, Dinah, telling her she suspects Sarah is still alive. The Huntress Returns is another episode we're just going to fast forward through, because despite Helena returning and failing to kill Frank, and Oliver finally opening his club, there's not a whole lot that happens in this episode. The only other important thing we need to know is back on the island, Slade and Oliver discover Fires had an anti-aircraft missile launcher that is capable of starting a war. Slade wanted to blow it up, but Oliver convinced him to just take the circuit board so they could use it as leverage against Fires for a way off the island. Salvation is another episode we don't need to spend too long on. In the flashbacks throughout the episode, Oliver and Slade negotiate face-to-face with Fires for a way off the island in exchange for the circuit board. Fires instead offers a counter-proposal. If they don't give the circuit board back, Fires will kill Shadow in front of Yao.
I can't imagine you want the death of an innocent young woman on your hands. Not with your principles.
A fight breaks out, and in the end, Yao is injured, and Oliver and Slade escape with Shadow, at the cost of the circuit board. Back in the present, Dinah reveals that she has a recent picture of Sarah, proving she's still alive. But Laurel does some research and proves it isn't Sarah in the picture. Laurel realizes the reason Dinah was convinced it was Sarah in the picture was because the girl was wearing a hat that Sarah wore the day she boarded the yacht. Dinah knew Sarah was in love with Oliver and let her go with him on the yacht, and now blames herself for Sarah's death. During all of this, Oliver rescued Roy after a new vigilante kidnapped him. and it inspires Roy to want to one day find Green Arrow and help him fight injustice. The episode ends with Oliver finally realizing the strange symbol from his book is a map of the Glades, meaning the Undertaking is Tempest's plan to cleanse the Glades. For many years, Tempest has been trying a more peaceful approach to fixing the crime-ridden Glade, and the names in the book are everyone that has been corrupting the city. Tempest has been blackmailing them to donate money and resources to help the city, but when that didn't work, Merlin suggested that they completely wipe out the Glades and make it look like a natural disaster. Merlin's wife Rebecca built a clinic in the Glades to help people, but when she was shot and killed by a random robber, Merle snapped and made it his mission to make sure everyone in the Glades paid for her death. Unfinished Business is yet another episode we will fast forward. Basically, a girl dies after using a new form of vertigo. Oliver questions the Count in his cell at a mental asylum, but he's so mentally insane from the vertigo overdose that Oliver can't get anything out of him. Eventually, Oliver learns that the Count faked his insanity, and his psychiatrist was the one responsible for distributing vertigo. During this, Quentin finds loose connections between Tommy and Vertigo and almost discovers the Foundry. Tommy then realizes Oliver had suspected him of drug dealing, and he quits working for the club. Tommy ends up reluctantly getting a job with Merlin at their company, Merlin Global Group. Episode 20 is an episode that we can also fast forward. Diggle sets up a trap to kill Deadshot after an organization called Argus hired him for a job. Oliver was supposed to show up and help take him down, but Oliver chose to take down another criminal on his list that was targeting Laurel. This made Diggle upset because many of his friends died while trying to kill Deadshot, and Diggle was almost one of them. This prompts him to stop helping Oliver. When you've lost Diggle, you know you're doing something wrong. Tommy ends up breaking up with Laurel because he knows Laurel will eventually choose Oliver over him if Laurel found out he was the vigilante. During the flashback scenes, we see Shadow teaching Oliver how to fire a bow and arrow, and the two of them develop feelings for each other. Yao then shows up at their camp with Fire's men, and they are captured. The next episode begins with Oliver stealing the laptop of an accountant working for a shady organization. Felicity hacks it and uncovers a link to Walter, basically a money transfer that was made to Dominic Alonso, an underground casino owner and the man who was hired to kidnap Walter. Together they infiltrate the casino, and Felicity manages to plant a bug near Dominic. Dominic thinks she was cheating in his casino, allowing her to get close to Dominic, so Oliver has to rescue her and as the Green Arrow. Oliver then questions Dominic on where Walter is, and he reveals Walter is dead. Moira finds out and confronts Merlin because he promised Walter wouldn't be harmed. Merlin then shows proof that Walter is not dead, unaware that Oliver is listening to their conversation. Oliver finally realizes Merlin is the mastermind behind the extermination of the Glades and has Felicity find Walter's location. Oliver rescues Walter and is reunited with Moira and Thea. Oliver then apologizes to Diggle and reveals Moira and Merlin working together, and Diggle comes back to work with Oliver. We then flash back to right before Robert and Oliver left town on the Queen's Gambit. By now, Merlin had told Robert his plan to exterminate the Glades, and the real reason why Robert left was to work with a contact in China in the hopes of stopping Merlin. But Merlin suspected Robert was working against him, so he had a bomb planted on the yacht, revealing Merlin was responsible for the shipwreck. The next episode begins with Merlin as the Dark Archer killing every scientist at Unidac Industries, a company that was involved in the Undertaking. Merlin had hired them to create a device that could create an artificial earthquake, which he plans to use on the Glades. Later, Oliver tries to confront his mom regarding the Undertaking, but Diggle, disguised as Green Arrow, kidnaps both of them. This turns out to be a ruse by Oliver in an attempt to uncover the truth, and Moira confesses everything, thinking she's telling Green Arrow everything in order to save her son. Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity then break into Merlin Global Group in order to find the device, and discovers that it's in a company-owned warehouse in the Glades.
Hold on to me tight.
I imagined you saying that under different circumstances. Very platonic circumstances.
Meanwhile, Walter presents Moira with divorce papers, as he knows Moira was involved in his kidnapping. Moira explains she was told that he would be protected, but Walter doesn't want to hear it. Oliver finally tells Laurel his true feelings for her, and they make love, unaware Tommy is watching them. You gotta make sure the blinds are closed, man. Back on the island, Oliver and the others are brought before Fires, and learn Fire's plan to shoot Chinese commercial airliners out of the sky using the anti-aircraft missile launcher, in an attempt to destabilize the Chinese economy. Fires is doing this because his employer asked him to, and will use Yao to make it look like a Chinese general who was responsible after going rogue. Yao refuses to help until Fires threatens to kill Shadow, so Yao records himself depressed in his uniform admitting that he was the mastermind. Fires then kills Yao as the commercial plane comes into range. The episode ends with Diggle going to the warehouse only to discover the device was moved. Oliver interrogates Merlin on where it went, and they get into a fight that results in Merlin discovering Oliver is Green Arrow. The season finale begins with Merlin having captured Oliver. Oliver manages to escape with a little help from Diggle. Oliver then warns Quentin about the earthquake machine and teams up with Felicity. Next, Oliver confronts Moira about the Undertaking, convincing her to hold a press conference and reveal to the city her involvement with Merlin and the plan to destroy the Glades.
That I could go on living knowing that you sacrificed thousands more in my name?
Merlin then calls Moira, telling her the Undertaking is happening tonight. She is then arrested after revealing everything on live television. Armed men then try to arrest Merlin just as Tommy learns who his father really is, but Merlin gets away. The police attempt to evacuate everyone out of the Glades while Oliver and Diggle try to stop Merlin. They fight and Diggle gets injured while Quentin finds the device in the abandoned underground subway. Felicity then tries to walk Quentin through the process so he can disarm it, and he succeeds. Oliver manages to kill Merlin, but before he dies, Merlin reveals that there's a second device. It detonates, causing a massive earthquake that levels the east side of the Glades, killing 503 people. Laurel gets trapped under some debris at her work and is rescued by Tommy. Laurel escapes, but Tommy is mortally wounded as the building crumbles on top of him. Oliver arrives, and the two of them reconcile before Tommy dies. Back on the island, Oliver managed to free himself and the others, allowing them to try and stop Fires. Unfortunately, a missile was launched. An intense gunfight ensues as Oliver works with Shadow to override the missile, successfully diverting it to Fire's base, killing all of Fire's men. Fire survives and holds a gun to Shadow's head, but Oliver proves he was paying attention in bow and arrow class and kills Fires. Following the destruction of the Glades, Season 2 begins with Oliver returning to Lian-Yu. Seeing this as his penance for failing his city and Tommy, Diggle and Felicity arrive to bring him back to the Starling City, but Oliver doesn't want to go back because he failed the city. They manage to convince him to come back not as the Hood, but as Oliver Queen. Currently, Moira is awaiting trial for her crimes, and right now his family and company need him. The company is about to be taken over by an executive from Stellmore International, named Isabel Rochev. Oliver decides to come back, but only so he can honor Tommy's memory. Oliver learns that a group of vigilantes dressed like the Hood are killing key figures in the city, including the mayor, as earthquake retribution. Later, they attack Verdant, hoping to kill Oliver, but they settle for kidnapping Thea as she's taken over Tommy's old job running the place. Oliver dons the Hood suit, now going as the Arrow in honor of Tommy, and Felicity gives him an upgraded bow. He rescues Thea and leaves the vigilantes tied up for Quentin, who's been demoted to patrol officer ever since he helped the Hood during the earthquake. Afterwards, Oliver saves his company with a little help from Walter and forces Rochev to accept a partnership. During all this, Roy has been trying to help people in the Glades, but when he's overpowered by 3 thugs, he's rescued by an unknown female vigilante named Canary. Where did she come from? In the island flashbacks, a few months have passed since their dealings with Fires, leaving Oliver, Shadow, and Slade the only ones left on the island. However, they learn that a new group of armed men have arrived on the island looking for specific graves. Episode 2 begins with Roy failing to stop Chien from committing a truck robbery. Oliver tries to convince Roy to stop fighting crime in the Arrow's name, but Roy is determined to make a difference. He then tells Oliver about a hospital in the Glades that Chien's been stealing medicine from, so Oliver decides to set a trap for Chien. During this, Oliver meets Sebastian Blood, a politician from the Glades who is the frontrunner for the newly opened mayor position. Lately, he's been trying to fight for the people whose lives were ruined in the Glades and doesn't think highly of the Queen family. Oliver confronts Chien, but she escapes thanks to her new henchman with claws named Ben Turner, aka Bronze Tiger.
No kill shots?
Later, Oliver convinces Blood that they are on the same side, and Blood allows Oliver to atone for his mother's mistakes by helping the Glades. But during a charity event to help raise awareness for the Glades, Oliver is forced to abandon the event in order to stop Chien. As Chien and Ben are arrested, Blood paints a bad image of Oliver for not showing up and glorifies himself as the true savior of the city. Oliver decides to at least do one good thing and recruits Roy to be his eyes and ears in the Glades. Afterwards, Laurel, still blaming the Arrow for Tommy's death, sets a trap for him at her new office, working for the district attorney. The episode ends with several cops surrounding Oliver at gunpoint. Back on the island, the trio discovers a cave containing the remains of several disfigured World War II Japanese soldiers. One of these soldiers has the Hosen, the same one he'll give to Thea when he returns home. Episode 3 picks up right where we left off, with Canary saving Oliver using some sort of sonic tech. Oliver asks why she helped him, but she leaves without saying a word. Meanwhile, a serial killer called the Dollmaker reemerges after the earthquake allowed him to escape his cell. Quentin locked him up 6 years ago and feels a personal responsibility to lock him up again, so he works with the Arrow to find him. I guess Quentin finally realizes the Arrow might be one of the good guys, even if he doesn't agree with his methods. During this, the district attorney announces his intention to seek the death penalty for Moira. She tells her lawyer to not fight it, since she had connections with Merlin that she doesn't want revealed to her children. And Roy learns she sometimes hangs out with an orphaned girl from the Glades named Cindy. When Roy tries to question Cindy, she escapes, but not before knocking him unconscious. Roy wakes up to discover Canary standing over him, asking if they sent him. Roy doesn't know what she's talking about, so she lets him go. By now, the Dollmaker has captured both Laurel and Quentin, and Oliver rescues them, getting some surprising help from Canary. She kills the Dollmaker and disappears before Oliver can question who she is. Later, Canary is approached by an operative working for someone called Ra's al Ghul, revealing him to be her former master. Ra's wants Canary to come home, but Canary refuses and kills the operative. Back on the island, the newcomer's ship starts bombing their base in the plane wreckage, resulting in half of Slade's face getting badly burned. Oliver awakens to find himself imprisoned with other inmates in a ship called the Amazo. In the next episode, Felicity realizes Canary hasn't been going after Oliver, but Laurel. So Oliver catches Canary the next time she's near Laurel and discovers Canary is a very much alive Sarah. Oliver is shocked to see her, but not shocked to see her alive. Apparently, 1 year after the shipwreck, he ran into Sarah while he was on the island. But it's more complicated than that.
These were 5 years! 5 years where nothing good happened.
On the island, Oliver's captors shot him and forced him to remove the bullet or die, as part of an initiation. He was then questioned about the disfigured bodies they found, and then brought into an interrogation room where his interrogator was Sarah. How did she manage to get there? During this, weapon shipments keep getting intercepted by a gang leader calling himself the Mayor, who later assaults a gun rally hosted by Oliver and Blood. Felicity tracks down the Mayor, and Oliver recruits Sarah in taking him down. Afterwards, Oliver tries to convince Sarah to reveal to her family that she's alive, especially since Laurel has developed a drinking and drug problem and refuses any help from anyone. Oliver knows her family would never speak to him again, knowing he lied about Sarah dying on the Queen's Gambit, but he says it would be worth it so Sarah can finally come home. The episode ends with a man wearing a skull mask injecting a test subject with a green substance that kills him. The man in the mask is revealed to be Sebastian Blood, and is known as Brother Blood by his associates. He orders another person to be brought for the substance. Episode 5 begins with a flashback showing what happened to Sarah after the Queen's Gambit went under. She floated for several days on a door from the yacht before she was rescued by the Amazo. Aboard, she met Dr. Anthony Ivo, the only nice person on the ship, who asked her to help him with his experiments that he believes will save humanity. Back in the present, Oliver and Sarah are attacked by an assassin that looks a lot like Dark Archer. They fight him off, and Sarah reveals his name is Alawal, a member of the League of Assassins, and the man who trained Merlin. Sarah reveals she swore her allegiance to them after they rescued her from the Amazo, hence why she's so skilled at fighting. She left the League, and they've been after her ever since, because there's only one way to leave the League: death.
And there's only one way that you leave the League.
Is that why you didn't want to see your family?
Sarah fears the League might go after her family, so Oliver keeps Laurel safe while Felicity tries to warn Quentin, but he doesn't believe the danger is real, so Sarah reveals herself to him, and we get to see a tearful reunion. However, Quentin gets upset when he pieces together that Sarah has been running around the city as Canary for several weeks and didn't bother to inform them that she was alive.
If these assassins, if they hadn't shown up, would you have ever let us know that you were alive?
No.
Despite this, Quentin finally agrees to come with her. They seek refuge in the clock tower that Sarah has been hiding in, but Alawal finds them. A fight ensues with Oliver coming to their aid. Sarah kills Alawal, but lets one of his assassins live so he can inform Raish that their family is off limits. Sarah knows that they're still going to come after her regardless, so she decides to leave the city. Quentin doesn't want to see his daughter go, but promises to not let Laurel know Sarah's still alive. The next episode begins with Diggle being informed by the head of Argus, Amanda Waller, that Diggle's ex-wife Lila has gone missing in Moscow. Waller knows Oliver is the Arrow and that he and Diggle have been working together, so she wants Diggle to find out what happened to her. Lila was in Russia chasing a lead on the whereabouts of Deadshot, so Oliver volunteers to come with them because he's just that good of a friend. However, Rochev finds out that Oliver is leaving for Moscow and forces her way onto the plane, believing Oliver is actually going there to meet with the subdivision of Queen Consolidated behind her back. Once in Russia, Oliver and Diggle manage to get away from Rochev and meet with one of Oliver's Russian contacts, Anatoly, a Bratva captain whom Oliver met as a prisoner on the Amazo. They learn that Lila is being held in a gulag. Apparently, Lila wasn't as successful at breaking out as she was as breaking in. The only way to get inside is to get arrested, so Anthony arranges a way for Diggle to get arrested and sent to the gulag. Once there, Diggle learns Lydia didn't come here trying to find a lead on Deadshot, but to find Deadshot himself, who is currently one of the inmates here. Diggle so badly wants to kill Deadshot, but has to wait because he turns out to be Diggle's only hope at finding Lila.
You're not stupid. You wouldn't put yourself in here without an exit strategy. I take you to the girl, you take me out.
During this, Oliver has a one-night stand with Rochev, and it upsets Felicity because she's clearly had feelings for Oliver. What is this, high school?
So we're not doing the what happens in Russia stays in Russia.
We're still in Russia.
Diggle and Deadshot find Lila, and all three of them fight their way out of the gulag with a little help from Anatoly. Once they're clear, Diggle has the chance to kill Deadshot, but instead lets him live because he helped him save Lila. Deadshot then reveals he didn't kill Diggle's brother Andy by accident, but that an organization called Hive hired him to kill Andy. The question is, why? Back on the island, Ivo questions Oliver and explains that they're here looking for a Japanese soldiers carrying Mirakuru, a secret serum for human enchantment.
The United States had the Manhattan Project, of course. The Nazis had Das Uranverein. And the Japanese, well, they had Mirakuru.
A Japanese submarine disappeared near the island, which is one of many in a chain of islands. And thanks to Oliver, they now know it is this one. Oliver refuses to say anything, so Sarah visits him back in his cell and tricks him into confessing that Slade and Shadow are still alive. Episode 7 is another episode we can fast forward. Basically, the Count escaped from prison during the earthquake and started secretly injecting people with vertigo. Eventually, he kidnapped Felicity and Oliver was forced to kill him in order to save her. His no-kill rule is really just more of a suggestion, huh?
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Meanwhile, Moira is found not guilty and her trial is spared the death penalty. As she leaves the courthouse, Moira is directed to speak with a very much alive Merlin. It turns out Merlin was able to get her freed from all charges, and it's revealed that Merlin is Thea's father. Back on the island, Oliver is forced to show Ivo and his men where Slade and Shadow are, and they shoot up the plane wreckage with Slade and Shadow still inside. They survive, but everyone believes they were killed, so Ivo has Oliver show him where the graves are. They reach the grave, and Ivo becomes furious when he sees that the Hosen is missing. It turns out, on the back of the Hosen is a series of numbers serving as coordinates that lead directly to the submarine. Slade and Shadow come to rescue Oliver, and they escape along with Sarah. Episode 8 begins with thunder and lightning. A masked thief with superhuman strength steals a centrifuge from Queen Consolidated, so Central City CSI sends someone named Barry Allen to investigate. Later, we find out that Barry is searching for superpowered beings in the hope that he will find the murderer of his mother and exonerate his father for the accusation. Oliver gets a close encounter with the enhanced thief and realizes he was enhanced with the same serum Ivo was searching for on Lian Yu. Meanwhile, Merlin pressures Moira to tell Thea the truth about him being her dad, but Moira instead contacts Raish as Raish wants to kill Malcolm for breaking the League's code by destroying the Glades. As a result, Merlin leaves the city. During this, Roy helps Cindy find her missing friend Max, who was a failed subject of Blood's experiment. Oliver warns him not to investigate any further, and when Roy objects, Oliver shoots himself in the leg. Oliver tracks the enhanced thief, but is injected with an unknown toxin. In order to save Oliver's life, Felicity reveals his identity to Barry to help him find an antidote. Back on the island, Oliver and the others find the submarine. Inside, they find the Mirakuru and give it to Slade. as his burns are not healing properly. Unfortunately, they have to inject it into Slade without the proper sedative, and his heart stops, right as Ivo and his men arrive. The next episode begins with Barry saving Oliver's life, but Oliver is more upset that Felicity revealed his identity to Barry without him knowing. In order to save Oliver's life, Barry had to use rat poison, which causes Oliver to hallucinate Shadow. Felicity learns the enhanced thief is Cyrus Gold, so Diggle starts investigating his apartment.
Christened on Tuesday. I know the poem that symbolizes these 7 stages of life.
They find nothing, so Oliver passes the information to Quentin, hoping he can have better luck. Sadly, Quentin's investigation into finding gold kills his partner and lands himself in the ICU. On the island, Ivo finds the Mirakuru, and then has Oliver choose who lives or dies, Sarah or Shadow. Oliver reluctantly chooses Sarah, and Ivo kills Shadow. Oh, jeez. Despite getting shot in the leg, Roy still continues to investigate what happened to Max, but Gold captures him and takes him to Blood. Blood injects Roy with Mirakuru, and it kills him. Oliver arrives too late, but manages to kill Gold, simultaneously destroying the centrifuge and the remaining serum. Oliver manages to revive Roy, but worries that the same serum may negatively affect his mental state. It's then revealed that Slade didn't die on the island, but is still alive in the present, and Blood is working for him. Slade wants revenge on Oliver because he was also in love with Shadow, and blames Oliver for her death.
Once he has lost everyone and everything he values, I will drive an arrow through his eye.
Barry returns to Central City, but not before leaving behind a mask for Oliver to wear so he can better protect his identity. Back in his lab, Barry is hit by strange lightning created by an accident involving a particle accelerator, sending him to a 9-month coma. And if you haven't guessed by now, this episode and the one before it served as a backdoor pilot for The Flash. Welcome to the Arrowverse, Flash, old boy. Blast Radius is another skippable episode. The only notable things that happen are Laurel learns how dangerous Blood is, and Roy and Slade struggle with the Mirakuru. The former in the present, and the latter in flashbacks. Roy does save Moira from a bombing orchestrated by a serial bomber named Shrapnel before Waller recruits Shrapnel for something later on. Next up, Laurel had discovered that Blood killed his own father and incarcerated his mother in a mental institute to cover up what he did. So the next episode begins with Blood killing his mother. No loose ends. During this, Oliver has been looking for the man in the skull mask and receives some help from Laurel, who suspects it is Blood. Slade pressures Blood to take care of Laurel, so Blood has his inside man in the police force, Officer Daly, arrest Laurel for drug possession. When she's released, Blood has her kidnapped in an attempt to draw the arrow out. Oliver rescues her, and Laurel kills the masked man, only to find out it isn't Blood but Officer Daly, unknowingly throwing suspicion off of Blood. Laurel is cleared of charges but is fired because of her alcohol and drug addictions. We then see Slade is wearing his signature comic book costume, officially making him Deathstroke. Meanwhile, Roy and Cindy attempt to use his new powers to stop a murderer, but Roy goes overboard and puts the man in the hospital. Arrow convinces Roy to let him train in order to control his new powers and mental state. Episode 12 begins with Ben, aka Bronze Tiger, escaping from prison with the help of an associate of Hive named Milo Armitage. Hive wants to use Ben in stealing a prototype of the earthquake machine used to level the glades. During this, Oliver has been teaching Roy how to control his new strength using techniques he learned while on the island. Together they try to stop Ben from taking the device from Merlin's home, but once again, Roy loses control, allowing the bad guys to get away. Regardless, Oliver is determined to help Roy because he doesn't want the same thing that happened to Slade to happen to him. Oliver and Roy confront Milo and Ben again, and Milo activates the prototype with a countdown. Roy once again loses control, so Oliver reveals himself to Roy to help him calm down. He then tells Roy to focus on Thea, and it helps him gain control. Together they find the device and stop it before it goes off. Ben is arrested, once again, and Waller approaches him, offering him the chance to commute his sentence in exchange for him joining a squad she's forming. A very specific kind of squad. Meanwhile, Walter tries to convince Moira to run for mayor against Blood, as Walter and his associates believe Blood would bankrupt the city in 8 months if elected. Moira doesn't believe anyone would vote for someone that almost got a life sentence for leveling the city, but she accepts on the condition that Thea's biological father not be revealed. Laurel's drug and drinking problem has spiraled way too much out of control, prompting Sarah to finally reveal to Laurel that she's still alive. Laurel passes out, so Sarah takes her to a hospital, but Laurel was slipping in and out of consciousness the whole time, believing she hallucinated Sarah. The next episode begins with Ra's al Ghul's youngest daughter, Nyssa, arriving in Starling City. She finds Sarah and acts like she's about to kill her, but then the two of them kiss, revealing that they've got a romantic history. Oliver happened to be watching them, making things awkward for him and Sarah. Yeesh. Nyssa tries to convince Sarah to come back to Nanda Parbat, but she still refuses. Later, it's revealed the reason why Laurel passed out that night was not from the drugs, but because she had snake venom in her blood. Sarah realizes the League was already going after her family and are currently kidnapping their mom, Dinah, who came back in town after hearing about what happened to Laurel. Oliver and Sarah try to rescue Dinah, but Nyssa and another assassin escape with her. Sarah realizes this is more of a personal attack against her, as Nyssa still loves Sarah, but Sarah has moved on. Sarah and Quentin come to the rescue of Dinah, but Sarah took snake venom because she refused to go back to Ra's. Oliver shows up and fights Nyssa, and then gives Sarah the antidote. Nyssa finally realizes how much Sarah wants to be with her family, so she releases Sarah from the order in Ra's al Ghul's name. Oliver and Nyssa scatter as the cops show up, and Laurel arrives to see her sister is still alive and wasn't a hallucination. However, she's not happy to see her, and blames Sarah for ruining all of their lives when she got on that yacht with Oliver. She then seeks comfort in Oliver, and they make love. Meanwhile, Felicity, per Walter's request, has been secretly monitoring anything Tempest-related, and just got an alert of a wire transfer from Tempest to Starling National Bank, which is where Walter is currently working ever since he left Queen Consolidated. Felicity then discovers the wire transfer was to the doctor that delivered Thea, realizing Thea isn't Robert's daughter. She confronts Moira about this, and she urges Felicity to not say anything to Oliver for his sake.
See the way you look at him. If you tell him this, you will rip his world apart.
In the end, Felicity still tells Oliver the truth about Thea, yet Oliver still chooses to switch sides and endorse his mother's campaign, which hurts his relationship with Blood.
But privately, you and I are done.
Oliver.
Time of Death is just another episode we can speed right through. Back on the island, it's revealed that while Oscar, Sarah, and Slade were planning on how to take the Amazo, a random plane crashed into the island. The radio was destroyed, but the pilot survived. The pilot is revealed to be Cindy's father, but before he died, he made Sarah promise to look after her if she ever got back home. In the present, Sarah is revealed to everyone to still be alive, and Oliver has a welcome home party for her at his mansion. Everyone attends except for Laurel, as she still hates Sarah. Later, the Lances have a dinner with just their family. Oliver decides to come too, which creates a rift between him, Sarah, and Laurel, especially when Laurel figures out Oliver and Sarah are together again. Laurel leaves, but Oliver catches her, and they have an argument where Oliver calls her out on her drinking.
I'm done taking the blame, and I'm done caring.
Eventually, Laurel and Sarah reconcile, and Laurel finally attends an AA meeting after Quentin tried to get her to attend one for so long. The episode ends with Slade revealing to Oliver that he's still alive by having a meeting with Moira in the Queen Mansion. It appears Slade has been funding Moira's campaign. Uh-oh. The next episode picks up right where we left off, with Oliver forced to give Slade a tour of his house with Moira and Thea. Oliver manages to warn Sarah that Slade is still alive, and she, Diggle, and Roy make their way to Oliver with the biggest gun they have. Lucky for them, they don't have to use it, as Sarah and Roy force Slade to leave without engaging in combat.
You were very lucky.
As Oliver walks Slade to his car, Oliver realizes Slade is the only one controlling Blood. Slade informs Oliver that he is there to follow through with a promise he made to Oliver on the island. Later, it is revealed that Slade used the tour to plant cameras throughout the house. Back on the island, the time has come to attack the Amazo. Oliver dons Yao's hooded outfit while Slade wears his iconic mask. They lure two of Ivo's men onto the island, and Oliver intentionally gets captured.
Told you I'd come back.
Fantastic. We're saved.
Ivo injects Oliver with truth serum and asks him where the Mirakuru and the others are. But Sarah anticipated this and gave Oliver something that would counter the effects. Oliver tricks Ivo into sending his men into the engine room, while Sarah and Slade board the freighter via a parachute they got from the crashed plane. Sarah begins freeing the prisoners while Slade goes after Ivo. Oliver gets to Ivo before Slade, but then Ivo reveals to Slade that he gave Oliver a choice to spare Sarah or Shadow. So now Slade blames Oliver for Shadow's death. Slade tries to kill Oliver while Sarah escapes with a couple of the prisoners, and it takes control of the ship and Ivo's men. Slade reveals that he has the Mirakuru and cuts off Ivo's right arm. Slade then promises to not kill Oliver until he has suffered the same despair he felt when Shadow died. This is the promise he made to him. Suicide Squad is an episode we can skip. Basically, we see Diggle and Lila lead Weller's new Suicide Squad, which consists of Deadshot, Bronze Tiger, and Shrapnel. The mission involves a drug lord from Diggle and Lila's time in Afghanistan, and during the mission, Waller kills Shrapnel when he tries to run. It's not the most successful Suicide Squad ever put to screen, but it's not the worst either. Moving on. Birds of Prey is another skippable episode, but a few important things happen. Helena comes back to town to kill Frank, only it isn't her that ultimately kills him, and yet she's still later arrested. Roy breaks up with Thea, per Oliver's advice, and then Slade befriends Thea after they bonded during the Queen Mansion tour. Back on the island, Slade has the same dragon tattoo Shadow had on her back tattooed onto Oliver's, as a reminder of his crime. The next episode begins with Slade consoling a grieving Thea after her breakup with Roy, only to reveal he isn't taking her home, but kidnapping her. Slade then interrupts the mayoral debate to reveal that he has Thea, shocking everyone. Oliver wants to get his sister back, but the duties as CEO of the company prevent him from being the Arrow full-time. So he temporarily gives Rochev CEO status so he can focus on finding Thea. Oliver, Roy, and Sarah find Slade and easily take him in, totally not suspicious at all. They couldn't find Thea, so Oliver begs Slade to tell him where she is, but Slade doesn't say anything, because not knowing where his sister is making Oliver suffer.
Is that what this is all about? Because I'm begging. You win. Just please.
Slade is then released because he produced evidence that he was in Costa Rica the past 3 days. So there's no way he could have kidnapped Thea. Team Arrow tries to follow Slade as he leaves the precinct, but they lose sight of him. Back at the Foundry, Roy blames Oliver for convincing him to break up with Thea, believing if he hadn't, he could have been there to protect her. He quits the team and leaves town. Oliver then discovers that Rochev used her temporary CEO status to permanently make her CEO of the company. He then realizes Rochev and Slade had been working together all this time, and she also has a bitter hatred for the Queen family. She tells him where Thea is, and he goes alone, completely ignoring his no-kill rule. However, it turns out that all of this was a distraction so Slade could free a group of convicts to be used as test subjects for his next Mirakuru trials. It turns out Slade had released Thea a long time ago and told her that Merlin was her father. In the aftermath, Quentin is arrested for aiding the Arrow, and Moira pulls ahead in the election polls thanks to Slade. Slade then visits Laurel and reveals to her that Oliver is the Arrow. On the island, Sarah tries to exchange Oliver for another prisoner named Hendrik, as Slade needs him to repair the engines on the Amazo. Slade realizes Sarah only agreed to the trade because she was trying to kill him, but as he's about to kill Sarah, he hallucinates Shadow. Shadow convinces him to let them live and let the island be their prison. The next episode begins with Oliver and the team destroying Rochev's lab at Queen Consolidated, so Slade can't mass-produce the Mirakuru. In retaliation, Slade attacks them at the Foundry and steals an electronic skeleton key, the same one they used to break into Rochev's lab. Sarah gets hurt and is taken to the hospital. Laurel comes to check on her and is notified by the doctors about the numerous scars on her body that are years old. The scars are very similar to the ones she saw on Oliver's body, and she begins to suspect Sarah could also be a vigilante. Slade then raids Star Labs and has a run-in with 2 employees there, Caitlin Snow and Cisco Ramon. He steals a biotransfuser so he can transfer the Mirakuru-infused blood to the freed convicts. On the island, a dying Ivo tells Oliver and Sarah that there is a cure for the Mirakuru that reverts someone back into a normal human. The problem is that it's back on the freighter, so he gives them his key and they mercy kill him. Oliver tracks Slade and discovers that he has kidnapped Roy and is using him to transfuse the blood. He then fights Slade and Rochev, but then Diggle appears and fatally shoots Rochev. Oliver takes Roy back to the Foundry and then enlists the help of Caitlin and Cisco to construct a cure for the Mirakuru.
5 years ago, I had the chance to use the cure on Slade. I chose to kill him. Everything that's happening now is my fault.
The episode ends with Slade getting his Mirakuru army of convicts and them all transferring their blood to Rochev to save her life. Seeing Red is an episode we can fast forward through. Most of it is Oliver and the team recapturing an out-of-control Roy, during which he kills a cop with a family. Too far, Roy. They keep him sedated until they can find a cure, but Roy eventually remembers he killed a cop and he constantly tries to find a way to atone for his mistake, even if it wasn't his fault. We then get the revelation that Moira knew Oliver was the Arrow ever since the earthquake, and she couldn't be more proud of her son. Sarah realizes she's not good enough for Oliver, so she leaves the city in search of Nyssa. We then flash back to a few years before the shipwreck and learn that Oliver got a girl named Samantha Clayton pregnant. Moira took care of it by giving Samantha a check for $1 million to tell Oliver she had a miscarriage, and then leave Starling City. So all this time, somewhere out there, Oliver has had a son. The episode ends with Slade capturing Oliver, Thea, and Moira, and forcing Oliver to choose if Thea or Moira live, just like Ivo did for Sarah and Shadow. Oliver can't choose, so Moira volunteers herself and Slade kills her. Like, for real, with no fake-outs. With Moira now dead, the next episode begins with her funeral and Blood being sworn in as the city's new mayor. Everyone important in her life is present at her funeral except for Oliver, who has gone missing ever since Moira died. Diggle and Felicity turn to Waller, hoping she knows where Oliver is, but Waller only agrees to help them when Diggle informs her Slade has an army of Mirakuru soldiers. Meanwhile, Laurel is still convinced Blood is dirty, so she has his computer hacked and learns he and Slade are working together. Rochev visits Thea at the club and informs her that because she now owns Queen Consolidated, she has decided to shut down the club, especially since it was in the warehouse owned by the company. This makes Thea contemplate leaving town for good. Waller finds where Oliver is hiding, and Diggle and Felicity go to rescue their friend from his own tortured mind. Oliver blames himself for not curing Slade on the island when he had the chance, because if he hadn't tried to kill him, Moira might still be alive. He plans to surrender himself to Slade, hoping this will finally end Slade's vendetta and spare his friends, but this is Diggle and Felicity we're talking about. They aren't just going to roll over and let their friends surrender without a fight, so they convince Oliver to not surrender himself, and that's when Laurel reveals to Oliver that she knows he's the Arrow.
And that person doesn't give up. That person, he always finds a way.
Laurel shows proof that Blood and Slade are working together, so Oliver pays Blood a visit. Oliver confronts Blood and reveals he's the Arrow, but then realizes the only way to stop Blood is to kill Slade's Mirakuru army. However, Slade's army begins wreaking havoc on the city before Oliver and the others can stop them, and Diggle is confronted by Rochev, now looking like her comic book character, Ravager. The next episode picks up right where we left off. Felicity saves Diggle from Rochev, while Oliver frees Laurel from some collapsed debris. Caitlin and Cisco succeed in making a cure for the Mirakuru, but Slade's men acquire it before Oliver does. Quentin finally gets the police force to trust him and side with the Arrow, and he even gets reinstated as a detective. Nice. During this, Merlin rescues Thea as a dark archer and wants to leave the city with her, but she has second thoughts upon seeing how ruthless he is. Blood witnesses Slade's men killing the district attorney and realizes Slade isn't just doing this to help him become powerful in Starling City, but plans to kill everyone as a part of the promise he made to Oliver. Yeah, that'll happen when you side with a psychopath.
But this city, it's mine too.
Not anymore.
Blood then has a change of heart and steals the cure from Slade, giving it to Oliver. Slade finds out and has Rochev kill Blood. Oliver then tests the cure on Roy while Waller's forces arrive to prevent anyone from leaving the city. She plans to destroy the city, believing it's the only way to defeat Slade and his army. Such an Amanda Waller move. Back on the island, Oliver and Anatoly get the submarine working again, but Sarah gets captured by Slade. Oliver plans to go after her, but he isn't successful. Oliver wants Anatoly to sink the Amazo with the only torpedo they have left. Oliver rescues Sarah, but then learns Slade already found the cure. Season 2 ends with the cure working on Roy and Lila rescuing the team from Slade's army. Sarah comes back to town with Nyssa and the League to provide backup for Oliver, a deal Sarah could make with Nyssa if she agreed to go back to Nanda Parbat. The League gifts Roy with a red mask, and together they infiltrate Queen Consolidated, injecting the cure into any member of Slade's army they encounter. Nyssa kills Rochev, but Slade gets away.
Your reticence to do what is necessary is why your city burns.
Waller plans on leveling the city with a drone strike, so Diggle and Lila free the Suicide Squad to help stop the drone. By now, Oliver has figured out Slade planted cameras all around his mansion, so he takes Felicity there and puts her on an act, telling her that she's always been the woman he's loved. not Laurel. Something tells me Felicity didn't want their love to be fake. Slade falls for the deception and kidnaps Felicity. Oliver confronts Slade, knowing he hasn't stopped hallucinating Shadow, and distracts him long enough so Felicity can inject the cure into Slade. Oliver defeats Slade without killing him, and Waller calls off the drone strike. In the aftermath, Sarah says goodbye to Laurel and Quentin, with Laurel hinting that she might take up Sarah's mantle as Canary. However, Quentin got severely injured during the battle and later develops a serious heart condition. Thea leaves town with Merlin after discovering Roy works with the Arrow, while Oliver incarcerates Slade on Lian Yu. Slade vows to escape and come after Oliver and everyone he loves. Back in the flashbacks, Anatoly sinks the Amazo like Oliver asked him to. Sarah goes overboard, making Oliver think she died when she ended up getting rescued by the League. Slade gets trapped under the ship debris, and Oliver gets the chance to inject the cure in him, but when Slade promises to kill everyone he loves, Oliver stabs an arrow in his eye, trying to kill him. The ship sinks, knocking Oliver out, and then he awakens in Hong Kong, where he's the first introduced to Waller. So I guess he didn't spend 5 years on Lian Yu. Huh. Season 3 begins with Oliver and the team continuing to take down criminals in the city. Diggle and Lila have gotten back together, but are still not married, and are welcoming a brand new baby girl. Oh. Despite objecting at first, Diggle takes Oliver's advice and retires from the field of duty so he can keep them both safe. This gives Roy the opportunity to really become Oliver's new partner, going by the name Arsenal. Quentin survived his injuries and is now a captain in the SCPD. With Laurel's help, Quentin officially calls off any pursuit against the Arrow and his team, allowing them to help the city in peace. Oliver then takes Diggle's advice and finally goes on a date with Felicity. Double aw. Meanwhile, brilliant entrepreneur Ray Palmer successfully acquires Queen Consolidated under a plan of rebuilding the city and renaming it Star City. This makes Oliver realize he can't be the Arrow and Oliver Queen at the same time, and tells Felicity they can't keep seeing each other, despite already confessing how much he loves her. Back in Hong Kong, Oliver keeps trying to escape and get a message to his family that he's still alive, but Waller is always 2 steps ahead of him. Right now, Oliver is her most valuable asset, because she can use him as a disposable field agent to handle off-the-record dangerous missions. And if he dies, no one would miss him because he's already dead. Oliver still plans to escape, so Waller places him under the care of Masao Yamashiro, threatening to kill his family if Oliver leaves. This convinces Oliver to reluctantly stay. The episode ends with Sarah coming back to Starling City, only to be killed by someone she recognized. Her body falls off a rooftop, landing right in front of Laurel. Damn. The season just started. Episode 2 begins with Laurel bringing Sarah's dead body back to the team, and they all mourn her death.
Ollie, it's not fair. We just got her back. It's not fair.
The team spends the majority of the episode tracking down someone who they all think was responsible for killing Sarah, but it turned out to not be him. They bury Sarah's body and all agree to not tell Quentin that Sarah is dead. Diggle also decides to come back to the team. The episode ends with Diggle naming his daughter Sarah in honor of her memory, Felicity getting an executive job working for Ray, and the revelation that Thea and Merlin are in Cordo Maltese. For the past 6 months, Merlin has been training her to be a skilled fighter, as well as helping her calm her mind and control emotional and physical pain. The dude basically created another him. With Felicity's help, Oliver tracks Thea to Cordo Maltese in the next episode. He tries to convince her to come back home, but she refuses as she's tired of everyone around her keeping secrets from her. So Oliver tells her all of what really happened to Robert, and that he sacrificed himself so that Oliver could live. When Oliver was rescued after 5 years, he had told everyone that Robert died when the ship capsized. So this is big for Thea to hear.
Because I need you to realize, Mom, Dad, they sacrificed themselves so that we could live.
Oliver tells Thea how much he needs her and leaves. Thea tells Merlin she now wants to go home, and he allows it when she defeats him in combat.
You let me win, didn't you?
I'll be seeing you soon. Safe flight.
During this, Laurel attends another AA meeting and learns a fellow AA member is being beaten by her boyfriend. So Laurel tries to emulate Sarah and attack the abusive boyfriend, but she's not that good of a fighter, and the boyfriend sends her to the hospital. Maybe spend a couple of years on an island and try again. Then, when Oliver gets back from Cordo Maltese, Laurel asks Oliver to train her, but he refuses because he doesn't want her to get herself killed. Laurel is determined to do some good like her sister did, so she seeks out boxer Ted Grant to train her on how to fight. The episode ends with Nyssa returning, demanding to know what happened to Sarah. Episode 4 picks up right where we left off. Nyssa is devastated to learn that Sarah is dead, but already has a pretty good idea at who it was that killed her. She refuses to share that information, but instead reveals that the reason why Sarah came back to Starling City was because she was looking for Merlin. Merlin was a member of the League of Assassins, nicknamed the Magician. And this is the first time Oliver is hearing Merlin is still alive, as Thea never revealed she was with Merlin in Corto Maltese. Merlin is the likeliest suspect to have killed Sarah, so Oliver agrees to meet with him in a public location, since he doesn't want Nyssa and Laurel to straight up murder him. Merlin explains he didn't kill Sarah because Raish placed a bounty on his head, so why would he get it lifted by killing his daughter's girlfriend? Merlin admits he is a killer, but argues he has a moral code because if it weren't for him, Thea might be dead.
I swear to you on Thea's life, I am not Sarah Lance's killer.
Nyssa learns through this that Thea is Merlin's daughter, so she kidnaps Thea in order to draw him out. Both Oliver and Merlin come to the rescue. Thea fights Nyssa. Oliver then gets the chance to kill Merlin, but refuses. Merlin then insinuates that Raish killed Sarah because she stole his daughter's heart.
Do you really need me to tell you what he would do to the degenerate who would steal his daughter's heart?
Nyssa does not believe him, but Oliver does and vows to protect Merlin for as long as he is in Starling City. Nyssa leaves to report back to Raish, but warns Oliver that he has made a serious enemy in the League. Back in Hong Kong, Oliver assassinates his first target, and learns that Fires is working for Waller when he was on Lian Yu. Waller tricked Fires into thinking he'd be starting a war with China, but actually her intention was to kill Chien on a flight headed for Hong Kong. Oliver inadvertently stopped the attack 2 years ago, so Waller needs him to find out the reason for Chien's presence in Hong Kong. In the next episode, the city is attacked by a group of hacktivists calling themselves Brother Eye. To make things worse, Felicity's absentee mother Donna is in town, whom Felicity has had an estranged relationship with. As Oliver and the others try to restore order to the city, Felicity realizes the virus Brother Eye, used to attack the city, was the exact same virus she built back when she was a goth girl at MIT 5 years earlier. Those were different times, I guess. She and her then-boyfriend, Sheldon Cooper, Cooper Sheldon, would use the virus to gain access into any infected server, and basically do whatever they wanted. Felicity also doesn't think Cooper is behind this because he was arrested by the FBI and later hung himself in prison. Later, Felicity and Donna get into an argument, and Felicity realizes that whoever is in charge of Brother Eye sent Donna here as leverage. They are both suddenly kidnapped by cyber-terrorists and learn that Cooper is still alive and in charge of Brother Eye. Cooper forces Felicity to divert a set of armored vehicles, carrying newly minted money, to their location. She instead secretly uses a smartwatch Ray gave Donna earlier to contact Oliver. He arrives with Roy and Diggle, stopping Cooper and the cyber-terrorists. The episode ends with Felicity reconciling with her mom, Laurel telling Ted why she wants to learn how to fight, and Roy having reoccurring nightmares that he was the one who killed Sarah. So could Roy be the killer? Guilty is another episode we can just fast forward. Basically, a new murderer has come back to town and begins taking out gang members. When one body is found at Ted's gym, he becomes the main suspect. Ted reveals to Oliver that he was once a vigilante who retired after a drug dealer was beaten to death by accident by his former protege, Isaac. The murderer is clearly Isaac, but is bested by Oliver before escaping. Eventually, Isaac kidnaps Ted and Laurel, but Oliver rescues them and defeats Isaac. During this, Roy opens up about his dreams and learns he wasn't Sarah's killer, but is having dreams of when he murdered the cop. Despite knowing he didn't kill Sarah, Roy still feels incredibly guilty about what he did. The episode ends with Isaac being murdered by another Arrow copycat known as Cupid. In the next episode, we learn that during the siege at the end of the last season, Cupid, whose real name is Carrie Cutter, was one of the random helpless civilians Oliver saved from Slade's army. This caused her to become infatuated with the Arrow, and she definitely doesn't have a creepy shrine dedicated to him in her basement. Back to the present, Oliver and Quentin find Isaac's body dressed as the Arrow, and find one of Cupid's arrows with the tip shaped like a heart. Oliver learns that Carrie used to be a cop, and her fanatic obsession with him is a result of her severe detachment disorder. So Oliver meets with her in the alley he saved her in during the siege and rejects her love. She then goes all psycho on him and tries to kill both of them, because if she can't have him, then no one can. Oliver saves them both and turns her over to Waller, where she'll eventually become a new member on her suicide squad. Meanwhile, Ray rebrands Queen Consolidated into Palmer Technologies, and Felicity begins developing a crush on Ray. Oliver struggles with how much time Felicity is spending with Ray and takes Diggle's advice to tell her how much she means to him, only to walk in on Felicity and Ray kissing. Awkward. Later, we see Ray working on a personal exosuit design called Atom. Basically, Atom is DC's equivalent to Ant-Man from Marvel. The episode ends with mysterious boomerang killer named Digger Harkness arriving in Starling City, and starts his killing spree by killing an Argus agent. The Brave and the Bold is the first of many crossover episodes between two different shows, in which one show will have one part and the other show will have the conclusion. It was a nice way of bringing two more shows together in that shared universe I mentioned earlier. However, because this is a recap of Arrow, I'm only going to be focusing primarily on the episodes from the show, unless I absolutely need to cover an episode from a different show to establish context. This episode is the follow-up to an episode that aired in The Flash, where basically Team Arrow came to Barry and his team for anything they had regarding Dagger, aka Captain Boomerang, while they helped Barry stop a metahuman named Roy Bivolo. Roy has the ability to manipulate people's emotions, and he causes Barry to get angry, forcing Oliver to fight him in a long-awaited Flash vs. Arrow showdown. Oliver gets a little help from Barry's team, and it ends up being a tie. Later, Felicity asks Caitlin to help her figure out who killed Sarah, and they end up coming back to Starling City with her.
Thanks. How did you find that out?
Back in Starling City, Oliver and Roy locate Dagger's house, only to find it completely empty except for a few dozen Argus operatives looking for him too. Later, Digger attempts to kill Diggle, Lila, and Oliver at the Argus headquarters, but Barry arrives to save them. Lila reveals Digger used to be a member of the Suicide Squad before he escaped. Together, Team Arrow and Team Flash work to find Digger. Oliver has to interrogate a member of the Bratva for information regarding Digger, and Barry is shocked by Oliver's violent intimidation tactics.
When my friend said your tactics made you a criminal, I defended you because I thought you were supposed to be a hero. I thought we were supposed to be better than them.
Barry calls Oliver out on it, but Oliver argues that he doesn't have a choice as things are tougher in Star City compared to Central City. Digger ends up finding the Foundry and wounds Lila before escaping, and it makes Oliver rethink what Barry said. Digger then plants 5 bombs around the city so Barry and everyone else take care of the bombs while Oliver stops Digger. Lila, almost dying, makes Diggle finally ask her to remarry him, and she says yes. Oliver incarcerates Digger next to Slade on Lian Yu, and Cisco makes some improvements to Oliver's suit. The episode ends with Oliver and Barry taking home lessons they learned from each other, and then having a friendly duel to see who's better. The next episode begins with Oliver being captured by the League of Assassins and brought before Nyssa. She's become impatient as Oliver tries to find who killed Sarah and gives him 48 hours before she starts killing random civilians. The mission will be carried out by Maceo, revealed to be a member of the League and now going by Sarab. Felicity gets a DNA test results back from Caitlin and learns the person who killed Sarah was Oliver? After reviewing security footage, it turns out it wasn't Oliver, but Thea who killed Sarah. Oliver refuses to believe it until he confronts Thea about it, seeing her new fighting skills firsthand. Merlin then confronts Oliver and shows proof that it was Thea, revealing he drugged her with Votura, which makes the subject extremely susceptible to suggestion, remembering nothing from the experience. Merlin filmed the event as leverage to force Oliver to take the blame and fight Raish in a duel so he can lift Merlin's bounty. And it was worth noting no one has challenged Raish to a duel in 67 years. Oliver confronts Raish and convinces him that he killed Sarah so that he wouldn't have to return to the League. Oliver settles his affairs and says goodbye to the people he cares about, even telling Felicity that he loves her. The duel takes place on top of a dangerous mountain that they first have to climb. Raish is hundreds of years old, but easily wins the fight by impaling Oliver and kicking his body off the side of a cliff. During this, Laurel reveals to Dinah that Sarah is dead, and convinces her not to tell Quentin for fear of another heart attack. Dinah then urges Laurel to avenge her sister's death. Meanwhile, Ray shows the Atom design to Felicity and states his intention to use the exosuit to protect the city as a vigilante. Ray's fiancée died during the siege, and ever since then, he's wanted to find a way to avenge her death and help bring justice to the city. Back in Hong Kong flashbacks, Oliver just tortured his first victim for information, something that scared him mentally, and learns Chien stole an engineering supervirus called Omega. Chien breaks into Maceo's house and kidnaps Maceo's wife, Tatsu, after overpowering her. In Left Behind, Team Arrow continues to protect the city in Oliver's absence, still not losing hope that Oliver is still alive out there. Recently, they've been dealing with a new crime lord, Danny Brickwell, as he plans to take over the Glades. Oliver's absence has also been worrying Thea, so Merlin investigates what's happened to him, and Merlin finds the sword stained with Oliver's blood. As it is Raish's custom to leave behind the instrument of death as a way to honor the fallen, Merlin brings the sword back to Team Arrow so they can confirm Oliver is dead, and Felicity blames Merlin for forcing Oliver to fight Raish. The team tries to move on and keep protecting the city and stopping Brickwell, but Felicity is the first to admit they can't function without Oliver. She breaks up the team and later quits helping Ray with his Atom project. During this, Laurel takes her mother's advice and dons a modified version of Sarah's suit, dubbing herself Black Canary. Back in Hong Kong, Oliver and Maseo learn Chien kidnapped Tatsu and learn from Waller about Omega's counterpart called Alpha. One virus is infective without the other, so Oliver and Maseo track one of Chien's men to a facility and try to steal Alpha. Oliver spared one of Chien's men and put a tracker on him so he could lead them to Tatsu. Maseo then tells Oliver he will be forever in his debt, and in the present we see Maseo paying off his debt. He rescues Oliver's body from the cliffside and brings him to Tatsu, who successfully revives him. Oliver slowly recovers in the next episode and is shocked to see Maseo and Tatsu with each other because of something bad that happened in Hong Kong. Eventually, the League finds them, so Maseo and Tatsu fight them off to protect Oliver. Maseo knows that he has to go back to the League, but Raish will kill him if he finds out that he helped Oliver. So Maseo wounds himself to make it look like Oliver attacked him and escaped. In the Hong Kong flashbacks, we see Oliver and Maseo manage to rescue Tatsu. Meanwhile, Roy saves Laurel when she struggles to take down a criminal. Roy and Diggle urge her to not honor Sarah by getting herself killed, but Laurel argues that she has to keep doing this because criminals fear the symbol, not the person. Later, Brickwell kidnaps the city's alderman, killing one during a recent rescue attempt. Brickwell then demands that all police evacuate the Glades for good, in exchange for the remaining aldermen. Felicity has a change of heart and rejoins the team, helping them locate the aldermen and successfully rescuing them. Unfortunately, the mayor still agrees to remove the police after Brickwell reveals that he has targeted every legislative body member. During this, Merlin tells Thea about Raish, and she convinces him to stay and fight instead of running away. It's also revealed that Chase, Thea's new DJ for Verdant, whom she's been growing close to, is actually a spy for the League. With the police out of the Glades, Roy and Laurel are forced to single-handedly fight off Brickwell's men to keep the peace, with Quentin giving them any information he has on Brickwell. It turns out that Brickwell is the one who killed Rebecca, Merlin's wife. This is shocking for Merlin because he always believed that he avenged Rebecca's death 21 years ago. Merlin propositions Team Arrow to join forces with him to take down Brickwell, but they refuse because, let's face it, Merlin doesn't have the best track record. However, after Roy learns from Thea that Merlin saved her life and Laurel realizes that they have no other option, they decide to team up with the guy.
He cares about this city. He just went about it in a completely unimaginable way.
So the team decides to rally the Glades against Brickwell. Brickwell tries to escape through an alley, but he's confronted by Merlin, who tries to kill Brickwell with the same weapon he killed Rebecca with. But then Oliver arrives, having recovered from his injuries, and made his way back to Starling City, and persuades Merlin to not become a killer this time.
Every choice I have made since my wife died. And you make a different choice now.
The police arrest Brickwell, and Oliver proclaims to the people of Starling City that he has returned. In the aftermath, Cindy, who was one of the people in the Glades that fought back, informs Quentin that Sarah wasn't fighting as the Canary tonight, which confuses Quentin because Laurel had been convincing him that Sarah was back as the Canary. Oliver applauds Merlin for making the right choice, and Merlin explains he chose to spare Brickwell because he regrets not being there for Tommy, seeing Thea as his last chance for redemption. Oliver points out the irony in what he's done to Thea and making her responsible for Sarah's death, which is why Merlin wants to help fix his mistakes. He wants to train Oliver as Raish trained him, so he can defeat Raish the next time he comes looking for Thea. Oliver then reunites with his loyal Team Arrow. Everyone is overjoyed to see him alive, except for Felicity when she finds out Oliver is now working with Merlin.
I don't want to be a woman that you love.
The next episode begins with Merlin coming to Oliver, arguing that the only way to defeat Raish is to let Thea join Team Arrow. Oliver still hasn't revealed to her that he's the Arrow and doesn't think it's a good idea, but Merlin can't see any other way.
Oliver, I told you before, if Thea finds out you've been lying to her all this time, you will lose her. Forever.
Despite the risk of Thea not being able to recover if Oliver dumps the big truth bomb on her, he reveals he's the Arrow. He apologizes for all the lies and deception, but explains he did it to protect her. Thankfully, Thea accepts the truth and praises her brother for all that he's done, grateful that he hasn't been the selfish playboy she thought he was all this time. Oliver explains why he's telling her this now, and what they and Merlin have to do. But Thea is hurt when she realizes Merlin had been trying to manipulate her against her brother all this time. That night, Thea has a nice romantic night with Chase, but quickly discovers he's a member of the League when he tries to slip a cyanide in her wine. Roy and Merlin come to her aid, but Chase takes himself out before they can. This makes Thea finally accept her dad's help, as she believed she could handle herself. Merlin understands Thea will never forgive him for everything he's done, but still agrees to train both her and Oliver. Their first step is to conquer their fear, so Merlin takes both of them back to Lian Yu. Meanwhile, Laurel finally admits to Quentin that Sarah is dead, and it devastates him. Back in Hong Kong, Maceo and his family try to escape Hong Kong while Oliver uses this chance to try and get home. However, Waller captures Oliver and tortures him until he reveals where Maceo and his family are. Oliver reluctantly tells her, and Maceo is captured. He apologizes to Maceo, only to learn that Maceo predicted this would happen and allowed only himself to be captured while his family got away. Waller ends up drugging both Oliver and Maceo, and then takes them to where they last tracked Chien, Starling City. Moving on to the next episode, where we see Oliver training Thea on the island. He takes a break from training to visit Slade in his cell, only to discover Slade escaped just like he said he would. However, it turns out that Merlin freed Slade as part of their training so Oliver could regain his killer instinct. Slade finds Oliver and Thea at their father's real grave and captures them. He puts them in the cell Oliver left him in and plans to make it look like Oliver and Thea died in Starling City. Luckily, Oliver and Thea manage to escape from their cell, and Thea forces Oliver to admit she killed Sarah. Thea starts having a panic attack and renounces Merlin as her father, but her rant is interrupted by Slade pointing a gun at her head. They fight Slade, and it ends with Thea pointing the gun at Slade's head. Reverse card. Oliver persuades Thea not to kill Slade, despite the fact that he killed their mother. They put Slade back in his cell, but Slade warns Oliver that he's already lost his sister. In the flashbacks, Waller explains she brought Oliver and Maceo to Starling City because Chien plans on selling Omega to a friend of Queen's Consolidated. Waller prevents Oliver from trying to contact his family, but he still finds a way to make sure they're all right. He discovers Thea became a drug addict to cope with the loss of him and Robert. And Tommy tried his best to keep her out of trouble. Tommy's a real one. Tommy has his 21st birthday party, and Oliver secretly attends, seeing Tommy and Laurel being together. So that's why he wasn't surprised when they told him they were together. Thea crashes the party despite being told to stay home and meets with her drug dealer there. Oliver confronts the dealer, but the dealer recognizes Oliver and he's forced to kill him. The dealer's death creates a crime scene, and Oliver watches from the shadows, realizing how badly everything and everyone in his life is spiraled out of control because of his actions. He's reminded of his father's dying wish to him, so he helps Maceo stop Chien from selling the virus. With Chien arrested, Waller introduces Oliver to General Matthew Shreve, who promises to free him after he's debriefed in China. In the next episode, Oliver and Thea continue to train with Merlin, despite how much Thea hates Merlin. Killing Sarah has begun to eat away at Thea's consciousness, and despite Oliver urging her not to say anything, Thea can't help herself but tell Laurel the truth. Laurel doesn't blame Thea because she was drugged, and then convinces Thea to make a deal with the League to hand Merlin over to them, but never reveal that she killed Sarah. Laurel then tries to kill Merlin, but her killing is interrupted by Nissa arriving with the League. Nissa captures Merlin, but Oliver prevents Nissa from going back to the Nanda Parbat, while the League takes Merlin there. Oliver then goes to Nanda Parbat, taking Diggle with him, but they fall right into a trap. While in chains, Oliver admits that Thea wasn't the only reason he came here, as he couldn't accept getting defeated by someone else. Diggle changes the subject and reveals that he and Lila are getting married. He always assumed Andy would be by his side through everything, but in a sense, Oliver was the closest thing to a brother he's had, so he asks Oliver to be his best man. Aww. Meanwhile, Ray and Felicity's relationship has become intimate, and Ray finally completes his Atom suit. Thea also admits to Nissa that she killed Sarah, and then gives her a chance to kill her, but thankfully Nissa sees this as another lie, still convinced Merlin killed Sarah. In the flashbacks, Shreve finally lets Oliver and Maceo go free after they're debriefed. However, they are attacked by Argus, so they try to leave, and Oliver is forced to escape with Maceo's son, Akio. The episode ends with Raish admiring Oliver's strength, and he asks him to become the next Ra's al Ghul. Picking up where we left off, Raish explains Oliver is worthy to take his place because he survived his blade, fulfilling an ancient League of Assassins prophecy that designates him as the next Demon's Head. Raish sympathizes with Oliver in having to be both Oliver and the Arrow back home, and explains that being Raish Al Ghul will finally give him what he's always wanted: the power to be unstoppable in keeping Starling City safe.
Your city will turn on you, and your closest allies within the police department will call you a criminal.
Raish shows Oliver the Lazarus Pit, the pool of water that can generate his health and can even resurrect the dead. It's how Raish has been alive for centuries. However, its regenerative properties are having a lesser effect on Raish the older he gets, meaning his time is almost up. As a gesture of goodwill, Raish allows Oliver to walk away along with Diggle and Merlin, having forgiven all their blood debts. Oliver chooses to leave, but is seriously considering Raish's offer. They return to Starling City, and Oliver releases Nissa. The team has several questions regarding to what happened to Oliver at Nanda Parbat, but Oliver doesn't want to think about that and just wants to get back to fighting crime. Nissa returns to Nanda Parbat and lashes out at her father on why Merlin was allowed to walk away alive. Raish reveals that he plans to make Oliver his successor, and Nissa is even more outraged. Raish would choose an outsider and not his own daughter. After taking down another villain of the week, Oliver decides he's not ready to give up being the Arrow. He tells Maceo his decision to not accept Raish's offer, but Maceo warns him that there will be consequences if he defies Raish. Nessa returns to Starling City and befriends Laurel, and even trains her to be a better fighter. Thea leaves Merlin and moves in with Roy, resuming their relationship. The episode ends with Maceo being right, as Raish also comes to Starling City and commits murder dressed as the Arrow. The next episode begins with Diggle and Lila remarrying, but the ceremony is interrupted when Team Arrow learns about the murders the Arrow committed. Quentin, who now hates the Arrow for lying about Sarah's death, issues a manhunt for the Arrow, and Ray supports it. It's obvious Raish and the League was behind this, so the team devotes all their efforts to tracking their next criminal target. Everyone except for Diggle and Lila, as Oliver orders them to go on their honeymoon. No objections. Unfortunately, Waller hijacks their honeymoon and needs them to help the Suicide Squad for another mission to rescue a kidnapped senator. Great. Oliver tries to stop the League from killing criminals, during which Ray equips his new suit and spots Oliver, using facial scans. Ray figures out that Oliver is the Arrow and then confronts Felicity because he knows she works for the Arrow. She tries to vouch for Oliver, saying he's been framed, but Ray doesn't believe her. He gets even more confrontational when he guesses she and Oliver were close and vows to bring Oliver to justice. Ray then engages Oliver in a fight, but Oliver disables his suit instead of killing him, proving to Ray that he is being framed. Ray, along with Laurel's help, tries to convince the mayor to drop all the charges against the Arrow, when Maceo, dressed as the Arrow, murders the mayor and shoots another arrow at Felicity. Meanwhile, Diggle, Lila, Deadshot, and Cupid rescue their senator, but it turns out to be a ruse to help his bid for president. The senator rigged the building to blow, which could kill the hostages, but thankfully Diggle and the others are able to stop the senator and save the hostages. However, the bombs are on a timer and couldn't be stopped, so Deadshot sacrificed himself so that everyone else could live. Before he died, Deadshot gave Diggle some advice on being a father, something he failed to be good at, and Diggle decides to leave Team Arrow so he can raise his daughter. Lila ends up quitting Argus instead so Diggle can continue saving the city. It's the thought that counts, though. Public Enemy begins right where we left off, with Ray taking the Arrow for Felicity. Ray is taken to the hospital, where the doctor reveals that he developed a deadly thrombus that has no known cure. Quentin issues an arrest warrant for the Arrow and his team, with shoot-to-kill orders in effect. Ray then reveals he has nanobots that can destroy the clot by shrinking it. Oliver enlists Nissa's help to track down Maceo, but Raish appears and once again tries to convince Oliver to take his place. Oliver still refuses, so Raish conveniently disappears right as the police show up. The team manages to escape, but Raish captures Quentin and reveals to him that Oliver is the Arrow. Quentin announces the Arrow's identity to the public and tries to have Oliver arrested. Everyone hides out at Diggle's place while they figure out what to do. But Oliver decides the only way to end this is to turn himself in exchange for full immunity for everyone else on Team Arrow. However, Roy refuses to let it end like this, so he intercepts Oliver's transport van, posed as the Arrow. Roy claims to have been the Arrow all along and is arrested instead of Oliver. Not a lot happens in the next episode. Oliver tries to convince Roy to not do this, but Roy sees this as the only way to atone for killing the cop. However, Roy fakes his death in prison, so the public believes the Arrow is dead and Oliver is innocent. Sadly, this means Roy has to leave the city. Roy's departure devastates Thea, but to make her night even worse, Raish shows up and stabs her with a sword, hoping this will motivate Oliver to take his place. Back in Hong Kong, Oliver and Akio reunite with Masao and Tatsu, and Oliver realizes the only way they can go home is to find Waller. However, it turns out Waller is just as much a prisoner as Oliver is. Shreve, who was behind the attack, plans to use the virus in Hong Kong, believing China is an economic and military threat. Oliver, Masao, and Tatsu steal the vaccine and decide to stop Shreve's plan. The next episode begins with Oliver finding a barely alive Thea right where Raish left her. He rushes her to the hospital, but the doctors say her death is inevitable. Masao contacts Oliver to let him know that if he accepts Raish's offer, he will be able to use the Lazarus Pit to heal her. Merlin warns against this, though, stating that the pit changes a person's soul. But Oliver decides to take her to Nanda Parbat regardless. They arrive and Thea enters the Lazarus Pit. It heals her, but she's put in a state of confusion and her memories are jumbled. Raish, fulfilling his end of the deal, says it's now time for Oliver to take Raish's place. This means Oliver will be stripped from his life in Starling City and everyone he loves, which angers Felicity more than anyone. She confronts Raish, trying to get him to change his mind, but Raish shares some insight on how he became Raish Al Ghul, adding that life isn't fair sometimes.
Tell him how much you love him. Tell him whatever it is your heart needs to express.
By now, Felicity and Ray had broken up, so Felicity takes this moment to finally tell Oliver her true feelings for him, and they end up making passionate love. You know what they say, what happens in Nanda Parbat stays in Nanda Parbat. However, this was all a ruse so Felicity could drug Oliver, allowing her, the team, and Masao to sneak him out of the fortress. They get cornered by assassins, but Oliver wakes up and commands them to stand down, addressing himself as his new name, Al-Shahim. Oliver appreciates what his friends tried to do, but they all know this only ends one way. He says a long goodbye to everyone as he takes his place as the head of the League once they get home. Thea wakes with a clear mind and becomes distraught when she realizes what Oliver had to do to save her. Back in Hong Kong, Oliver, Masao, and Tatsu try to stop Shreve from unleashing the virus, but they're too late. The three of them have managed to get vaccinated, but the citizens of Hong Kong, including Akio, all become sick. The next episode begins with Oliver beginning his training, which includes breaking down his psyche so that his allegiance is only to the League, and his new identity as Al-Shahim. Later, Raish recounts the time that he was chosen to become the leader of the League, and was forced to duel his best friend, Damien Dark, who saw himself as the true heir. Raish hesitated and Damien fled, stealing water from the Lazarus Pit and starting his own group, from whom Oliver unknowingly has dealt with in the past. Raish warns Oliver that Nyssa is his Damien Dark, so he must be forced to kill her or else she will take what is his. So Oliver comes to Starling City with the League looking for Nyssa, but Team Arrow has decided to protect Nyssa no matter what. Oliver then kidnaps Lila to draw the team out and force them to give up Nyssa. At the exchange, a fight breaks out, but Nyssa is still taken by the League. Oliver takes Nyssa back to Nanda Parbat. He's about to kill her, but Raish stops him, proud of Oliver for doing the one thing he was unable to do. Raish then orders Nyssa to marry Oliver as a way to unite their families and tells Oliver that he has to use the Alpha Omega virus to cleanse Starling City as a final act of ascension. It's later revealed that Masao supplied Raish with the virus when he joined the League. The next episode begins with the revelation that Oliver's allegiance to the League was a ruse, as he and Merlin have been working together in order to infiltrate and destroy the League. Merlin tries to explain this to the team, but he anticipated they wouldn't believe him, so he brought along Tatsu to convince them.
Is that a Masumune blade?
A katana, passed down for centuries within my family. The first son of each generation.
You are not a son, Tatsu.
The team arrives in Nanda Parbat and tries to prevent the plane carrying the virus from taking off. They get a little help from Rei, who destroys the plane in the sky. During this, Tatsu is forced to fight Masao and kills him. To make things worse, the virus wasn't on the plane, and this has all been a big trap. The team is taken to a cell, and Merlin reveals Oliver's treachery to Raish, but Oliver manages to convince him of his loyalty. Raish exposes the team, excluding Tatsu, to the virus before sealing them away in a cell. Afterward, Oliver and Nyssa are married. Back in Hong Kong, the city has gone into chaos. Oliver and Masao manage to capture Shreve so he can give the cure to Akio, but they are too late as Akio dies in Tatsu's arms. Shreve then reveals that there is no cure, and he only came along so he could capture them. The Season 3 finale begins with Raish and Oliver on their way to Starling City, but it's revealed Oliver and Nyssa sabotage their plane. They fight Raish and his assassins, but Raish manages to escape with the virus and the only parachute. Oliver and Nyssa crash land the plane, somehow surviving. Meanwhile, the team survives being exposed to the virus because Merlin secretly subjected them to the vaccine, using the trace amounts that were already in Oliver's blood from his time in Hong Kong. Barry then shows up to free them, but he can't stay long because he has another TV show to star in. Everyone reunites in Starling City, and shockingly, the team is happier to be with Merlin than they are to see Oliver. The team doesn't want Oliver's apologies, but they can't worry about that now because they have to focus on saving the city. Felicity tracks Raish's movement throughout the city, and Oliver realizes destroying Starling City wasn't just the final step in Oliver's ascension, but a chance for Raish to kill Damien. So Oliver decides the only way to stop Raish from using the virus is to give him Damien. However, Damien left Starling City upon realizing Raish was coming. So Raish arms the virus to go off in 4 locations. Felicity finds all 4 locations, and Quentin joins forces with them after Laurel convinces him to put aside his hatred for the Arrow. Even Thea arrives wearing Roy's suit. Diggle realizes Raish is releasing the virus through his men, but luckily they manage to stop the attack with minimal casualties. Oliver duels Raish for a second time and kills him.
I knew I chose well with you, boy.
The police then shoot Oliver, and he falls over a dam before being saved by Felicity in the Atom suit. Back in Hong Kong, Oliver manages to defeat Shreve and his men, and takes pleasure in torturing him because he failed the city and killed Akio. Maseo mercifully kills Shreve, which angers Oliver. Maseo then can't bear the guilt of not being able to save his son, so he leaves Tatsu, eventually making his way to Nanda Parbat. Tatsu ends up going to a monastery in Kumamoto, while Oliver chooses to live a lonely life and not return to his family because of what he did to Shreve.
You told me about his message. His hope that you would save your city.
I'm not the man my father thinks I am.
He boards a ship heading for Coast City. Back in the present, Oliver decides to live a normal life with Felicity instead of operating as a vigilante, knowing the team can handle things without him. Oliver cedes the title of Raish to Merlin, to whom Nyssa kneels, but promises vengeance. Ray begins testing a way to miniaturize his Atom suit, which results in an explosion that kills him. Alrighty then. Oliver and Felicity drive off into the sunset to start their new happy life together, with Oliver telling her that for the first time in his life he feels happy. Season 4 begins with Oliver and Felicity enjoying their new quiet suburban life in Ivy Town. He's also removed the dragon tattoo on his back, stating he didn't need it anymore. Meanwhile, Diggle, Thea, and Laurel continue to fight crime in Starling City, which has been renamed Star City in honor of Ray. It's worth noting that Diggle also goes by Spartan, and Thea likes to go by Red Arrow, but Oliver refers to her as the nickname he had for her when they were kids, Speedy. Lately, they've been tracking a criminal group known as the Ghosts, whose random criminal acts have started to become more systematic. Also, if you're wondering what happened to Walter and why we haven't seen him, apparently he died off screen. Rest in peace. Quentin meets with the city's leadership to address how to stop the Ghosts. When in walks Damien Dark himself. Damien reveals himself to be the leader of the Ghosts, and then warns them all to say goodbye to their loved ones as soon as they can. One by one, the city's leadership begins dying off, but Laurel manages to save Quentin before he's killed. This prompts Laurel, Thea, and a reluctant Diggle to ask Oliver to come back to the city, interrupting the moment Oliver was about to propose to Felicity.
Help us stop these guys, and then you can come back here to your domestic life of tranquility and soufflés.
Diggle is still upset at Oliver for kidnapping Lila and endangering his daughter in his plan, but Lila tries to convince Diggle to let it go. Felicity then admits to Oliver that she's been secretly helping the team try and stop the Ghosts all this time, and it upsets Oliver. Felicity explains that she did it because she hated living a quiet suburban life and missed the thrill of fighting crime like in the old days. The team tracks the Ghosts and witnesses Damien use some form of mystical energy manipulation. The team engages the Ghosts, and Oliver notices Thea displaying an excessive aggressiveness during the fighting, a side effect from her time in the Lazarus Pit. Eventually, they stop Damien's plan to destroy the train station, and Oliver dons a new suit, now officially going by the name Green Arrow. In the end, Damien gets away, and Oliver and Felicity decide to come back to Star City. Diggle deduces that Damien is leaving Hive, remembering what Deadshot told him, and Oliver broadcasts to the city that Green Arrow will continue to be a beacon of hope just like the Arrow was. It's later revealed that Quentin has been working with Damien after Damien threatened to hurt Laurel if he didn't help him. In more flashbacks, we see Oliver attempt an early version of trying to be a vigilante in Coast City, but he's terrible at it. Eventually, Waller finds him. She drugs him and sends him back to Lian Yu to assess a new threat. Episode 2 begins with Oliver and Thea meeting with an old friend of the family, Jessica Danforth. who informs them that she's been planning on running for mayor. The previous mayor died in the last episode, so the position is now open. Honestly, it seems like a pretty cursed position if you ask me. When she announces her candidacy, she's attacked by an anarchist working for Damien named Lonnie Mackin. Called it.
Get back to the atrium!
Oliver,
self-defense classes.
Oliver tries to stop Lonnie, but he gets away. Meanwhile, Felicity has become the CEO of Ray's company and learns that the company is in serious financial crisis. She enlists the help of an intern named Curtis Holt, and he has developed an algorithm that can solve all their problems. Eventually, Lonnie kidnaps Danforth's daughter, Madison, so the team mounts a rescue mission for her. They defeat Lonnie, but Thea can't control her aggression and sets Lonnie on fire. Madison is reunited with her mother, and Danforth decides to withdraw her candidacy. In the end, Oliver decides to run for mayor, while Laurel decides to take Thea back to Nanda Parbat to see if there's a way to help her. However, she's really doing this so she can take Sarah's body back to see if the Lazarus Pit can resurrect her. That's gonna be one smelly plane ride if you ask me. Back on the island in a flashback, Oliver infiltrates the new military operation occupying the island run by an officer called Ryder. Oliver convinces him that he's been on the island for the last 3 years, so Ryder recruits Oliver as one of them.
Not your concern. Like the man said, get back to work!
Laurel and Thea arrive in Nanda Parbat in the next episode and demand Merlin use the Lazarus Pit to resurrect Sarah. Merlin refuses to do it because there's no knowing what will happen if Sarah enters the water. It's basically a pet cemetery type situation.
What you are asking for hasn't been done in ages past. Even then, only in legend.
Which is why I did not ask my father to use the pit to save Sarah after she fell.
Merlin does know what is causing Thea to be more aggressive and explains that she's experiencing bloodlust. Bloodlust is a side effect of anyone that enters the Lazarus Pit, giving the person an uncontrollable urge to kill. Merlin tells Thea that in order to quell her bloodlust, she'll have to kill regularly, or else the bloodlust will turn on her and kill her. Of course, the only other option is to kill the man who tried to kill her, but he's already dead, so yeah, she's screwed. Thea resents her father even more, blaming him for making her like this. So to show a gesture of good faith, Merlin agrees to have Sarah's dead body placed in the Lazarus Pit. Nyssa tries to object, but she's outvoted. Miraculously, Sarah is brought back to life, but as predicted, she starts going all feral on everyone because her soul isn't in her body anymore. Nyssa destroys the Lazarus Pit in retaliation and is imprisoned at Nanda Parbat. During this, Felicity has to reveal to Curtis that she works with Green Arrow, and they're attacked by another villain of the week, but doesn't reveal that it's Oliver. Diggle and Oliver defeat the villain of the week, and Oliver takes a bullet, or in this case a playing card, for Diggle. Diggle sees this and finally forgives Oliver for everything he did to his family. Back on the island, Oliver tries to gain favor with his handler by torturing some of their prisoners, being used to harvest heroin-cocaine hybrid plants. Some drugs were stolen, and Oliver's torturing of a prisoner prompts one of the women named Tiana to confess that she stole them. Oliver takes Tiana out into the middle of the woods to shoot her, but instead frees her and takes her somewhere safe. The next episode begins with something you don't really see every day: Quentin enlisting the help of the Green Arrow. Recently, 2 police officers were killed by Liza Warner and the Anti-Vigilante Task Force. He's hoping Oliver can assist them in the matter because the task force reinstatement is kind of his fault. During this, Oliver announces to the team his plan to run for the mayor, but no one has any faith in him. That is until they see a secret elevator leading to their new bunker, as the building used to be Sebastian Blood's campaign office. During this, Laurel shows Quentin that Sarah is alive and currently chained in her basement, and Quentin is horrified to see his daughter like this. He later tells Damien about it, and Damien advises Quentin that if he truly loves his daughter, then he must kill her.
She's my baby girl. No, she isn't. She may look like your daughter, but she doesn't possess her soul.
Oliver discovers Quentin is secretly meeting with Damien and tells Quentin he's just as much a criminal as he is.
A part of me has always wanted you to see what kind of man I really am.
I didn't expect to wind up finding out what kind of man you really are.
Quentin then tries to kill Sarah like Damien told him to, but Laurel shows up and convinces him not to. Liza then captures Quentin so he can open up a secure facility housing all of the police force's contraband. Team Arrow arrives to save him, and the task force is arrested when Quentin saves Oliver's life. Oliver is in Quentin's debt and asks him to keep meeting Damien so he can spy on them for the team. Back on the island, Oliver hides Tiana from the men in the same cave Yao took him to, and then makes her appear dead using the technique Yao taught him. He convinces a high-ranking member named Conklin that she's dead. But as they leave, Conklin finds the communication device Oliver used to contact Argus when he first landed on the island. The episode ends back in the present with Sarah having escaped from her chains, so yeah, we got a zombie on the loose. Haunted begins with Sarah rescuing a woman that looks like Thea in the alleyway, only to try and strangle her after saving her. Sarah then runs off into the night when cops show up. Sarah then attacks a nightclub, going after another woman that looks like Thea. Oliver and the others arrive, and that's when Oliver first discovers Sarah came back to life. He realizes Sarah is trying to kill Thea and scolds Laurel for bringing Sarah back and not understanding the gravity of what she did. Meanwhile, Damien tasks Quentin with uploading a computer virus to a security company. Diggle helps Quentin upload the virus, which begins erasing names of important people. One of the names turns out to be Andy, Diggle's brother, but they accidentally trigger an alarm before they can find out why. Quentin then asks Damien why Andy's name was on the list, and he gives Quentin classified information on Andy. Quentin gives it to Diggle, and he learns that Deadshot killed his brother because Andy was a crime lord. So it wasn't an accident. Hive paid Deadshot to kill Andy. Meanwhile, Felicity and Curtis unscramble a final recording of Ray only to discover it's a cry for help, meaning Ray is still alive. Back on the island, Conklin confronts Oliver about the communication device, but Oliver plays innocent. Conklin takes this device to Ryder, but Ryder is busy interrogating a new captive, John Constantine. Constantine breaks free from his handcuffs and points a gun at Oliver's head. Constantine came here with a map searching for something, and Oliver is the only one that can help him take him there, because Oliver knows this island like the back of his hand. Along the way, Oliver learns that Constantine is a detective that specializes in the occult and magic, and he's here looking for a mystical object in some sort of Indiana Jones temple. Constantine thanks Oliver for this help and tells him he owes him. He then uses the mystical object to give Oliver a mystical tattoo, saying it'll save him from Ryder in the future. We're really jumping the shark here, but I'm not complaining. Back in the present, Oliver and Laurel use Thea as bait to capture Sarah, and then Oliver calls present-day Constantine to help them because of the favor he owes him. Constantine performs a ritual that restores Sarah's soul to her body, and it's a happy reunion for the Lances. In the next episode, Felicity continues to search for Ray, and Ray manages to send a live message. Apparently, the suit saved Ray from an explosion by shrinking him, and he's currently being held prisoner in his small size. He informs Felicity of schematics that can build a machine to return him to normal size, but unfortunately they need a certain part that they can't get unless they steal it. So Team Arrow breaks into the facility to retrieve the part, during which Sarah is unable to control her bloodlust. Ray then gets a second message to Felicity, and it's revealed that the one keeping him prisoner is Damien. Figures. The team then tracks Damien to his hideout using the device created by Curtis. They successfully restore Ray to his normal size. During the fight, Sarah once again can't control her bloodlust and kills one of Damien's men. Knowing it'll take her a long time to control, Sarah decides to leave Star City to go star in another DC show, and Ray eventually joins her. Back on the island, Oliver shows the temple to Ryder, prompting Ryder to send Oliver searching for another ancient ruin that is supposed to yield a gift for him. Conklin still thinks Oliver is a mole, so he has a prisoner named Vlad attack Oliver, who just so happens to be Tiana's brother. Oliver is forced to kill him in defense, giving Conklin the opportunity to have Ryder punish Oliver. In the next episode, the team continues taking down ghosts and fails to stop Hive from destroying money meant for Citibank. Diggle then gives Oliver the information regarding Andy being a drug cartel leader, and he's just as dumbfounded as Diggle was.
That doesn't track at all with what you have told me about Andy.
Oliver, that doesn't track with what I knew.
Later, the team sneaks their way into a Hive lab, and Diggle learns that Andy is still alive working for Hive. Does no one stay dead in this show?
She's sinking! The plot is sinking! Quick, hire the emergency writers!
Anyway, it seems like Deadshot failed to kill Andy because his fake death was orchestrated by Hive so that they could use his knowledge of the criminal underworld. The team wants to find a way to save Andy, but Diggle doesn't want to as he sees his brother as a traitor. Later, the team learns that Damien uses pills to control his operatives' minds, which could have been administered to Andy. They locate him and the rest of Hive, successfully extracting Andy. Diggle then confronts Andy about the documents describing Andy's double life, and Andy confirms that they're true. During the fighting, Thea had an encounter with Damien and learns that his powers may help cure her bloodlust permanently after Damien's failure to drain her life force. Back on the island, Oliver is able to turn Ryder against Conklin when Ryder questions the both of them using another mystical object. Ryder then has Oliver whip Conklin as punishment. Oliver then informs Tiana that her brother is dead, leaving out the part that he had to kill him. He gives her a map of Lian Yu, asking her to help him find whatever Ryder is looking for on the island. Legends of Yesterday is another crossover episode with The Flash. Continuing the story from the latter show, long story short, Cisco has a new girlfriend named Kendra Saunders, who turns out to be the reincarnation of the Egyptian priestess Chiara, aka Hawk Girl. She's haunted by an immortal Egyptian priest named Vandal Savage, who kills Kendra and her lover, Carter Hall, aka Hawkman, aka the reincarnation of Prince Khufu, in every lifetime to consume their life force, which maintains his immortality and increases his power. Good to know the plot of The Flash is even crazier than Arrow at this point. Savage is too big of a threat to handle, so Barry enlists the help of Team Arrow to take down Savage and protect Kendra. Merlin and the League now know all about Savage, and believe that he's trying to find the Staff of Horus, which will make it impossible to stop. Oliver and Barry fail to stop Savage from acquiring the staff, but Kendra does learn to unlock her wings. Oliver calls Team Arrow to Central City, and while he waits for them to arrive, he runs into his ex-lover Samantha, and sees her 10-year-old son William with her. This makes Oliver suspect William is his son that Moira told him died in a miscarriage. Part 2 of this crossover begins with everyone hiding out in a farmhouse away from the city. Felicity can tell something is on Oliver's mind, and Oliver doesn't tell her about William just yet.
And I'm going to tell you all about it. I would just like the chance to know what I'm dealing with first.
Okay.
Later, Merlin orchestrates a meeting between Savage, Barry, and Oliver. Savage demands that they turn over Kendra and Carter, or he will destroy both Central City and Star City with the staff. Oliver manages to get a sample of William's hair and has Barry run some tests, confirming that he is the father. Oliver instructs Barry to keep this a secret, but unfortunately Felicity discovers the truth. Oliver confronts Samantha on why she ran away with his son and reveals that Moira paid her to leave, but she never cashed the check. She begs Oliver to not bring William into his life, and in the end, Oliver accepts her request. Felicity then confronts Oliver on why he didn't tell her he had a son, and ends their relationship. Oliver puts all this aside and focuses on the reason they're here. He devises a plan to stop Savage by delivering Kendra and Carter to Savage as a ruse in order to destroy the staff. However, the plan fails. Both Kendra and Carter are killed, and Savage uses the staff to destroy both cities. Barry escapes running as fast as he can and manages to time travel back to the point of the first negotiation. Barry informs Oliver of this time travel and mistakes that led to their defeat. They change the plan and Barry is able to steal the staff. If only real life were this easy. He and Oliver use it on Savage, burning his body to ash. Afterward, Kendra and Carter decide to use their powers to help others in another city, and Cisco gives Kendra a tracking device in case they ever need help. Oliver also decides to not tell Felicity about his son in the new timeline, but Samantha allows Oliver the chance to finally meet his son. The episode ends with Merlin collecting Savage's ashes while whispering, "You owe me one, buddy." To be continued in Legends of Tomorrow. The next episode begins with Oliver beginning his campaign for mayor by cleaning up the Star City Bay. But Damien doesn't like Oliver's plans to help the city, so he sends a drone that begins shooting everyone there, injuring several people. Oliver retaliates by revealing to the media that Damien was behind the attack and is the leader of Hive and the Ghosts. Damien retaliates by crashing Oliver's campaign holiday party and kidnapping Diggle, Thea, and Felicity. This has got to be the most extreme mayoral race I've ever seen. Oliver then waves a white flag and offers himself in exchange for his friends, but then Damien tries to kill all three of them, only for Laurel and Merlin dressed as Green Arrow to save them. Later, Oliver finally proposes to Felicity and she says yes, but as they drive away in a limo, Damien's men shoot it up and Felicity is hit. Back on the island, Oliver returns to what is left of the Amazo and finds a more detailed map of the island. He swims back to Tiana, waiting for him on the beach, only for Conklin and several other men to show up, wondering why Tiana is still alive. Oliver rushes Felicity to the hospital in the next episode where she's eventually stabilized, but the bullet left her paralyzed from the waist down. Oliver then spends the rest of the episode trying to find Damien by interrogating Lonnie and having Diggle interrogate his brother. Eventually, Lonnie captures Damien's wife, Ruve, and his daughter Nora, so Oliver and the team rescue them. Damien is grateful and allows Oliver time to spend with his family in peace. Back on the island, Conklin informs Ryder that Oliver is not one of them, so Ryder lets Conklin whip Oliver just like he whipped him. But Ryder orders Conklin to stop stop when he sees the mystical tattoo Constantine gave him earlier. I guess Oliver owes Constantine another favor. Oliver agrees to help Ryder as long as Tayana is safe, and Ryder accepts. Episode 11 begins with an Argus agent coming to Diggle and Lila for assistance, but is kidnapped and later killed before he can tell them anything. Diggle and Lila go to Waller regarding what happened, and she gives them a USB containing information about the organization that took him called Shadowspire. Diggle recognizes that name from when he and Andy encountered the group in Afghanistan, and it happens to be the group Ryder is in charge of in the island flashbacks. The team attacks Shadowspire, but then Shadowspire infiltrates Argus, looking for the access codes to a project known as Rubicon, killing Waller when she refuses to help. Damn, she was a cold boss, but she always got the job done. In order to save Lila, Diggle is forced to trust his brother, and the team manages to stop the Shadowspire. Diggle allows Andy to be free and introduces him to his niece. Also, Lila becomes the head of Argus, now that Waller is dead. Meanwhile, Felicity comes home from the hospital, and both her and Oliver struggle with her condition. To make her feel better, Oliver gives her the code name Overwatch and vows to find a way to cure her. You always know just what to say, Oliver. The next episode begins with Nissa escaping her cell in Nanda Parbat. Meanwhile, Thea has restrained from killing anyone lately, so her bloodlust is finally catching up to her. It starts killing Thea, and the thief she was tracking gets away, unaware that it was Roy.
Roy?
They capture Roy and learn that Roy has been controlled by an expert hacker known as the Calculator. With Team Arrow's help, Felicity is able to stop the Calculator and free Roy from his grasp. During this, Oliver learns that Damien's wife, Ruve, is running against him in the mayoral campaign, and is just as evil as Damien. Nissa makes her way to Kumamoto and tries to convince Tatsu to give her the Lotus, a cure for Thea's bloodlust. Roy and Thea both know that Roy can't stay, so they tell each other that they still love each other, and Roy leaves. Felicity then reunites with her dad, Noah Cutler, completely unaware that he's the Calculator, and Thea's bloodlust increases so much that it puts her in a coma. Nissa arrives, offering to give Oliver the Lotus on one condition, that he kills Merlin. Back on the island, Ryder tortures Oliver for information regarding the maps he had, when he gets a mystical meeting with the Soul of Shadow. After facing his darkness with Shadow and getting a mystical stone from her, Oliver finally admits to Tayana that he killed her brother. She takes it about as well as you'd expect. The next episode begins with Oliver rejecting Nissa's offer. Instead, Oliver manages to convince Merlin to relinquish control of the League to Nissa in exchange for the Lotus. However, at the exchange, Merlin double-crosses Nissa, and a war starts between the two assassin factions in Star City. As Thea's condition worsens, Oliver convinces Merlin to challenge Nissa to a duel. But then Oliver uses ancient rules to trade places with Nissa as her husband.
I wish to fight on her behalf.
Oliver defeats Merlin, but Merlin refused to yield and demands Oliver kill him. Despite how much Oliver wants to, he instead cuts off Merlin's hand wearing the demon's head ring. And then he gives the ring to Nissa in exchange for the Lotus. Thea is saved and Nissa disbands the League, destroying the ring. Merlin then informs Damien about Oliver's son, William. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, Noah reveals to Felicity that he's the Calculator. Felicity freaks out despite Noah trying to convince her that he's a changed man. After all, Felicity used to be quite the hacktivist back in her day. Felicity instead decides to hand him over to the police. Back on the island, Tayana is still furious that Oliver killed her brother, even if it was in self-defense. She takes the stone from Oliver and gives it to Ryder, demanding her freedom, which Ryder refuses to do and tasks her to help Oliver recover. This allows the chance for Oliver and Tayana to reconcile. Ryder then informs Oliver that the stone led him to the location of the device of untold power, and now Oliver and Tayana must dig. Code of Silence we can fast forward through. Merlin joins Damien and the other leaders of Hive as they're moving towards phase 5 of their plan to destroy the world and rebuild it, something that involves a lot of, corn?
Hey, corn!
Curtis then reveals his early wedding present to Felicity, which it turns out to be an implantable biostimulant, allowing her the chance to walk again.
In the perfect world, it'll work in time for you to walk down the aisle.
Thea finds out about William and supports Oliver in not telling Felicity about his secret son, even though the cat is already out of that particular bag. But then it's revealed that Damien already kidnapped William. Back on the island, many of the prisoners, also forced to dig, don't trust Oliver because he killed Vlad. So to prove that they can trust him, Oliver kills Conklin. Before he dies, Conklin reveals that Ryder plans to kill everyone when he finds what he's looking for. The next episode begins with Damien revealing to Oliver that he has William, while Felicity is standing, or in this case sitting, right next to Oliver. Damien promises to release William, but only if Oliver drops out of the mayoral campaign. Oliver doesn't know what to do just yet, so he informs the team that he has a son. He also reveals to Samantha that he's the Green Arrow, promising to get Will back. Oliver then drops out of the race and Damien forces him to fully endorse Rouvet. I mean, is becoming mayor really all that important? Oliver figures the best way to fight Damien is to understand how his magic works, so they enlist the help of a Detroit-based superhero named Vixen. Yeah, in addition to all the fictional cities they created for this world, Detroit exists too, I guess. Go figure. Anyway, Vixen's real name is Marie McCabe, and she possesses the power of her family's Tontu totem, allowing her to inherit all the powers of the animal kingdom. Marie figures Damien must have some sort of totem that he gets his powers from. And Quentin confirms he walked in on Damien with an idol once or twice. Quentin draws a sketch of it, and Marie recognizes it as a rare Kushu idol.
Wi-Fi for magic, and the idol is his internet connection.
The team then attacks Damien in his home, and they destroy the idol, arrest Damien, and save William. It's later revealed Quentin was the one who kidnapped William. Oliver lets Samantha take William back home with her, and then records a message explaining everything for William when he turns 18. In the end, Felicity breaks off her engagement to Oliver, despite knowing Samantha made him promise not to tell anyone about William. The decision helps her recover the ability to walk, and she walks away from Oliver. Back on the island, a passage is discovered that leads to Ryder's ultimate power, and the spell on Oliver's stomach that Constantine gave him allows him to pass unharmed. Broken Hearts is a skippable episode. Basically, Cupid escapes and starts targeting recently married couples, so Oliver convinces Felicity to stage a fake wedding in order to capture her, even though it's a fake wedding. Oliver gets the chance to give the heartwarming wedding vow he wishes he could have given her. Regardless, Felicity quits the team for good, but something tells me she'll be back. They always come back.
I don't want to let you go.
I don't want to let you go, and I am already gone.
While in custody, Damien reveals he smuggled a mystical ring with him, hinting he still has magic. Back on the island, Oliver leads Ryder to a mystical idol, which turns out to be the Kushu idol Damien uses later on. Oliver steals it and runs off into the tunnel with Tiana. Beacon of Hope is another skippable episode, as Team Arrow deals with another villain of the week from The Flash show, during which Curtis learns that Oliver is Green Arrow and helps them save the day. And in the flashbacks, Oliver engages Ryder, whose powers from the idol dwindle. Ryder escapes into the tunnels to recover it, but Oliver and Tiana decide to save the prisoners instead of going after him. In the next episode, Andy informs Diggle that Merlin approached him, revealing that Hive is planning on breaking Damien out of prison. So Team Arrow attempts to foil their plan, but it turns out to be a ruse, as Hive just wanted them to leave the bunker so they could steal back the idol. This makes Oliver suspect Andy is still working with Hive. Merlin delivers the idol to Damien, but Damien notices the idol is incomplete because Oliver made sure to hide the missing piece just in case. During this, Diggle casually tells Andy about the missing piece. Damien orchestrates a prison riot so he can escape, but then the team arrives. Andy turns on them and gives Damien the missing piece. Damien's magic is restored and he escapes with 50 other inmates, but not before stabbing Laurel. Keeping his promise to Quentin that he would hurt her, Laurel is rushed to a hospital, but her injury is too great and she dies. But like every other character that dies in the show, she'll be back. Even if it's another version of her, she will be back. The next episode begins with the team, including a rejoined Felicity, mourning Laurel's death and trying to determine their next move against Damien. During this, another woman, posing as the Black Canary, appears in Star City. She turns out to be Evelyn Sharp, the daughter of Hive prisoners, who were left behind after Oliver saved his team when they were previously kidnapped by Damien. Meanwhile, Diggle tries to kill Rouvet in retaliation for Andy betraying him. Oliver stops him, and the next day, Rouvet issues an arrest warrant from all vigilantes. This prompts Evelyn to attack Rouvet publicly, but Oliver is able to dissuade her from killing Rouvet. At Laurel's funeral, Oliver reveals her as the Black Canary to preserve her image with the city. The next episode sees Oliver and Felicity traveling to Hub City in search of an immortal shaman named Ezran Fortuna, because why not? With Damien reinstating himself as the leader of Hive so he can carry out the final phase of their plan. Oliver realizes the only way to defeat him is to understand his dark magic, so he's come to Ezran, who can teach him. Ezran explains that Damien's magic is powered by death. The more people he kills, the more powerful he gets. Damien chose Star City because it houses a Nexus chamber, which exists outside time and space, and it most likely is where Damien will be hiding when his plan is carried out. After a mystical ritual, Fortuna tells Oliver that the darkness inside him is too strong to channel the light. Meanwhile, John locates Andy but is captured after a brief shootout. Andy places a tracking device on him, then allows John to escape so that Damien and his team can go after John and Lila and steal Rubicon. Oh yeah, by the way, Rubicon turns out to be the key to the world's nuclear weapons. No big deal. Oliver manages to stop Damien by channeling his power of light, nullifying Damien's powers and forcing him to retreat. During this, John kills Andy. He's been nothing but trouble since coming back, but damn, that's still his brother.
He was never gonna back off, Oliver. My family, They were never going to be safe.
During all this, Thea had been vacationing with her new boyfriend Alex, only to discover he was working with Damien. He had been subjecting her to the mind control pills and had taken her to a underground facility directly below Star City called Tevat Noah, revealing Hive plans to detonate nuclear weapons and build a new world over the ashes. The next episode begins with Damien and Hive taking control of the world's nuclear missiles. The team is left with no choice but to enlist the help of Noah to disable Rubicon. Damien finds out and enlists Sprickwell to find and kill Noah, but Oliver and the team are able to rescue him. Noah agrees to help, but Rubicon requires a high-powered processor from Palmer Tech. Felicity learns she has been fired as CEO and is unable to get the processor, forcing the team to break in and steal it. Hive locates the team when Noah hacks into Rubicon. As Hive attacks, Felicity and Noah shut down Rubicon to stop all the missiles but one, which launches and heads for Monument Point. Felicity is forced to redirect it to a smaller town called Haven Rock, reducing the casualties to tens of thousands. All things considered, not so bad. Sorry, Haven Rock. Oliver and Diggle find Damien in the Star Nexus chamber, gathering more power from all the deaths caused by the nuclear explosion. They're gonna need bigger arrows. Back on the island, Oliver and Tiana's attempt to kill Ryder failed, so Oliver plans to kill him while everyone else escapes via a plane. Tiana volunteers to stay behind to help Oliver, despite his objections. Ryder attacks them, but they manage to incapacitate him long enough to steal the idol. However, the idol begins to affect Tiana, like it did Ryder when she holds it too long. In the next episode, Damien's power has grown exponentially. Oliver and Diggle find the city underneath Star City, including the random chosen people living down there, constantly subjected to the mind control pills. Later, they discover that the people weren't controlled by the pills, and were willingly believing Damien's world-ending plot as a good idea, or they're just really into underground cities. Oliver attempts to rescue Thea, but she's also been subjected to the mind control pills, courtesy of Merlin, and turns on Oliver. Meanwhile, Damien attempts to reactivate Rubicon with the help of Felicity's former boyfriend, Cooper, and launch the remaining missiles. However, Noah, Felicity, and Curtis successfully shut down Rubicon for good. Oliver manages to talk Thea back to reality, and Lonnie kills Rouvet before blowing up the underground city. Damien then decides to use Rubicon to destroy the entire dang Earth, and shows up at Oliver's home where Felicity, Donna, and Curtis are. In the season 4 finale, Damien tosses Curtis across the room like a rag doll and then begins draining Donna's life force. Oliver arrives to stop Damien, but Damien's too powerful now. It's only when Thea threatens to kill Nora that Damien leaves, but not before taking the laptop that had the Rubicon on it. The team tries to track Damien, but by then he's already reactivated Rubicon and launched around 15,000 nukes. They have 2 hours before total nuclear fallout, and the city finds out that the world is ending in 2 hours, prompting everyone to lose hope and start rioting. So Oliver addresses everyone, inspiring them to stay strong and not lose hope, while Felicity and Curtis divert the missile aimed at Star City. Oliver goes after Damien, while Felicity, Merlin, and Thea track down Rubicon. Cooper wants to help them, but Damien promises to kill him in the most painful way possible if he's stopped. Felicity convinces Cooper to stop helping Damien, and Damien kills Cooper like he said he would. At least he tried. Curtis devises a way to stop the missiles by sending them into space, while Oliver is able to nullify Damien's powers using the hope he inspired throughout the city. While the citizens of Star City take on Damien's remaining men, Oliver duels and kills Damien. In the end, Thea, Diggle, and Quentin, who gets fired from the SCPD, leave the team for new lives, and the city council appoints Oliver as the interim mayor. What a beautiful ending, except we're only halfway through. Back on the island, Ryder confronts Oliver and Tiana as the plane carrying all the freed prisoners flies over them. Ryder destroys the plane and absorbs all their life forces, making him stronger. So Tiana, who's become corrupted by the idol, fights him. Ryder tries to drain Tiana's life force, but she counters it and drains all of his, allowing Oliver to kill him. She then starts killing Oliver as her power causes her to feel blinding rage over the death of Vlad, but Oliver manages to calm her down. Tiana knows she will become out of control again, so she convinces Oliver to kill her. Oliver radios Weller to rescue the rest of the prisoners and keep the idol safe, intending to go to Russia. Oliver made a promise to Tiana that he would avenge their deaths by killing the Russian general named Konstantin Kovar, the man responsible for how they ended up in Lianyu. Season 5 begins 5 months later. Oliver struggles with being both the mayor and the Green Arrow, especially since half the team went their separate ways. He does keep running into a vigilante wannabe, Rene Ramirez, aka Wild Dog, whom Oliver refuses to let help because he's way too untrained and impulsive. Felicity has been trying to convince Oliver to recruit the new Team Arrow Arrow, but he hasn't been the same since Laurel died, so he rejects the idea every time. Mostly it's because he's afraid they'll end up like Laurel, dead.
How can you ask me to put more people in the crosshairs?
I am not the one who is asking.
It's not until a new criminal crew led by Tobias Church unites all the organized crime cartels and street gangs under his leadership that he decides to heed Felicity's advice. So Oliver recruits Renee, Evelyn, and Curtis to Team Arrow, but doesn't reveal his identity to all of them just yet. Meanwhile, a mysterious hooded figure in black named Prometheus kills a policeman in cold blood. Meet this season's villain. The season's flashbacks focus on Oliver trying to kill the Russian General Kovar. If you're eager to find out how Oliver climbed the ranks of the Russian mob, this is your time. True believer. Since arriving in Russia, Oliver has been fighting in underground fighting pits, hoping to get close to the Bratva. One fight, Oliver killed a prized fighter in the Bratva who was supposed to win instead of him, so they captured him. The Bratva would have killed him if not for Oliver's good friend from the island, Anatoly, intervening. Oliver reveals why he's here, and Anatoly agrees to help because Kovar is an enemy of the Bratva. They begin by initiating Oliver into the Bratva. The next episode begins with Oliver arranging to have a company called Undertaking provide free medical health care to Star City's disenfranchised citizens as a special clinic. He meets with Undertaking's CEO, Janet Carroll, and she's immediately on board. Meanwhile, Oliver begins training his new recruits using a training exercise he learned in his Bratva initiation. Except for the part where the Bratva killed whoever didn't complete the exercise. Yeesh. The goal is simple, yet they keep failing every time because they fail to understand the exercise is about learning how to work together as a team.
The goal of this exercise is to figure out the goal of this exercise.
Later, he has them help out at an Undertaking event, giving them specific orders to not engage if a threat occurs. Renee breaks that promise when a new vigilante going by Gunmen shows up and kidnaps an Undertaking executive, and Oliver lashes out at him as Green Arrow. This causes Renee and Evelyn to quit, believing they can't trust Oliver. Meanwhile, Thea learns that Janet is working with Church, and Felicity later learns that it was Undertaking's nuclear missile that Damien used to try and destroy the world. Oliver confronts Janet and Church right when Ragman shows up, and they team up to stop an arms buy. Ragman is revealed to be the only survivor of Haven Rock when the nuclear missile blew it up, and he has sworn to avenge everyone that died for no reason that day. His real name is Rory Reagan, and he survived thanks to his father's mystical rags known as Devarim rags, that his father quickly wrapped him in right before the blast. Oliver offers him the chance to join his team, but only if he doesn't honor his father by killing. Rory accepts after learning the Green Arrow is Oliver, and that their fathers had similar dying wishes. Oliver then brings every new recruit back and reveals his secret identity to them so that they can trust him. Meanwhile, Diggle rejoins the army. Everything goes fine until one mission, his superior General Walker, turns out to be corrupted and plans to sell a nuclear trigger. Diggle finds out after his men thought he was dead, and Walker frames Diggle for the theft, resulting in Diggle being sent to prison. Episode 3 begins with Oliver investigating a new drug called Stardust. He investigates it alone because he still doesn't believe his new team is ready to aid him, so Renee and Evelyn secretly raid Stardust dealer Derek Sampson's warehouse. The raid goes wrong and Sampson ends up with superhuman strength and the inability to feel pain. Oliver learns what happened from District Attorney Adrian Chase, which convinces Oliver that he still cannot trust his recruits. Felicity advises him to accept the recruits as they are, and Oliver finally uses his new team to stop Sampson from creating more superhumans. Curtis even gets to try out his new suit, now going by Mr. Terrific. During this, Curtis learns that Rory was the only survivor in Haven Rock, and asks Felicity if she's ever going to tell Rory that she was responsible for tens of thousands of deaths. Eventually, Felicity works up the courage to tell Rory what happened in Haven Rock was her fault. Rory doesn't say anything, he just walks away with tears in his eyes. Damn. The next episode begins with Rory informing Oliver that he is leaving the team after finding out what Felicity did. Rory understands that she didn't have a choice, but he can't stand being near Felicity because she's a constant reminder of what he lost. Later, Felicity tries to reconcile with Rory, and Rory ends up coming back to the team. Well, that was quick. Meanwhile, Oliver helps Lila break Diggle out of prison. Diggle is hesitant to escape, believing him being in prison is a penance for killing his brother, until Oliver convinces Diggle that he's capable of carrying out his penance by protecting the city.
I need you, the team needs you, the city needs you.
Oliver then hides Diggle and Lila in a safe house. Back in Star City, the team learns that Church Church plans to assault the SCPD's anti-crime unit, where Chase is interrogating Church's man. They help everyone inside escape the attack, but Curtis is injured and Church captures Renee, intending to torture him to death. Back in Russia, Anatoly tasks Oliver with gaining information from and then killing an associate of Kovar. Oliver completes the assignment, and Anatoly welcomes him to the Bratva. The next episode begins with Oliver rescuing Renee, but unfortunately Church tortured Renee enough that he gave up Green Arrow's secret identity. On a positive note though, Renee was able to get Church to reveal his grand plan, which is to use Star City's docks to move all his drugs in and out of the city. The only hiccup in his plan is he needs Green Arrow dead in order for his glorious empire to exist. Church knows it'll be easier to kill Oliver as the mayor than as Green Arrow, so he plans to kill him next time he makes himself public. Diggle rejoins the team and suggests that bodyguard Christopher Chance, the human target, and someone Oliver knew from his time in Russia, could be able to help them. Christopher impersonates Oliver at City Hall and fakes the mayor's death when Church's mercenary attacks, allowing Oliver to catch Church off guard so they can learn more about his secret plan. Oliver and his team, joined by Diggle and Christopher, raid Church's meeting and capture him along with several other crime lords. Oliver then publicly claims that his fake death was part of a sting operation. Church is then taken to prison, but en route, Prometheus attacks the prison transport. Church tells Prometheus that Oliver is Green Arrow, hoping Prometheus will spare his life, but Prometheus still kills Church. Later, television reporter Susan Williams obtains evidence that Oliver was in Russia during the time he was supposedly trained on Lian Yu. The next episode begins with Prometheus killing random civilians with throwing stars, but what's strange is the killings aren't random, but people on Oliver's list. He hasn't finished that thing by now? This angers the recruits when they learn Oliver had a kill list, calling Oliver a hypocrite for having a no-kill rule. Regardless, Felicity uses the list to figure out Prometheus's potential next target. The team splits up and Evelyn ends up being the unlucky person to encounter Prometheus. She manages to cut his arm, but not before he almost kills her. Oliver rescues her, and the two of them reconcile regarding the list. Later, Felicity tells Oliver she discovered that Prometheus could be an SCPD officer, and we see Quentin walking away from an alcohol-induced sleep with a slash across his arm and a throwing star in his possession. Back in Russia, Oliver is captured by Kovar's men when a deal goes south, and finally comes face-to-face with Kovar. Vigilante is another skippable episode, but the flashbacks are important, so I'll just touch upon that. Oliver is still a prisoner to Kovar, but Kovar treats him like an honored guest, during which Kovar introduces Oliver to Teyana's mother, Galina, who is serving as Kovar's maid ever since her children went missing. Kovar claims the Bratva is using Oliver for their own ends, including making a deal with him, and the Kovar release Oliver back to the Bratva. There's one important moment that happens back in the present. It's revealed that Evelyn is secretly working with Prometheus, and Diggle's daughter has now been replaced with a son named John Diggle Jr. When did this happen? It's almost like someone changed that timeline in some sort of flashpoint. Invasion is another crossover episode, this time incorporating The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, and we get to see Kara Danvers, aka Supergirl, in action. Part 1 takes place in The Flash, where an alien race known as Dominators crash land on Earth. Lila meets with Team Flash and informs them that the Dominators first landed on Earth in the 1950s, with the goal to abduct humans so they could learn about them before mysteriously leaving. Barry and his team can't handle this threat alone, so he enlists the help of the OG Team Arrow, Team Legends, and Supergirl from Earth-38. Kara helps them train to fight the Dominators. During this, it's revealed that before all this, Barry had traveled back in time and saved his mother from dying, which resulted in a number of butterfly changes to the timelines, which explains why Diggle now has a son instead of a daughter. The episode ends with everyone except Barry and Supergirl being abducted by the Dominators. Episode 2 begins with Oliver finding himself in a shared simulated reality that shows what would have happened if he never got on the Queen's Gambit. Both his parents and Sarah are still alive. He's about to marry Laurel, and Diggle is operating as the Hood instead of him. Throughout this, they begin seeing flashes of their real lives and eventually realize what would have happened to them. They realize that they have to escape, but they're confronted by past enemies such as Deathstroke and Damian. They can't fight their way out of the situation and find themselves on the Dominator's mothership. They escape in an escape pod and are shot by the Dominator ships before being rescued by the Legends time ship, the Wave Rider. Once on board, Ray realizes the Dominators were gathering information about metahumans, using the hallucination as a distraction to help them build a special weapon. To make things worse, they learn the mothership is heading directly for Earth. Part 3 takes place in the Legends of Tomorrow, where everyone reunites with one another. Nate determines the best way to defeat the Dominators is to travel back in time to the year 1951 and kidnap one of them. However, 3 legends are taken prisoner by NSA agents along with the captured Dominator. They manage to escape, but have a change of heart and free the Dominator when they learn they were trying to assess humanity's safety from the metahuman threat. The reason they came back after leaving was because they deemed Barry a threat after he altered the timeline. The Dominators agree to leave Earth in peace if Barry surrenders himself to them, but everyone refuses to give up Barry without a fight. Together they manage to destroy the bomb and drive the Dominators back into space. As they celebrate, Oliver offers Kara his friendship, and Cisco gives her a device which will enable interdimensional travel and communication between Earth-38 and Earth-1, which is where everyone except Supergirl is from. So with the alien crisis averted, let's get back to reality. The next episode begins with Evelyn telling Prometheus all the people that are on Team Arrow. So Prometheus starts with attacking Curtis and injecting him with a tuberculosis vaccine developed by Justin Claiborne, a corrupt pharmaceutical manufacturer named on Oliver's former kill list. Oliver realizes that if Prometheus is targeting them individually, then he knows Oliver is Green Arrow. The team tracks down Prometheus and Oliver engages Prometheus alone, quickly learning how unmatched he is. To make things worse, Evelyn shows her true colors to the team by revealing she's working with Prometheus. I guess she's still mad at Oliver for being a hypocrite. Meanwhile, Felicity's boyfriend/cop, Billy, does some digging and discovers Claiborne had an illegitimate son and then is captured by Prometheus. The team deduces Prometheus must be his illegitimate son seeking retribution for what happened to his father. Oliver figures out Prometheus is hiding at the same place he killed his father and goes there alone. The dead bodies of the people Oliver killed are still right where he left them. He kills Prometheus, only to discover that he just killed a gagged Billy dressed as Prometheus.
Everything we touch dies.
Oliver has the unfortunate task of telling Felicity he just murdered her boyfriend, and it devastates her. Oliver finally begins to understand that he ruins the lives of everyone he comes in contact with, and that he's become more of a destroyer than a savior to the city. I guess you could say he's failed this city. The episode ends with Diggle getting recaptured and taken back to prison, and a very much alive Laurel coming to Oliver.
Damn it, aren't you dead?
In the next episode, Oliver tries to make sense of how Laurel is still alive, and Laurel claims to have been pulled back from the past right before she died by Sarah and placed here. The team welcomes Laurel back and throws a party for her, just like old times. However, Felicity isn't convinced that this is the same Laurel they knew, and suddenly remembers Laurel had an evil twin, more specifically another version of herself from Earth 2 that came here and fought the Flash in his own TV show. This version of Laurel, known as Black Siren, is a villain, and it turns out just broke out of Star Labs courtesy of Prometheus. Yes! Finally, someone didn't come back from the dead! Laurel escapes, but then calls a meeting with Oliver, trying to convince him that Prometheus forced her to be a villain again. Oliver chooses to believe her, but Felicity doesn't, and goes behind Oliver's back to order the team to capture her. In the end, Oliver captures her and places her in an Argus facility, hoping to change her one day and make sure the Black Canary lives on, which was a promise he made to Earth-1 Laurel before she died.
Who are you?
Meanwhile, Oliver convinces Chase to represent Diggle and somehow get him away from Walker. Chase figures out a legal loophole by having Diggle assault him in his county, which gives Chase the authority to personally prosecute Diggle instead of anyone else. Back in Russia, Gregor, the Bratva leader and traitor, attempts to force Oliver's obedience, but Oliver is rescued by a female archer named Talia Al Ghul, who also trained Yao. Episode 11 begins with a flashback to what happened the same night Barry got his powers. A CCPD officer named Tina Boland was working undercover until she was captured by a drug dealer, Sean Sonas. She was forced to watch Sonas kill her boyfriend, Vincent Sobel, right when the same particle explosion that gave Barry his powers happened. The explosion engulfed all of them and gave Tina the ability to sonic scream as she cried out to her dead boyfriend. So sad. Back in the present, Oliver and the team are looking for a new person to take up the Black Canary persona, while Laurel remains in incarceration, while Curtis discovers a present-day Tina. Ever since that day, Tina has become a vigilante herself trying to find Sonas, and every now and then, she saves someone with her canary cry. That's strangely convenient. Oliver takes Renee and Curtis to Hub City to recruit Tina. She initially refuses to join, but the team intercepts her attacking Sonas, who is also a metahuman with sonic powers. Sonus escapes, and Oliver reveals his identity to convince Tina to let him help her. Oliver's team helps her defeat the dealers during a shipment, but Oliver fails to dissuade her from killing Sonus. Later, Tina agrees to join Team Arrow and reveals her real name is Dinah Drake. Of course it is. Meanwhile, Felicity is able to use her hacker abilities to find a bunch of secret files about Walker. She finds a particular file that can get Diggle released after Walker tried to cover it up, and Diggle is released. Back in Russia, Talia does a favor for Oliver, and then Talia encourages Oliver to become the vigilante his father wanted him to become in Starling City. Episode 12 begins back in Russia, where Talia helps Oliver track down a drug supplier on Robert's list, the same drug supplier that was giving Thea all of her drugs. Talia presses Oliver to return home, but he chooses to help Anatoly kill Gregor. In the present day, Oliver and the team learn from Susan that Walker is in Russia for a deal with Markovian terrorists. Markovia is an industrial country with a significant metahuman population that's popped up a few times throughout the show. Just in the background, of course, and it's pretty important within the DC universe. Oliver takes everyone except Renee, who is helping a recently released from rehab Quentin prepare for an interview with Susan, eventually becoming Quentin's assistant. The team arrives in Russia, but Anatoly is not happy to see his best bro Oliver because of what happened last time Oliver needed his help.
Now one of your brothers is dead.
Oliver reminds Anatoly that he still owes him for what he did to Gregor, and so he offers to help Oliver, but only if he attacks another rival. Oliver refuses to do it because he would have to resurrect this thug persona, so Felicity goes behind Oliver's back and blackmails the Russian analyst who gives them information on Walker's location. It turns out to be a trap, allowing Walker to escape, so Oliver and Diggle have to settle for taking one of Walker's henchmen. Diggle tortures the henchman to no success, ignoring Oliver's orders to take the interrogation slowly, for fear of Diggle and Felicity acting against their morals. Oliver and Dinah accept Anatoly's terms and attack a rival. They're willing to be the bad guys, so no one else has to.
Part of my life that I thought that I'd moved past, but here we are.
The team and the Bratva intercept Walker's deal, and Rory uses his rags to contain the nuclear blast of Walker's failsafe bomb. Diggle learns his lesson and spares Walker, who is later arrested by the US military police. Upon returning to Starling City, Oliver sleeps with Susan, who later deduces his alter ego, after learning about a similar hooded vigilante who was in Russia 5 years ago. Rory tells Felicity that his rags do not function anymore and that he needs to leave temporarily. Spectre of the Gun is an episode we can skip, but we learn a bit about Renee's backstory. 16 months ago, Renee had a wife named Laura and a daughter named Zoe. However, Laura was a junkie, and one night Renee was unable to save her when she was killed by her dealer, right in front of Zoe. This resulted in Renee losing his daughter to the foster care system, and he was barred from ever seeing her again. Shortly after, Renee became inspired to begin his vigilante career after he saw Oliver kill Damien on TV. Damn! The Sin Eater is another skippable episode where Chien, Carrie, and Liza team up to wreak havoc on the city, only to be taken down by Oliver again. Meanwhile, Quentin's former superior officer Frank Pike uncovers evidence that proves Green Arrow killed Billy, and Oliver has to wrestle with what happened.
I'm sorry about Billy Malone, but it's something I'm gonna have to deal with.
Susan reveals to Oliver that she knows he's Green Arrow. Oliver denies it, and with Thea and Felicity's help, they were able to cover up everything. But it results in Susan getting fired from her job. News of a cover-up reaches the media and moves Oliver one step closer to impeachment. During this, Dinah becomes an SCPD officer, and Quentin gives her his blessing to take on the Black Canary name. In this next episode, Oliver's impeachment process begins, with Chase serving as his attorney. Oliver suspects Prometheus has been the one leaking information to the public, including that he accidentally killed Billy. During this, a new vigilante called, Vigilante starts trying to kill Oliver. Vigilante is then reprimanded by Prometheus because he wants to be the one to kill Oliver, and it's revealed Prometheus is Chase. At the crime scene, Dinah finds a piece of Vigilante's visor, and Curtis uses it to determine his next attack against Oliver. Oliver realizes the only way he can keep his position as mayor is to publicly disavow the Green Arrow as a cop killer. He then explains that the reason why he covered up Billy's death was because he wanted to protect the people from losing hope. During the speech, the team stops Vigilante from assassinating Oliver thanks to Curtis's new balls. I mean, T-spheres.
You what?
In the end, the city council votes against impeachment. Felicity makes things right and manages to get Susan's job back, and she and Oliver reconcile. Back in Russia, Gregor tries to kill Anatoly and Oliver, so Anatoly demands spros du pros, the process by which the head of the Bratva may be overthrown. Anatoly is a captain, and so Gregor has to abide by his orders. As a vigilante, Oliver infiltrates Kovar's mansion and acquires evidence that Gregor has been embezzling the Bratva's money. When Oliver presents the evidence, the majority of the captains vote for Anatoly, and Gregor starts a mutiny shootout. The next episode begins with Oliver meeting with Talia because he's learned Prometheus used to be one of her students. Oliver learns Talia was the one who sent Prometheus to kill him as revenge for killing her father, and then reveals to Oliver that Chase is Prometheus. Oliver confronts Chase as the Green Arrow, and Chase reveals he's kidnapped Susan as insurance. If Oliver kills Chase, then he won't be able to keep her alive in the secret location he only knows about. Meanwhile, Felicity recently joined a hacktivist group called Helix after befriending a young hacker named Elena, who reminds her a bit of herself at that age. She agrees to hack Department of Homeland Security drones for Helix in exchange for their help in finding Susan's location. She finds Susan in a booby-trapped building, so Team Arrow arrives while Oliver tries to play Chase's game by bringing along his loving wife, Doris, who had no idea he was Prometheus. Oliver rescues Susan, and Doris sees who her husband really is. She tries to convince him to turn himself in, but instead he kills her. Love hurts, am I right? Oliver fights Chase while the others take Susan and Doris away. Talia arrives and helps Chase defeat and abduct Oliver. Back in Russia, most of the Bratva captains are killed in the shootout before Gregor escapes. Oliver and Anatoly attack Gregor during a meeting with his loyal followers and kill him. While Chase tortures Oliver in the next episode, we see in the flashbacks Anatoly becoming the new head of the Bratva. Anatoly then meets with Kovar after Kovar just had a meeting with Merlin involving deadly sarin gas, and learns Kovar plans on overthrowing the Russian government. They manage to capture one of Kovar's men, and Oliver tortures him, learning that Kovar has invited key government officials to his casino and plans to assassinate all of them with the gas. However, Oliver had to remove the man's entire skin to get the information out of him, which he found easy to do because the hood allows Oliver to channel the darkness inside of him. Anatoly sees what he's done and it shocks him. He warns him to not become a monster no matter the cost. Otherwise, he's no better than men like Slade or Ivo.
You're a fool to think a piece of cloth can separate man from monster.
Before they engage, Oliver convinces Galina to give him her keycard to the casino and also informs her that her children are dead. Oliver and the Bratva infiltrate the casino where Kovar learns about Galina's betrayal and kills her, angering Oliver. They fail to stop the spread of the gas in time, but Oliver stops it before it gets out of hand and fights Kovar. In the end, Anatoly fails to persuade Oliver from killing Kovar. He then appoints Oliver as a Bratva captain, and Merlin helps Kovar's operatives revive Kovar. Back in the present, Chase forces Oliver to confront the faces of everyone that he's killed, even if they were terrible people. He wants Oliver to confess his secret, not that he's a vigilante, but something else inside him. Chase then brings a seemingly reluctant Evelyn and orders Oliver to kill her. Oliver refuses to, so Chase does it for him. Oliver finally confesses his secret. He kills people because he likes it. Evelyn is relieved to still be alive, still working for Chase.
I knew he'd break.
Chase then lets Oliver go like he promised, but not before removing his Bratva tattoo on his chest. Oliver returns to the bunker as a broken man and reveals to everyone that he's done being a vigilante. The next episode begins with Oliver disbanding the team and then calling the Bratva to help take down Chase. Diggle tries to talk Oliver out of it, reminding him that there are better ways of doing things, but Oliver shows how serious he is by breaking up with Susan. Meanwhile, Felicity goes to Helix and manages to find pixelated footage of Chase taking off his Prometheus mask. Oliver allows the Bratva to steal diabetes medicine as a down payment, but they are stopped by the team. Diggle confronts Oliver over his decision to hire criminals instead of the team to take down Chase, and reminds him that they can fix him if he's willing to accept help.
I swear that's just a bunch of crap.
Diggle's speech works on Oliver and he rejoins the team. He helps them take out the Bratva and save the hostages that Anatoly had taken as leverage. With Curtis's help, Felicity is able to decode Chase's pixelation device, revealing Prometheus's identity to the police. Afterwards, Oliver claims he's not ready to put the hood back on yet, but with his team, it'll be sooner rather than later. Chase then escapes from the police force, protecting him by killing them, and disappears. Back in Russia, Anatoly wants to plan one last heist with Oliver, hoping to convince him to stay, but Oliver decides it's finally time for him to return home. He plans to go back to Lianyu so he can stage his dramatic return home. In the next episode, the team works with Argus to try and locate Chase, but they're unable to find him. The public grows restless knowing there's a dangerous killer on the loose, and some blame is to put on Oliver because he worked right next to Chase and didn't know he was evil. Meanwhile, Elena proposes to Felicity the idea of freeing the former leader and founder of Helix, Caden James. James had created a biometric tracker that can find anyone, including our missing Adrian Chase, but James is currently in Argus custody without due process. Argus deems Helix a major security threat, so Lila plans to use James as bait to destroy Helix. Elena already anticipated this and plans on finding James's true location. leading her team, including Felicity, to the rescue. Oliver finds out Felicity is working with Helix and begs her to not become a criminal to catch a criminal, especially since Chase was created through his actions. Felicity still wants to do this, knowing she'll be on her own if she does.
Let me do it.
I can't.
Then you'll have to stop me.
During this, Quentin and Renee have become such good friends that he arranges for Renee to see Zoe again. It's just what Renee needed. Helix carries out their rescue plan and Argus is fooled, just like Elena planned. The team catches on to the deception, but Felicity prevents them from stopping Helix from getting James. After the mission, Felicity learns that Helix is cutting all connections to her because of her involvement with Green Arrow. She's then given James's biometric tracker as promised, which she used to learn that Chase is already in the bunker as he triggers an EMP. The next episode begins right where we left off, with Oliver and Felicity waking up from the EMP. All power to their equipment and technology has been deactivated, including Felicity's biostimulant. So Oliver has to carry her. They try to find a way out, but the doors are sealed shut, so all they can do is try and get a message to the team and pray they rescue him before they run out of oxygen. Eventually, Curtis finds them trapped and informs the team. Oliver is injured, trying to find a way out, and it forces him to try things her way. But when they try things her way, they accidentally start leaking methane gas into the bunker. Aside from it being toxic, Oliver realizes that when the backup generator comes on any minute now, it'll ignite the gas, killing them. While they wait for rescue, they take this opportunity to open up to each other, seeing how these might be their last moments together. Oliver opens up about when Chase tortured him, and he confessed to how much he loves killing. But Felicity argues his 5 years in hell and 5 years protecting the city turned him into that.
I don't know what kind of person I am.
Eventually, Oliver and Felicity are rescued, and her biostimulant is turned back on. Felicity admits that Oliver was right about her heading down a dark path, admitting she hasn't finished grieving ever since Billy died. She appreciates everything Oliver told her and understands now why he lied to her about William. She encourages him to figure out who he is when this is all over, but above all is grateful to know that she can trust Oliver now. In the next episode, Oliver learns that all of Chase's prosecutions are discredited, and most of the convicts, including Samson, are released on bail. Chase then sends the decayed remains of Henry Goodwin to Oliver's office, a corrupt councilman that was killed by Robert 5 years before the shipwreck. Chase is attempting to break Oliver psychologically by revealing his family has a murderous legacy. Felicity, on the other hand, uses the body and the concrete Henry was buried in to figure out where Robert murdered Henry, seeing this as Chase telling them where to find him. Oliver dons the Green Arrow suit again and confronts Chase. By now, Oliver has learned that the reason why Claiborne was going to disown Chase was not because he was illegitimate, but because Chase was insane. Chase hears this and asks Oliver to kill him, but instead Oliver just arrests him. During this, Quentin pulled some strings and was able to allow Renee another chance to get custody of his daughter. Unfortunately, he failed to show up to the hearing. After admitting to Quentin he was afraid his life as a vigilante would cause him to lose Zoe permanently, and the judge denied his motion. I hope nothing bad happens to him. In the flashbacks, Oliver and Anatoly return to Lianyu and arrange for Oliver to return to Starling City. Oliver doesn't want his family or anyone to know what he had done the past 5 years and figures it's better if everyone believes that he was a simple castaway on a deserted island. Anatoly leaves to go bribe the fishermen that eventually rescue Oliver on the island, while Oliver prepares his rescue me signal. However, Oliver is captured by Kovar and injected with a drug that causes him to revisit hallucinations of the last 5 years. With Chase now behind bars, the team is able to relax and enjoy themselves, starting with celebrating Oliver's birthday. However, Renee and Dinah don't show up to the party, and when Curtis leaves to investigate, he learns that they were kidnapped by Talia and the League. This explains why Renee wasn't at the hearing. Curtis is then captured too. Eventually, Black Siren and Evelyn kidnap Thea and Quentin, while Talia and the League capture Felicity and Diggle, leaving Oliver all alone and with no choice but to accept Merlin's help so that he can lean on Chase. However, Chase reveals that he has kidnapped William, which also means that he has Samantha, forcing Oliver to free Chase.
That's my boy. He's innocent.
So Oliver recruits Nissa and her followers to help them rescue everyone and take down Chase. Chase escapes on a plane, so Oliver tracks it, realizing he's headed straight for Lianyu. Upon arriving, Oliver recruits one more person to help him, and he's the last person Oliver wants to be anywhere. It's his good old friend, Slade Wilson.
Yes!
Season 5 ends with Oliver also recruiting Digger in the adjacent cell, and Slade reveals he's finally sane again because the Mirakuru finally wore off. I trust that. Question mark? Slade offers to help Oliver when he gives him information on Slade's son, Joe. Oliver, Slade, and Digger find Felicity, Thea, Curtis, and Samantha, but Evelyn and Talia are waiting for them, and then it's revealed that Digger is working with Chase. Merlin and Nyssa arrive to even the fight, prompting Talia and Digger to escape and then leave Evelyn behind. Oliver asks Merlin to take Felicity's group to Chase's plane in order to escape, but not before Felicity gives Oliver a kiss, just in case they don't make it off. Oliver then manages to free Diggle, Renee, Dinah, and Quentin, who knocks Black Siren unconscious, while Nyssa defeats Talia. On the way to the plane, Thea accidentally trips a landmine right as Digger finds them. Digger shows up, so Merlin kills Digger when he sacrifices himself by taking Thea's place on the tripped landmine, allowing Thea and the others to escape. So does this mean that Merlin is finally dead this time? Also, weirdly, not the only time I've seen a character named Merlin sacrifice himself by stepping on a landmine. Any Kingsman fans out there? On the way to the plane, Felicity's group discovers the whole island is rigged with C4 that will detonate if Chase is killed. An enraged Oliver defeats Chase and has a chance to kill him, but he manages to overcome his lust for killing and spares Chase's life. Chase escapes, so Oliver asks Diggle to lead the others to Felicity's group and escape. Oliver finds Chase on a boat and frees William, who learns that his father is the Green Arrow. The plane is sabotaged, so Oliver tells the others to run to an Argus ship on the other side of the island. Chase kills himself in front of Oliver and William, causing the bombs to demolish Lian Yu, and leaving the others' fates unknown. In the flashbacks, Oliver escapes from his cell, having outlasted Kovar's drug, and starts picking off Kovar's men one by one. Eventually, only Kovar is left, and after an intense fight, Oliver is forced to kill Kovar so he can make the boat in time. Oliver then hurries to put on his castaway hooded outfit we saw him wearing at the very beginning of the show, and he is rescued by the fisherman boat. On the boat, Oliver calls Moira to tearfully tell her that he's coming home. Does this mean, can it be? The flashbacks are finally over? Season 6 begins right before Lian Yu explodes. Slade was the only one who headed for the ship, while everyone else took refuge on the plane. However, Samantha ran off trying to find William, and Thea tried to stop her. Diggle then tried to rescue Felicity when she was going to join Thea, causing Diggle to get injured in the explosion. When the dust settles, Oliver finds Thea in a coma, and Quentin is forced to kill the other version of his daughter to save Dinah. Oliver then finds a dying Samantha as she makes him promise to take care of William. As they leave, it's revealed a mysterious man revived Laurel. 5 months later, William refuses to accept Oliver as his dad and still blames him for the death of his mother. Dinah is still a cop and has to keep an eye on Quentin, who hasn't been the same ever since he killed the other version of Laurel. However, a very much alive Black Siren and her mercenary team attack the SCPD station. The team confronts her and the mercenaries on a bridge, and Renee is injured when Diggle hesitates to stop his target. Later, Black Siren catches the team off guard and attacks the bunker, stealing the prototype of a T-sphere. When she makes her escape, Quentin can't bring himself to shoot her, even though it's not his daughter. Afterwards, Slade visits Oliver, telling him he's going to go and find his son Joe, and encourages Oliver to make things right with William, as one day Oliver is going to have to make a choice between being a vigilante and a father. Oliver and William manage to reconcile, and the episode ends with footage of Oliver wearing the Green Arrow suit leaking to the media. The next episode begins with Oliver denying these public accusations that he is the Green Arrow. Regardless, the FBI sends one of their agents, Samantha Watson, to investigate and watch Oliver closely to determine if he is the Green Arrow. Oliver has a run-in with Anatoly and begins to suspect that he was the one to leak the footage to the media because of what happened between them last season. After a few run-ins with Anatoly, Oliver learns that Anatoly has become an enemy of the Bratva because of their friendship. So he has a clear motive to show the Bratva that he isn't weak. As Oliver tries to fix the matter, William becomes scared that he will end up alone if Oliver keeps being a vigilante. During this, Diggle reveals to Dinah that when he was caught in the explosion back on Lian Yu, he caught a bit of the shrapnel and it's now causing degenerative nerve damage. That explains why he hasn't been able to pull the trigger lately. In the end, it turns out Anatoly wasn't responsible for the leak, and the media acquires evidence from an anonymous source. It was Felicity and Curtis. That it was a fake photo of Oliver. However, Watson is not convinced and continues her investigation. Oliver then asks Diggle to take on the Green Arrow mantles so he can spend more time with William. Next of kin, we can fast forward through. Basically, Diggle struggles to keep his tremors in check as he leads the Team Green Arrow. So he resorts to injecting himself with drugs to control the tremors, and Watson begins to suspect he is the Green Arrow. Diggle was also never as good as Oliver with a bow and arrow, so Curtis and Felicity design a rapid-fire crossbow for him to use, called the Green Monster. No, not that green monster. During this, Oliver asks Felicity to help William with his math homework, and seeing her with him makes him want to reopen their relationship together. She feels the same way, and they kiss. The next episode begins with Oliver and Felicity's date being interrupted by Laurel killing another unimportant person after seducing him. The question is why? In the meantime, Elena comes to Felicity warning her that James plans on killing millions of people worldwide. Felicity can't help but help her, so they meet with a black market dealer to acquire a ghost mirror drive. Oliver finds out what Felicity is doing, and for fear of what happened last time happening again, he intervenes and attacks the dealer's thugs. This angers Felicity because she had the situation under control. Team Arrow tracks down Laurel to the Helix facility and discovers she's working for James. It's later revealed that James was the one who rescued Laurel on Lian. He orders his men to kill Felicity and Elena, who is critically shot during the rescue by Team Arrow. Felicity learns that James has stolen the victim's fingerprints necessary to enter the International Domain Name Directory, IDND, a global internet infrastructure hub. Basically, James is planning on taking down the internet. Team Arrow attacks Laurel, James, and his men at the IDND, where Felicity manages to breach through the firewall to stop James's apparent attack. She even got a little help from Oliver, as he gets to know what it's like being the guy in the chair, or in this case, the girl in the chair. Afterwards, Felicity adds Elena to her startup, calling it Helix Dynamics, intending to mass-produce her spinal implant. Later, she names it Smoke Technologies. James is revealed to have intentionally lured Felicity into breaking the firewall so that he can have secret access and covered his tracks. He provides Black Siren with a device that can stop Curtis's trackers. The episode ends with Slade calling Oliver, asking for his help finding his son Joe. The next episode begins with Oliver meeting up with Slade to learn that Joe is stuck in prison in the fictional Balkan country, Kaznia. Slade doesn't need Green Arrow to help rescue his son, but rather the power and diplomacy of Oliver Queen. Upon arriving in Kaznia, Oliver plays a politician and tries to negotiate for Joe's release, but sadly learns that Joe was killed in prison. However, this turns out to not be true, as he was actually kidnapped by a gang Joe was investigating called the Jackals. Slade abandons Oliver, dons the Deathstroke outfit, and attacks the Jackals' base, before being confronted by Joe, revealed as the leader of the Jackals. Meanwhile, Vigilante has been targeting city councilmen again, so Dinah makes it her mission to hunt Vigilante down. Eventually, she manages to corner him, and that's when Vigilante reveals that he's Dinah's dead boyfriend, Vincent. Apparently, Vincent survived and was given regeneration powers by the particle accelerator, but did not approach Dinah earlier because he had lost faith in their police work. That's so sad. The next episode begins with Slade trying to convince Joe to leave with them, but he refuses, claiming Slade was a killer long before he was influenced by Mirakuru. It was this revelation that led Joe down this path. Joe and Slade end up fighting until Oliver steps in, after which Joe escapes, but not before revealing the existence of his brother Grant. Slade makes it his mission to find both of his sons, but in the meantime encourages Oliver to go back to his, hoping Oliver doesn't make the same mistake he did. Meanwhile, Team Arrow fights against the new criminal group led by Ricardo Diaz, who attempts to steal valuable technology. Diggle's tremors get worse and he runs out of the steadying drug. He goes to his supplier, discovering that his supplier is Diaz, and the drug is a steroid derived from Vertigo. After the team destroys Diaz's drug lab, Diggle finally reveals to the team about his tremors and drug addiction. He apologizes for not asking for help from his friends, and they forgive him, with Curtis finding a cure for Diggle's tremors. The show's Thanksgiving episode is one we can fast forward. Long story short, Watson finally arrests Oliver on the suspicion that he is Green Arrow, but his trial is delayed and he is released on bail. The team has another run-in with James and Laurel. Diggle suffers withdrawals from the drug, so Oliver has to take on the mantle of Green Arrow again. They stop James and Laurel, but they escape. The episode ends with Thea waking up from her coma and everyone celebrating Thanksgiving together before the world freaking ends. Crisis on Earth X is another crossover event spanning across Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. Long story short, all of our heroes gather to witness Barry and Iris West get married, when their wedding is interrupted by a Nazi regime from Earth X. Earth X is basically a what if the Nazis built the atomic bomb before the Allies did parallel world. Our heroes manage to capture Earth X's Prometheus, but Dark Arrow and Overgirl, who turn out to be doppelgangers for Oliver and Kara, get away. It's later revealed that they're working with Barry's nemesis, Eobard Thawne, aka Reverse Flash. It's worth noting Thawne is supposed to be dead. and this version of Oliver and Kara are happily married. Eesh. Part 2 begins with the revelation that this version of Prometheus is Tommy Merlin. Oliver offers Tommy a chance to side with them, but Tommy takes a cyanide pill as he's loyal to his Oliver, who just so happens to be the Führer. Yikes. Later, Oliver, Barry, and Kara try to stop Dark Arrow, Overgirl, and Thawne from stealing an experimental sublight generator, the Prism, which is basically a neutron bomb, but they're unsuccessful.
Why do you have a kryptonite arrow?
In case an evil you ever showed up.
However, the reason Dark Arrow wants the Prism is so he can heal Overgirl, who's suffering from solar irradiance in the heart. The plan is to use the Prism to create artificial red sunlight that can weaken both Kara's invulnerability, allowing Thawne to transplant Kara's heart into Overgirl. The episode ends with Oliver's team, along with Harry, Killer Frost, Cisco, and Mick Rory, all held captive at Star Labs after the Nazi forces occupy it. Oliver, Barry, Sarah, Martin, Jefferson, and Alex are all taken to a concentration camp on Earth X, while Kara is moved to Star Labs. Basically, everyone is captured except for Felicity and Iris, and the fate of their universe now rests in their hands. Parts 3 and 4 I'm gonna kinda skim through because I'm not covering those shows in this video. Felicity and Iris free everyone at Star Labs, while everyone in the concentration camp gets rescued by the Freedom Fighters. Everyone makes their way back to Earth 1, while the rest of the Legends save Kara and the others. Overgirl and Dark Arrow attack Central City, so all our heroes come together to defeat them and their army. Overgirl's condition causes her to go supernova, so Kara flies into space before she explodes. Dark Arrow watches his wife die and loses his focus as Oliver kills him. Everyone returns home and Diggle, who turns out as a certified priest, marries Barry and Iris, and then marries Oliver and Felicity. Another happy ending! And probably the last. The next episode begins with everyone celebrating Oliver and Felicity's wedding. Unfortunately, the happy and romantic mood is interrupted by Quentin receiving a text message saying an eyewitness saw Oliver as the Green Arrow, and it was someone on Team Arrow. Oliver tracks each member on his team, and then Laurel kidnaps Quentin to force Oliver to steal an amplifier deep within Argus, or Quentin dies. They get the amplifier, but then Oliver discovers Dinah meeting with Vincent. Tensions escalate with the team, prompting Renee to admit that he was the one who testified against Oliver. Apparently, Watson cornered him with the evidence that he is Wild Dog and said that if he did not testify, he would never be able to see his daughter again. Oliver briefly expels Renee from the team, but the entire team puts aside any differences to rescue Quentin. During the mission, Renee couldn't get over Oliver spying on them, so he goes rogue on them all. Quentin is rescued, but Oliver permanently expels Renee from the team this time, as the mission was Renee's second chance to prove he deserves to be on the team. In the end, Renee gets Zoe, and Dinah and Curtis leave the team too, but Curtis still comes back only so he can monitor Diggle's tremors. The episode ends with James and Laurel spying on the bunker, shortly accompanied by Anatoly, Vincent, and Diaz. Uh-oh. In the next episode, Oliver continues being the Green Arrow, refusing to have Renee, Dinah, and Curtis help him, while Felicity and Curtis struggle to cure John of his tremors, during which they discover James had bugged the bunker, so they decide to hide out in an Argus facility while they debug the bunker. Dinah keeps spending time with Vincent, but confronts him when she learns he's working for James. Oliver also discovers everyone that is working with James, and realizes that he has to bring the team back together regardless of trust. It turns out Renee, Curtis, and Dinah have already moved on and formed their own superhero team called New Team Arrow, complete with their very own hideout, which used to be a Helix base of operations. So Oliver has no choice but to wish them luck. On a happier note, Curtis gives Felicity a new chip implant for Diggle's tremors, and it permanently cures his nerve damage. The next episode begins with James attacking the city's critical internet infrastructure, causing numerous casualties before demanding a ransom payment of $10 million a day to prevent future attacks, including a bomb James plans to detonate that'll destroy the city. Seems like overkill if you ask me. Obviously, this is very serious, so Felicity proposes a truce between Team Arrow and New Team Arrow so they can share information and help stop James. Curtis's T-Spheres are still tracking Vincent, so they find him, and Vincent reveals he's actually working undercover in James's organization. He tried to tell Dinah, but things escalated before he could explain everything, and then proves he's working undercover by giving useful intel that helps them save a lot of lives. James then reveals to Oliver that he's doing this to him because he has a personal vendetta against him. A year ago, a misfired arrow killed his son Owen, and James is convinced it was one of Green Arrow's. However, Oliver knows that he's not responsible because he was in Hub City at the time. One of James's attacks endangers William and his class during a field trip, and Oliver is forced to reveal to his son that he resumed being Green Arrow. When he rescues him, William is heartbroken Oliver broke his promise, even after Diggle's condition got better. James then starts attacking safe zones Oliver and Thea set up for people to take refuge in. So everyone suits up together to stop him. During this, Felicity helps William see that Oliver taking on the Green Arrow mantle again was with good intentions, and gets him to accept his father's duty. Unfortunately, Oliver is unable to find proof of his innocence before the deadline, so he gives in to James's demands to buy time to find it. Many days pass in the next episode, and Oliver is running out of money to pay James, so he doesn't detonate the bomb, having to use the city's funds to pay James off. James is also starting to suspect Vincent as a traitor, so Vincent agrees to help Team Arrow find the bomb. Unfortunately, James catches Vincent trying to download the location of the bomb, and he's caught and tortured by Anatoly. The location of the bomb is revealed, but Renee, Curtis, and Dinah decide not to follow Oliver in order to save Vince. However, James anticipates this and uses Vince as bait. Dinah is immobilized and under collapsed rubble, and is forced to watch Laurel execute Vince. Outnumbered and outmatched, Oliver and Diggle are unable to retrieve the bomb before it is moved somewhere else. During this, Quentin attempts to turn Laurel good by showing her what his Laurel was like before she died, but Laurel doesn't want to replace his daughter as some kind of righteous person. Afterwards, Elena finds footage of Oliver killing Owen, but the footage turns out to be faked by the same person that faked the photo of Oliver as Green Arrow, someone other than James. In the next episode, James has run out of patience and isn't too happy Vincent betrayed him, so he informs Oliver that he will detonate the bomb in 4 hours. Elena and Felicity are able to decode the video of Oliver killing Caden's son, proving it was someone else and clearing Oliver. With help from Barry, Oliver is able to keep James from leaving town by showing him the new evidence. James realizes that someone in his group is behind it and asks Oliver to bring them to him or he will set off the bomb. Laurel, Diaz, and Anatoly are rounded up and brought before James, and Laurel admits it was her. James doesn't believe her and he's right, as this was all a ruse so she could escape. Her actions allow everyone else to escape except for James, and he's arrested as the bomb is defused. During this, Laurel was shot by Dinah, determined to kill Laurel for the death of Vince. This prompts Quentin to save her, still certain a bit of his Laurel is inside of her. Later, Diaz approaches James in custody, revealing it was actually him who killed Owen, and then he kills James. Not a lot happens in this next episode. With James dead, Oliver is constantly pressured by the city council to get the money used to pay James off back. Otherwise, the city's governmental services will shut down. Oliver then learns that all the money was withdrawn, which means either Anatoly, Diaz, or Laurel has all 70 million. Eventually, they learn that Laurel has the money, and Quentin took her to a secure place so she could heal. Each team races to get to Laurel first, but Team Arrow wins the race. Laurel promises to transfer the money back to them, but only if they help her get out of the country. New Team Arrow arrives, and Quentin joins Team Arrow in protecting Laurel, especially from Dinah. Renee gets injured, and Oliver throws a device that dampens Dinah's scream, allowing Laurel to incapacitate them with her own scream and escape. However, at the city limits, Laurel, claiming to be Earth 1 Laurel, begs a truck driver to take her back. Why is she going back? The next episode begins with Laurel arriving at City Hall, revealing her story about how she was kidnapped and held against her will for 2 years. Obviously, this is just a ruse. Laurel needed to get back to Oliver and the others to inform them that she had stashed the money somewhere, but when she went to retrieve it, it was gone.
I went to where I stashed it, and it's been cleaned out.
Laurel blackmails Oliver into protecting her, or else she will inform the media that Oliver is Green Arrow. Meanwhile, Team Arrow discovers that Diaz is keeping Roy as a hostage after local cops discovered who he was. So they stage a rescue, with Thea joining them, donning her old vigilante suit that used to be Roy's. They manage to rescue Roy, and he and Thea resume their relationship. Laurel then admits to Oliver that she can't change who she is, but she will try to do good if Oliver will give her the chance. To which he agrees. However, Laurel receives a message from Diaz and smiles, indicating that they are still working together. The episode ends with Thea and Roy making love as a member of the League of Assassins watches, informing her master that she has found the heir of Ra's al Ghul. In the next episode, Thea and Roy are attacked and almost killed by a splinter group of the League of Assassins called the Thanatos Guild. Nyssa saves them and explains that the guild was created by Merlin, and now run by Merlin's second-in-command, Athena. The guild is after Thea because they believe Merlin entrusted her with the location of a map that leads to something powerful. Thea reluctantly agrees to help Nyssa and claims she is leaving afterward. The team follows a lead and finds the box containing a map inside. Felicity then uses simple mathematics to unlock it, but finds a blank map inside. At first they think there's some invisible ink on it, but then Felicity makes a digital scan of the map and uncovers hidden markers underneath that reveal locations for several Lazarus pits. Thea then talks to Oliver about handing the Green Arrow mantle back to Diggle, but Oliver worries that the current circumstances may be a little too much for Diggle at the moment. Thea, Roy, and Nyssa eventually depart to destroy the Lazarus pits, and Nyssa annuls her marriage to Oliver. He says goodbye to his sister, hopefully not for the last time. Brothers in Arms doesn't deal with a lot of important stuff. Basically, Diaz has several cops and lawyers within the city under his finger, including Dinah's superior, Kimberly Hill. Oliver and Diggle argue over wearing the Green Arrow mantle and end up fighting each other, resulting in Diggle leaving the team, again, to go join Argus. Curtis starts dating another cop named Nick, and Curtis then ends up revealing to him that he's Mr. Terrific. At first, Nick distances himself from Curtis, but when he sees how corrupt the SCPD is, he begins to realize vigilantism is the only way to protect the city, especially since Hill fired him and Dinah. The episode ends with Oliver's impeachment case being reopened, and Diaz revealing to Laurel that he still has one more vial of Vertigo before she kisses him. Fundamentalists is another episode that we can fast forward through. Seems like there are more and more of those these days. Oliver's impeachment hearings take place, during which Diaz secretly doses Oliver with Vertigo, causing him to have one hallucinating episode after another. Oliver manages to get back to his senses and reconciles with everyone, but he's impeached in the end, making Quentin the new mayor of Star City, as he was Oliver's deputy mayor. I'm not sure he's the best guy for the job. With Oliver no longer the mayor, Diaz decides Star City is now open for business, so in the next episode, Diaz starts his next phase of his plan, which is to join a criminal organization called the Quadrant.
We have a lot to discuss.
Indeed we do.
One of the four leaders of the group, Remy, does not think Diaz is worthy, seeing him as nothing but a street thug, and tries to have his son, Eric, kill him. With Laurel's help, Diaz wages a small war on the group, killing both Remy and Eric, then taking his seat at the table. Later, Diaz tracks down the man who bullied him when he was an orphan and sets him on fire, shocking Laurel. I guess the dragon does breathe fire. The next episode begins with Oliver paying off a debt to Anatoly's rival in Russia, so that Anatoly will be able to go home after they believed he was a traitor for working with Green Arrow. Anatoly is hesitant, so Oliver reminds him of his honor and their friendship, and asks him to help him take down Diaz. But Anatoly decides to betray Oliver, chain him, and take him to see Diaz. Anatoly then convinces Oliver to fight Diaz fairly, so they square off one-on-one, with the loser having to leave the city. Oliver is about to win when Diaz fights unfairly, stabbing Oliver with a hidden dagger. Meanwhile, Diaz approaches Quentin to sign a paper that will grant him some property in the city. Quentin refuses at first, but he eventually changes his mind out of fear for Laurel's safety after she expresses concern about how dangerous he is. The episode ends with Diaz getting Oliver's bail revoked and having him arrested for being a vigilante. Oliver's trial begins in the next episode, and several witnesses are called to testify about the identity of Green Arrow. Despite their best efforts, there is a lot of evidence that points to Oliver and his team being vigilantes. Renee then takes the stand, having already promised to not screw Oliver over again until Diaz walks into the courtroom with his daughter. Realizing Diaz is threatening Zoe's life, Renee admits to the court that Oliver is Green Arrow, even admitting that he's a member of his team. It's not looking good for them. When Oliver takes the stand, a man dressed in the Green Arrow suit crashes the trial, revealing to be Tommy. Tommy is then arrested, but then Diggle and Renee rescue Tommy, who turns out to be Christopher doing what he does best, impersonating people. For a moment, it looks like Oliver might just walk, until Diaz acquires evidence of Christopher's involvement and sends Laurel to the stand to confess Oliver is the Green Arrow. But despite Laurel being threatened by Diaz, she confesses that Tommy is the Green Arrow.
Oliver Queen is not the Green Arrow.
Regardless, Oliver is still found guilty, as Diaz also had the jury under his finger. Oliver's lawyer then motions for a judgment, notwithstanding the verdict, and the judge surprisingly agrees. Court is so easy. Oliver returns to the bunker and discovers that Christopher had switched places with the judge during jury deliberation. Classic Christopher. Afterwards, Renee and Oliver reconcile, and an enraged Diaz kills the real judge just before Laurel appears and attacks him and his men. She's about to kill Diaz when he neutralizes her voice with a dampening device and knocks her out. The next episode begins with Diaz targeting Team Arrow and everyone they love. Everyone manages to survive the attack except Nick, who gets critically injured. They then meet up in new Team Arrow's base, as the bunker is currently being destroyed by Diaz's men. Oliver and everyone are alive because Anatoly gave them a heads up, so Anatoly arranges for Diaz to become exposed long enough for both teams to strike. However, Diaz survives the ambush, and Curtis is injured when he tries to get revenge for Nick. During the ambush, Felicity realizes realizes Diaz was trying to protect a device containing potentially important data, eventually learning that it's an encrypted list of everyone on Diaz's payroll. While Felicity decodes it, Diaz kills one of the quadrant leaders, assuming she gave Team Arrow the intel about his convoy. Diaz then attacks the new bunker and nearly kills Oliver, who triggers explosives installed as a failsafe against intruders. He and Felicity escape, and the still encrypted data is lost. Diaz meets with the remaining 2 quadrant leaders, kills one, and makes the other accept him as the head of the organization. With no other choice, Oliver turns to Watson for help, and she agrees, provided he admits to her that he is the Green Arrow. Season 6 ends with Diaz recruiting an elite mercenary group called the Longbow Hunters, and it scares Anatoly enough for him to turn himself into the SCPD. He gives them everything, including an address they can meet Diaz at. Team Arrow and the FBI mount a final attack on Diaz, but he escapes. However, Oliver did manage to obtain the list of everyone on his payroll, finally liberating Star City. During the attack, Quentin tried to rescue Laurel and ends up taking a bullet for her. Dinah found them and put aside her vendetta to help Laurel get Quentin to a hospital. At the hospital, Quentin suffers a seizure and ends up dying, but not before he and Oliver had the chance to talk, where Oliver told Quentin he was always a father figure to him. Quentin also had the privilege of having the team be with him in his final moments, including Laurel and Sarah after hearing about what happened to him. Watson then comes to arrest Oliver, and he's given a life sentence, but everyone else on the team was given immunity as part of Oliver's arrangement with Watson. Another part of the arrangement was the FBI stay in Star City until Diaz is found. Oliver finally admits to the public that he is the Green Arrow, and urges his friends and allies to continue fighting to save the city. But we've got 2 more seasons left. Oliver ain't done with this fight yet. Season 7 begins 5 months later. The FBI still hasn't been able to find Diaz, but in the meantime, Oliver has adjusted to his new prison life at Slabside Maximum Security Prison, trying to do everything he can to keep a low profile so he can receive a reduced sentence, which is kind of hard when more than half the inmates want you dead. He does make a new friend named Stanley Dover, but Oliver wants nothing to do with him. Oliver instead runs into his old friends Ben Turner, Derek Sampson, and Brickwell, who repeatedly try to take their revenge on Oliver. Their last attempt to kill him sent Turner to solitary confinement, so Brickwell offers a truce and tries to get Oliver to join them as Diaz's men are targeting them in the prison. Meanwhile, Felicity and William have been taken into witness protection. Dinah is now the new captain of SCPD. Renee has opened a boxing gym to teach young kids, including Zoe, on how to fight. Laurel is now the district attorney. Curtis is now the head of the research and development department at Argus, while Diggle and Argus continue to track down Diaz with no luck. Also, a new Green Arrow copycat has arrived in town who's been targeting criminals on a list, also helping the poor. This makes Renee want to help whoever this vigilante is. However, the rest of Team Arrow doesn't trust the new archer, and Dinah is determined to make an arrest, with the media dubbing this new vigilante as the new Green Arrow. Later, Diaz finds Felicity and William, but they manage to escape him. She then sends William to a boarding school in Cambridge, and then leaves witness protection to rejoin the others so they can take down Diaz. Oliver hears about the recent attack against them, and reluctantly decides to take Brickwell up on his offer. During this, we get future flash forwards to the year 2040, where we see an older William finding an older Roy on Lian-Yu. What's that about? Not a lot happens in the next episode. The Longbow Hunters arrive in Star City, and the team works together with Argus to try and stop them from stealing a weapon that could flatten a city. Felicity and Diggle clash over their priorities in dealing with Diaz, leading Felicity to strike a deal with Watson. Brickwell charges Oliver to get rid of a prison guard that hates him in exchange for information on Diaz. In the flash forwards, William reveals that he was led to Lian-Yu by GPS coordinates in the same hosen that Oliver gave to Thea, who gave it to Felicity, who gave it to him. He and Roy dig up Oliver's hidden stash and find a clue in this bow, which leads them back to Star City. They think Felicity is trying to meet with them personally. In the next episode, Brickwell informs Oliver that the inmate he needs to talk to is known as the Demon. However, the Demon is being held in level 2, so Oliver has to attack a guard in order to get transferred there. So much for good behavior. Meanwhile, Felicity, Renee, and Dinah plan a trap for Diaz and the Longbow Hunters. The trap fails, and Watson is reassigned for helping them, but then it's revealed Renee and Dinah manage to capture Silencer, one of the hunters. During this, Diggle, Lila, and Curtis track Diaz's finances to a bank in Zurich. Lila reveals she's working behind the backs of Argus's superiors, suspecting a mole is among them. Episode 4 begins with Dinah arresting Renee when she learns that he is providing support to the new Green Arrow. Later, Dinah has a change of heart when she sees the vigilante save Zoe's life, so Dinah helps Renee and the vigilante fight crime. Meanwhile, Felicity enlists the help of Laurel to torture the Silencer for information on Diaz. but to no avail. Felicity allows her to escape in the hopes that she will lead them to Diaz, having planted a bug in her belt. In the flash forwards, William and Roy arrive at Star City, which has become a dark, dystopian, lawless city despite Oliver's efforts to prevent this from happening. Since then, the Glades have become a gated, sunny, elitist community, while the rest of the city rots away. The coordinates change, leading them to what remains of smoke technologies. William solves a puzzle and obtains a Rubik's Cube. He and Roy are attacked by the police, but rescued by Dinah, who leads them to safety and a now adult Zoe. The two are a part of a vigilante resistance group known as the Canary Network. After William solves the second puzzle, Dinah claims that Felicity is dead. The next episode begins with Oliver being integrated into Level 2 and Dr. Jarrett Parker psychologically broke him. Here, the inmates are kept in inhumane conditions and experimented on by Parker. Oliver finds the demon and learns that it's Talia. He reluctantly teams up with Talia to plan an escape. Eventually, Oliver decides to escape with Talia only on the condition that he is able to expose the harsh treatment of the prisoners orchestrated by Parker. After collecting evidence of what happened on Level 2, Oliver asks Talia to deliver it to Felicity as he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life as a fugitive. The evidence causes the facility to be shut down and Oliver to get transferred back to Level 1, and Talia gets her revenge on a now fired Dr. Parker by ambushing him. Episode 6 begins with Diaz finally figuring out Anatoly betrayed him, so he slaughters Anatoly's men and tortures the poor guy in order to get in contact with one of his former KGB associates. Team Arrow and Argus rescue Anatoly and discover that Diaz plans to level Star City with aerial explosives obtained by the associate. Team Arrow foils the plan and finally captures Diaz with the help from the new Green Arrow. Back in prison, Dover is accused of murdering a guard and is placed in solitary confinement. Oliver has become fond of Dover and assumes Brickwell framed Dover for something he did because the murder weapon was Turner's knife.
Innocent man is rotting in the hole in your place.
Oliver finds Turner's knife in the showers and clears Dover's name. He's released from solitary, but then Dover reveals he knew it was Turner's knife, something he couldn't have known when he was in solitary. Yeah, it turns out innocent Dover is actually a serial killer. Oops. In the flash forwards, Roy reveals that the clue they found in Lian Yu was the Mark of 4, which Dinah recognizes. William and Roy learn that before Felicity died, she became a criminal and took on her father's mantle as the Calculator. They, along with Dinah and Zoe, find Felicity's plans for the destruction of Star City. The next episode begins with Oliver about to be released from prison. What happened was that Laurel was able to use her authority as district attorney to broker a deal with federal authorities. She traded information regarding the case against Diaz in exchange for Oliver's freedom, and the fact that Oliver was abused in prison by Parker also helped leverage the deal. However, when Diaz arrives at Slabside via prisoner transport, he bribes a guard to release him and then visits Oliver, threatening to kill him and his family. So I guess Oliver is still stuck here. During this, Oliver confronts Dover on what he did and promises him that if he gets out of prison, he is going to make sure Dover faces justice for killing the guard. Oliver then apologizes to Turner, promising him that he will speak up with Argus and work out some deal for him so he's not there forever. Oliver then tries to warn the guards that Diaz is in prison, but they refuse to believe his warnings. So Oliver breaks out of his cell and escapes Level 1 in order to contact Team Arrow. Diaz cuts communications from the prison, preventing Oliver from getting outside help, and releases all prisoners, starting a riot. Brickwell and Samson side with Diaz and try to kill Oliver, but turns on both of them, killing Samson along the way and helping Oliver to get to a final showdown with Diaz. During their fight, Oliver stabs Diaz in his cell and locks him in it, and during all of this, Dover escapes through the morgue, but not before Brickwell, who had the same idea. Oliver is finally set free from prison and reunites with Felicity and Diggle. The next episode begins with Oliver struggling to adjust to life outside of prison. Felicity and the team throw a party for Oliver and his return from prison, and for once, Oliver doesn't have to lie about being the Green Arrow. Sadly, the party is interrupted when a murder happens in the city and a new Green Arrow is suspected. Renee knows the vigilante better than anyone, so he doesn't think it was him. So he, Oliver, and Dinah set out to prove the vigilante's innocence. Eventually, the team learns that the murderer was someone named Frank Cassidy, who was instructed by an old enemy of Oliver's before he was shipwrecked named Max Fuller. Oliver even dons the Green Arrow suit again, but doesn't bother wearing a mask, because there's really no point anymore. Dinah then authorizes Oliver to work with the SCPD as a special deputy in order to avoid the anti-vigilante law, much to the annoyance of Mayor Emily Pollard. Does she know what happened to all the past mayors? During this, Oliver is shocked when he sees how much more violent Felicity has become while Oliver was in prison. After confronting her about it, they both realize that they've both changed as people. But the jury's still out if this'll damage their marriage or not. It is then revealed that the new Green Arrow is Emiko Queen, Robert's illegitimate daughter and Oliver's paternal half-sister. I mean, we did establish Robert was quite the womanizer. In the flash forwards, Dinah, William, and Zoe track down a woman known as Blackstar, who had ties to Felicity's plans. Dinah reveals the meaning of the Mark IV. It was a signal Oliver made up to bring the team back together if needed, as it symbolizes the 4-pillar of heroism: courage, compassion, selflessness, and loyalty. This is what Roy saw on Oliver's bow back at Lian-Yu, and why they need to come back to Star City. Elseworlds is another crossover event with even more characters than before. Part 1 takes place in The Flash, where Oliver Queen fights crime as the fastest man alive. Wait, what? Apparently, through some bizarre phenomena, Oliver and Barry have switched lives. It turns out a powerful multiverse observer named Mar Novu defeated the Flash on Earth 90 and stole the Book of Destiny. He then traveled to Earth 1 and gave an Arkham Asylum psychiatrist, John Deegan, the book, allowing him to reshape the futures of certain individuals by altering their pasts. Oliver and Barry reunite and travel to Earth 38, where they find Kara with her cousin Clark Kent and his girlfriend Lois Lane in Smallville, Kansas. Together, they stop a power-replicating robot named Amazo, and then Oliver and Barry learn that they need to go to Gotham City to stop who's behind all this. Part 2 begins with Oliver, Barry, and Kara arriving in Gotham, where they are immediately arrested by the GCPD because Oliver is considered a threat. They're released when the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, Kate Kane, aka Batwoman, posts their bail. Meanwhile, a strange number of red lightning flashes have been happening wherever Oliver and Barry go. Team Arrow and Team Flash work together to figure out why and learn it's actually Earth 90's Barry Allen, trying to warn them on how to stop Mar Novu. Diggle, Cisco, and Caitlin then help the trio break into Arkham Asylum so they can get the book from Deegan. Deegan ends up releasing all the psycho prisoners so he can escape, forcing our heroes to fight every Batman supervillain the show had the budget for. Batwoman comes to their aid, and Kara manages to get the book from Deegan. They return to Argus, where Earth 90 Barry arrives to inform them Novu is doing this to each universe in order to test them, believing a crisis is coming. Novu arrives and informs them that he's unimpressed and steals the book back so Deegan can think bigger. Oliver and Barry are then transformed into powerless criminals known as the Trigger Twins. They are about to be arrested by Diaz as a cop when they are confronted by a black-suited Superman. Part 3 begins with the revelation that Deegan is actually Superman and abusing his new godlike powers to do whatever he wants. He's even imprisoned Kara at Star Labs and changed not just our heroes' lives, but everyone in the universe. Oliver and Barry force Deegan to save innocents so they can escape and find Cisco and then bring back the real Superman on Earth 38. However, Novu captures them to say he was impressed with how they were able to stop Deegan, even without powers. He sends them back saying there might be hope for them just yet. Oliver and Barry manage to get to Earth 38 and convince Clark to come back and save them. Kara manages to escape, and together they fix Earth 1, restoring everyone to their original selves. But Deegan gets the book back and starts undoing everything again. So Barry and Kara slow down time by speeding around the Earth in opposite directions. However, this could kill both of them, so Oliver begs Novu to spare their lives in exchange for his assistance when the crisis happens. Novu sends Oliver back with an enhanced arrow and shoots it at the book, defeating Deegan. Everyone returns to the restored universes, and Kate locks away Deegan in Arkham Asylum. There, Deegan meets a new friend who tells Deegan, worlds will live, worlds will die, and the universe will never be the same.
What a bunch of hippy-dippy baloney.
If these crossover pilots sound kind of bonkers compared to the rest of the show, it just goes to show how much crazier the Arrowverse got with each spin-off. With the multiverses safe for now, we turn our attention back to Star City, where an injured Emiko reveals herself to Renee. The next morning, Dinah and Oliver find traces of her blood at the crime scene, and Oliver does a DNA test to learn he and Emiko are related. Emiko's vigilante mission has been to avenge the death of her mother, Kazumi, by killing anyone connected to her death. Basically, she also has a list of her own. Oliver then introduces himself to her at their father's grave, but she makes it clear she wants nothing to do with him or his help. In the flash forwards, Dinah confronts Renee, who is now the mayor of the Glades, which is thriving thanks to a security program called Archer. and forces him to help her. Later, Renee meets with someone who is linked to the bomb plans, explicitly stating that their plans to build up the Glades will sacrifice the rest of the city. Past Sins is not an important episode. It's basically a character backstory episode for several characters, and nothing revealed from their past is nothing new or has any important lasting impact on the story. So, moving on to another skippable episode. The only thing you need to know is while hunting down another villain of the week, Dinah was forced to reveal to Pollard that she is Black Canary in order to save her life. Team Arrow arrived just in time to save the day, and Pollard has a change of heart and deputizes everyone in Team Arrow. Also, William gets expelled from his boarding school and is now back in town. In the flash forwards, we see Black Star and Connor Hawke, Diggle's future adoptive son, finding what is left of the bunker. The next episode begins with everyone on Team Arrow receiving anonymous death threats and then receiving a very similar note at the crime scene of a councilman who used to work with Diaz. Dinah recognizes the murderer's patterns from a similar case a while back and deduces the Star City killer has returned. Dinah, Renee, Diggle, and Curtis track down the killer's house and investigate, where it's revealed the Dover is the killer. He slits Dinah's throat, but luckily Curtis manages to cauterize the wound before she bleeds out. Dover then confronts Oliver while he's with Felicity and William, claiming Oliver is the only one who understands him. Felicity distracts Dover, giving Oliver the chance to capture Dover and send him back to Slabside. Meanwhile, William is tired of having both his parents be vigilantes and wants a normal life, so he goes behind Oliver and Felicity's back and calls Samantha's parents so he can live with them. Curtis leaves the team in Star City to accept a job at Kohler Humanitarian in Washington, D.C., hoping to use his technology for a more positive impact than just vigilantism. Felicity then receives a phone call from her doctor informing her of some good news. In the flash forwards, Dinah, Zoe, Roy, and William find the bunker only to be knocked unconscious by Black Star and Connor. Black Star reveals Felicity is still alive and that she is Oliver and Felicity's daughter, Mia. Could that be the good news from earlier? In the next episode, we see what Diggle and Lila, the new director of Argus, have been up to. Ever since they found the bank in Zurich, they've been investigating the activities of a criminal mastermind named Dante and his criminal organization known as the Ninth Circle. The threat is bigger than they can imagine, so they revive the Suicide Squad, now dubbing it the Ghost Initiative, and recruit Cupid, Chien, Slade's son Joe, and Diaz, as Diaz was a subordinate of Dante back in the day.
Diaz was the only one we could use to get close to this guy.
We finally see their plan come to fruition as they try to take down Dante in this episode. The Ghost Initiative is deployed and they make contact with Dante as he meets with a famous princess, during which Diggle and Lila discover the mole is Argus director Bell, and Diaz ends up betraying the team to warn him. Dante escapes, and not before killing Belle and the princess. With Felicity's help, Diggle is able to prevent Diaz from escaping and sends him back to Slabside. In the end, Belle gets a hero's funeral and the Ghost Initiative is exposed. Diggle volunteers to take the fall for Lila and hands in his resignation. Meanwhile, Emiko finally lets Oliver help her locate her mom's killer, but tensions clash as Emiko would rather kill her target than arrest him. The episode ends with Felicity telling Oliver she's pregnant, the revelation that Dante and Emiko are working together, and Diaz getting killed in prison when an unknown assailant he recognizes sets him on fire. Not a lot happens in the next episode. Dinah struggles to operate as a vigilante because Dover damaged her vocal cords, making it impossible for her to use her canary cry.
I'm not the Black Canary.
Laurel learns from Turner that Emiko was the one who killed Diaz. Laurel then lets Turner see his son in exchange for valuable information. Laurel confronts Emiko, but Emiko is quick to point out that no one would believe Black Siren, a former criminal. In the flash forwards, William and Mia work together to find Felicity and play a recording Felicity made for them. She gives coordinates to the other members of the team, but they ignore Felicity's orders to leave Star City and instead follow the coordinates to the Glades, which is currently surrounded by a giant, impenetrable wall. The next episode focuses primarily on the future. William and Mia enter the Glades by climbing the wall and follow Felicity's coordinates to Galaxy 1 headquarters. They are almost caught, but are saved by Connor, who reveals himself as an agent of Night Watch, a good version of Argus. Meanwhile, Renee confronts Dinah, Roy, and Zoe, revealing that Galaxy 1 plans to blow up Star City to rebuild it like the Glades. Renee is revealed to be part of this and tries to assure them that the city will be evacuated beforehand, but the trio tries to convince him that the Galaxy 1 is just a front for a terrorist organization called Eden Corp. Mia, William, and Connor enter the headquarters sublevels, where they find an imprisoned Felicity who claims that the building houses the bombs to be used on Star City. The others reunite with them, and eventually Renee, who informs them the bombs are already on site and that there are no plans to evacuate. The group infiltrates the party, where Mia destroys the electronic device held by Galaxy One head Kevin Dale, disabling the bombs. Later, Dale unveils a helmet that would enable Galaxy One to take the Archer program global. Felicity makes amends with Mia, stating that her grudge with Galaxy One is personal. It's revealed that in the present, Felicity was the one who created Archer, originally just as a home security system before it was used as a citywide tracking tool. Inheritance begins back in the present, with Laurel informing Oliver about Emiko killing Diaz. Oliver doesn't believe her until he follows Emiko and sees her with Dante stealing drones. Oliver confronts her about her partnership with Dante, and Emiko explains she owes Dante and the Ninth Circle for helping her when she was abandoned by her father. Oliver offers to help her escape Dante, but Emiko says it's impossible. Using Archer, Team Arrow locates Dante, and Oliver saves Emiko when it looks like she betrayed Dante. He takes her back to the Arrow bunker, but she escapes after being caught planting a jammer.
Wonder how that got there.
This takes down Archer and allows the Ninth Circle to steal sarin gas. Team Arrow tracks the sarin drones to an airfield where Oliver disables all of them but one, which gets away thanks to Emiko and releases the gas over an abandoned building. Emiko is then revealed as the leader of the Ninth Circle and tells Dante about Archer. She also frames Laurel for killing an SCPD witness while releasing photos of her with Diaz to the press as revenge for Laurel telling Oliver about her. In Lost Canary, Laurel getting framed has such a negative impact on her that she starts going back to her life of crime. Dinah confronts her, but then has to resort to bringing in Sarah. They convince Laurel to willingly abandon her life of crime, and she decides to go back to Earth 2 to right her wrongs as Black Canary. Dinah then clears Laurel's name by convincing the police Laurel was undercover when she was with Diaz. Meanwhile, Oliver and Diggle do some investigating regarding Kazumi's death. They discover one of the longbow hunters, Kodiak, was hired by Dante to kill her. In the flash forwards, Galaxy One unleashes Zeta, a new force hunting down the Canary network with a high-tech helmet powered by the Archer program. While the others want to hide, Mia wants to fight back and ambushes one of the Zetas. Mia is outmatched but is saved by Laurel. Mia finally understands what the Canary network fights for, and Laurel tells her to give the Zeta's helmet to Felicity. The next episode begins with Team Arrow discovering the Ninth Circle is after a Department of Defense vault drive, so they decide to call upon the one person Diggle knows in the Defense Intelligence Agency, his estranged stepfather, General Roy Stewart. Unfortunately, Stewart refuses to give up classified intel. Later, the DIA comes to Felicity and Elena's aid when the Ninth Circle tries to steal Archer, but fails to stop them from taking it. Stewart reveals that the drive contains an asset list the Ninth Circle can now track. Oliver then confronts Diggle on why he hates his stepfather, and Diggle explains that Stewart abandoned his father during a mission resulting in his death. He then married his mother and forced him and Andy to have a rigorous Marine upbringing. Diggle got serious daddy issues. While securing the assets, Diggle and Stewart are captured by Dante. Perfect chance for some estranged father-stepson bonding time. Dante captures both of them for the codes belonging to a biological weapon called Cygnus X1, and Stewart surrenders them for Diggle's sake. The two call in Team Arrow with the Spartan helmet and escape. Back at the bunker, Oliver uncovers information on the mission Diggle's father died, and learns he died by his own negligence. Stewart was the true hero when he saved the rest of the unit, but he lied so Diggle would always see his father as a hero. Team Arrow tracks Archer and the Ninth Circle to Cygnus X1. While the rest destroy Archer, Oliver confronts Emiko, telling her Dante had her mother killed. Dante saves Emiko and they escape with the Cygnus X1, after which Emiko kills Dante after finally accepting the truth. Afterwards, Diggle makes amends with Stewart, saying he's a hero because of him. In the flash forwards, Mia and Connor obtain a power module for the tech helmet from the Deathstroke gang, led by Connor's adoptive brother, John JJ Diggle Jr. That's a lot of J's. JJ and Connor don't have a good relationship, so JJ tries to kill both of them, but they manage to escape. Felicity powers up the helmet and learns Galaxy One has expanded Archer. The next episode begins with Dinah and Sergeant Bingsley interrogating Team Arrow, who are in SCPD custody, accused of killing 2 subway station security guards. They reveal that they need more help, so they recruit Roy to help with an operation where they successfully prevented the Ninth Circle from releasing their biological weapon. After Oliver names Emiko Emiko as the killer, the team is released since their stories line up. It's later revealed that they all lied and that Dinah was a part of the operation, in which Roy killed the guards because he was consumed by the bloodlust. Roy had died while battling the Thanatos Guild, but Thea and Nissa revived him in a Lazarus pit. The team lied because they thought it was the only way to protect the team, so they could continue hunting the Ninth Circle.
And as long as she is out there, this city will remain under threat.
Later, Felicity locates the Ninth Circle's base. Oliver confronts Emiko, and she reveals she was the one who sent the subway station security footage to Bingsley. She also reveals that she knew about the Queen's Gambit sabotage and had a chance to warn Robert about it, but refused as revenge for Robert abandoning her. Her goal is to destroy Oliver's legacy, while he dies like a villain, just like their father. And then she blows up the building they're currently in. Oliver wakes up in the next episode buried under lots of debris. He tries to contact his team one floor above him, but the physical and psychological trauma of his situation causes him to hallucinate Tommy. Oliver plans to take revenge on Emiko, but Tommy encourages Oliver to use the best parts of himself to save her, especially when Oliver envisions a scenario where everyone on the team is dead because of his vendetta.
Your compassion and show that side to Emiko.
The team then rescues Oliver. Meanwhile, the SCPD raids Smoke Tech. They accuse Team Arrow of both the cover-up and the biological weapon, which was traced to Archer. Felicity and Elena escape to the bunker, where they are confronted by Emiko. Shockingly, Emiko spares Felicity's life when she learns she's pregnant, and then steals Oliver's arrows. Emiko then attacks the SCPD as the Green Arrow, stealing the weapon back. Oliver tries to reason with her, but she won't listen. He then has a chance to kill her, but he refuses, allowing her to escape. In the flash forwards, the group sets out to destroy Archer as Felicity contacts Elena, who stole the program and sold it to Galaxy 1. William returns to Galaxy 1 headquarters to steal Archer's root code, but he and Renee are caught. Galaxy 1 enters the hideout to arrest the others. Season 7 ends with Emiko beginning to spread the bioweapon throughout the city, and she holds the detonator in the former Queen Consolidated building. Team Arrow reunites with Curtis and Laurel, and even Turner of all people, to stop Emiko. As Team Arrow battles the Ninth Circle and defuses the bombs, Oliver confronts Emiko, pleading for her to abandon this dark path.
I think that together we can be better.
At that moment, Beatrice, another leader of the Ninth Circle, enters and informs Emiko that her failure to destroy Star City while publicly exposing the Ninth Circle has led to the Council turning on her. They try to kill Emiko, so Oliver protects her as they fight the Ninth Circle together. Sadly, Emiko is mortally wounded by Beatrice and tells Oliver to hide Felicity and her baby before he escapes the exploding building. With the city saved once again, everyone goes their separate ways. Oliver and Felicity announce they plan to also leave the city, but not before inventing the Mark of 4.
That my greatest legacy, this team.
They build a new life in Bloomfield, but when Mia is born, Novu appears, demanding Oliver hold up his part of the deal. Oliver is forced to leave Felicity and Mia behind to assist Novu in the oncoming crisis, despite knowing that he will die in the end. In the flash forwards, Connor saves Felicity's group while Zoe saves William and Renee. Felicity then creates a computer virus that can destroy Archer, and the older generation decide to entrust the younger have a chance at saving the city. They break into Galaxy 1 headquarters and upload the virus, destroying the wall protecting the Glades. With the city liberated, the adults charge the kids with protecting the city as they pass on the torch to the younger generation. Felicity then shares one final moment with her children in front of Oliver's grave, before Novu appears to reunite her with Oliver at a place of no return. Only one season left, but it's a doozy. Season 8 begins with Novu sending Oliver to Earth 2 to retrieve dwarf star particles. In this universe, Oliver didn't survive the shipwreck, leaving Robert to become the vigilante instead. Eventually, Robert was exposed, so Adrian Chase assumed the mantle and now works alongside Laurel in protecting the city. When Oliver tries to get the particles, he learns that they were taken by Merlin. Oliver then confronts Merlin as the Green Arrow, assuming Merlin is the Dark Archer in this universe, but it's actually Tommy. Oliver is then joined by Earth 1 Diggle after Cisco gave him an interdimensional extrapolator to travel to different universes, but Oliver gets away from him as he doesn't want Diggle to get involved in this fight.
He's seen what happens. He's watched me die.
Tommy ends up capturing Oliver, revealing he has the particles. Tommy plans to level the Glades with his own version of the Undertaking, as a way to avenge the death of his universe's version of Thea. Oliver breaks free from his chains and Diggle comes to his rescue, reminding him that they are brothers no matter what. They team up with Laurel and Chase to stop Tommy, and Oliver manages to convince Tommy to do the right thing. Tommy gives them the particles just as they're about to leave. An antimatter wave suddenly consumes the entire universe. Oliver, Diggle, and Earth 2, Laurel, barely make it out of there before everything and anyone is killed in that universe. In the flash forward, still taking place in 2040, Mia, Connor, William, and Zoe are currently infiltrating the Deathstroke gang. Unfortunately, they've become more powerful ever since the events of last season. The next episode sees Oliver waking up back on Earth 1 in Hong Kong with Novu explaining why Earth 2 was destroyed. Oliver was only supposed to get the particles and leave, but because he lingered too long, the presence triggered an antimatter wave. Novu gives Oliver strict instructions to not let the same thing happen again and then tasks him with finding the biophysicist named Robert Wong. Oliver teams up with Diggle and Laurel, but Laurel refuses to believe her universe was destroyed and leaves to find an old colleague that can get her back home. At a cafe, Oliver and Diggle are attacked by the Triad, only to be rescued by Tatsu. She helps them locate Wong, but Chien and the Triad take him before Oliver can get to him. Oliver then breaks into the Triad facility and discovers the reason why Chien wants Wong. It's because he's recreated the Alpha Omega virus. Oliver steals the virus, hoping to exchange it for Wong. Oliver meets with Chien, but the deal goes south when Chien brings Wong out with an explosive vest, resulting in a fight. Tatsu fights Chien on a roof and gets stabbed, only to be rescued by Laurel after she accepted the truth about her universe. In the aftermath, the virus is secured and Tatsu heals from her wounds, while Oliver plans to get more answers about Novu at Nanda Parbat. Later, Lila, who helped them on their mission, is revealed to have been working with Novu, and she delivers Wong to him. The next episode begins with Oliver arriving at Nanda Parbat, where he runs into Thea. He tells her about Novu and is brought before Talia, who informs him there's no record of Novu in Raish's records. They search the catacombs where Talia finds an artifact that could lead them to the records on top of a mountain, but then Athena shows up and they're forced to run. As they make their way there, Talia betrays them and gives herself a head start climbing up the mountain. When Oliver and Thea arrive at the location, they discover Athena and her group beat them there and captured Talia. Oliver and Thea manage to defeat both groups through skilled combat and some Indiana Jones-type booby traps. They find what they're looking for, and Oliver realizes Novu trying to prevent the crisis is what's going to cause it. The question is, does Novu know this? Before leaving, Thea convinces Talia to not recreate the League of Assassins, but instead create the League of Heroes. Meanwhile, Diggle and Lila track down a criminal holding Turner's wife, Sandra Hawk, and her son Connor hostage in Kusnia. They kill the criminal and save Turner's family. Wait a minute, Connor, Sandra Hawk. Does this mean Diggle adopts Turner's son? Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in 2040, Mia and the others attack JJ and the Deathstroke gang. Sadly, Zoe is killed by JJ, but before Connor can avenge her death, he, Mia, and William are suddenly teleported to 2019 and meet Oliver, Diggle, Dinah, and Renee in the bunker. The next episode begins right where we left off, with everyone trying to figure out what's going on. Regardless, it's still an incredibly emotional moment for Oliver as he gets to see how his kids turned out. During this, a criminal donning the same Deathstroke outfit starts bombing the city. Mia and the others believe it's JJ, but when they investigate, the bomber turns out to be Slade's other son, Grant. He plants bombs around the future team, but luckily Oliver's team saves them. Connor and William reveal to the present team why they thought Diggle's son was Deathstroke. And Renee and Diggle get into a heated argument when Renee learns Diggle's son kills his daughter. Everyone else has a heated argument, but they all put aside their differences to work together to stop Grant from setting off any more bombs. Curtis joins the fight and they defuse the bombs, while Oliver prevents Mia from killing Grant. The next morning, Oliver takes Mia to his father Robert's grave and tells her that he did not know his true father until he had died. He does not want it to be like that between them. Oliver then gets a call from Curtis, who discovers a Russian general hoping to assemble a pulse wave generator, something that could foil Novu's plans. Laurel exits the SCPD and Novu appears before her. He offers to bring back Earth 2, but it will require a simple task. She must betray Oliver. The next episode begins with Laurel, Oliver, and his kids heading to Russia and meeting with Anatoly. Anatoly finds the general at his battle club, but when they meet with him, the Bratva appears and slaughters him. Oliver and Mia are captured while Laurel, Anatoly, and William get away. They learn the Bratva are going to sell the weapons plans and escape right as the others come to rescue them. Mia and Oliver then get into an argument over Oliver leaving her and William, with Oliver arguing he didn't have a choice. Oliver and Mia cool off and offer some kind of reparation, permitting the group to reunite to find the Bratva and the plans. The group reunite at the battle club, driving Oliver and Mia to battle 6 warriors without a moment's delay in order to successfully distract the Bratva. Laurel and Anatoly get the arrangement and shoot the Bratva pioneer, permitting the entire group to get away. When they return to Star City, Laurel reveals to Lila she has no aim of helping her and Novu. It's also revealed that Laurel set Lila up and brought Diggle and Oliver along. But as the two begin assembling pieces, Lila has her people shoot them with sedatives. The next episode begins with Oliver waking up to find a very much alive Quentin as mayor at a fundraiser. Everything is strange, as Oliver is the only one who isn't carefree and calm about life. Eventually, Oliver figures out that this is what would have happened if Quentin didn't die when he got shot. During that, mercenaries take the SCPD hostage, demanding to speak to Quentin. He agrees to their terms while Oliver defeats them, only for their leader to set off a bomb, killing everyone. Oliver then wakes up just like he did before and realizes he's reliving the same day over and over and over again. Oliver warns Quentin of what is happening, and Quentin immediately believes him, so they work together to stop the bomb this time, but it still goes off. But before that happens, Oliver learns Laurel is also in a Groundhog Day time loop just like him, and they realize this is Novu punishing them. In the third reset, they manage to stop the bomb, but Quentin still dies. On number 4, Oliver and Laurel realize Quentin's death triggers the reset, so the only way to defeat whatever game Novu is playing is to make sure Quentin lives no matter what. Lila then breaks character and tells Oliver he is missing the point and shoots Quentin. On number 5, Quentin gets shot, prompting Laurel to say goodbye to Quentin, and she finally understands the lesson. On the 6th reset, Lila informs Oliver that Laurel's gone, and now he needs to learn to accept the inevitable for everything to end. After a talk with Quentin, Oliver goes through one more reset, gets some closure with Quentin, and allows him to meet his fate. Lila appears and reveals Oliver passed Novu's test by allowing Quentin to have his final moments. She also reveals Novu was the one who brought William, Mia, and Connor to the present, and that everything Novu has put Oliver through has a purpose. Oliver then wakes up on Lian Yu alongside Laurel, Diggle, William, Mia, and Connor. The next episode begins with Lila explaining to the team that Lian Yu has been giving off an immense amount of strange energy, and Lila tasks William with creating a device to harness it, while the plutonium to power it is being brought to the island by Dinah, Renee, and Roy. Lila also explains that she's working with Novu because he showed her it was the only way to protect her family. Upon arrival, their plane is shot down by a missile and crash lands on the island. Diggle, Lila, and Connor rescue Dinah and Renee, while Oliver and Laurel retrieve the plutonium. However, Oliver and Laurel are confronted by a now alive Fires, Wintergreen, and Yao, including everyone else that died on the island that's connected to Oliver's past. It turns out the island's supernatural energy is reviving everyone. So does this mean Lian Yu is the island from Lost? Anyway, Diggle and the others find Roy's right arm pinned under pieces of the plane, and Connor is forced to amputate it in order to save him. Oliver and the team take down Fires and Wintergreen along with anyone else that came to life, while William completes the weapon. William then discovers that the weapon can only be activated with Lila's DNA. She activates the weapon, instantly transforming as she absorbs the island's energy, causing everyone that was revived to disappear. She then opens a portal and leaves. Oliver knows the crisis is going to be happening soon, so he puts his affairs in order and says goodbye to his kids and Diggle. Lila then returns, now calling herself a harbinger of things to come, and informs Oliver and Mia that the crisis has begun, as evident by the sky turning red. The episode ends in Central City with an explorer named Nash Wells opening a door and discovering the Anti-Monitor. He releases it after being tricked into thinking he helped Novu, and now Nash has just doomed the multiverse. And now we've reached Crisis on Infinite Earth. I'm not going to dwell on the other parts too much, just enough to get us up to speed for part 4 in the Arrow show, as there's too much to set up for each episode from 5 different shows. Don't worry, the recaps on those shows are coming. Part 1 of Crisis on Infinite Earths begins with a wave of antimatter ripping its way across the multiverse. Harbinger brings everyone together on Earth 38 to stop it, and Barry informs Oliver that Novu revealed that he is supposed to die in the crisis. Oliver confronts Novu, thinking Novu broke their agreement, but Novu explains the crisis is bigger than anything they've faced before, so a little deception is necessary in order for everyone to prepare for any outcome, not just one.
Do you now comprehend the scope, the danger we all now face?
Everyone tries to use the quantum towers to contain the antimatter, fighting off waves of shadow demons. Unfortunately, the tower can only slow the antimatter down, and Kara's team can't transport everyone on Earth to safety. Oliver tries to buy them more time as Novu portals everyone to safety and gives his life to save billions. Oliver's death shocks Novu, as this is not how he saw Oliver die during the crisis. That's when Nash, now serving his penance for releasing the antimatter as a pariah, reveals he changed certain events and all is lost. Part 2 begins with everyone mourning Oliver's death and the billions lost on Kara's Earth. After consulting the Book of Destiny, Novu learns that the only beings that can stop the Anti-Monitor and reboot the multiverse are 7 paragons: Hope, Destiny, Love, Honor, Courage, Humanity, and Truth. Novu confirms that Kara is Hope and Sarah is Destiny, but he only knows 2 more by description. Truth is a Superman who has suffered more than any mortal man, and Courage is the Bat of the future. After some investigation and awesome cameos, they discover that Kate is the paragon of Courage, and a Superman that looks just like Ray is Truth. Superman has returned! Meanwhile, Sarah, Mia, and Barry enlist the help of Constantine to resurrect Oliver in the only Lazarus pit left. But for some reason, Oliver's soul is missing. During this, Harbinger is secretly contacted by the Anti-Monitor. Part 3 begins with Ray creating a Paragon detector, which identifies Barry as Love, John Jones, aka Martian Manhunter, as Honor, and someone we've never seen before in any show, Ryan Choi, as the Paragon of Humanity. Novu restores Cisco's vibe powers after he cured himself, and he, Barry, and Caitlin meet Pariah and find Anti-Monitor's chamber. Inside, they discover Earth 90 Flash has been trapped running on a treadmill and is powering the antimatter cannon, but he informs them that he has to keep running because of a failsafe that would destroy all the Earths at once if he stopped. Pariah brings black lightning from his Earth to help them, but Barry 1 volunteers to destroy it. Barry 90 stops him, saying Novu never specified which Barry would die, and destroys the cannon. Meanwhile, Constantine, Mia, and Diggle enlist the help of Lucifer to find Oliver's soul in Purgatory, which looks a lot like Lian Yu.
Coincidence? I think not!
They retrieve Oliver's soul, but then a specter named Jim Corrigan appears and convinces Oliver to stay, forcing everyone else to leave without him. Back on the Wave Rider, the Anti-Monitor sends a brainwashed Harbinger to kill Novu, so he can absorb his power and finish destroying the multiverse. Earth 1 is destroyed and everyone is killed, but Pariah sends the Paragons to the Vanishing Point before he is killed, where they witness Lex replace Superman 96 with himself using a Book of Destiny page. Part 4 begins with some backstory on the planet Maltus. 10,000 years earlier, Novu attempted to see the birth of the universe, but to end up in the antimatter universe and reveal the multiverse's existence to the Anti-Monitor. Back in the present, following the multiverse's destruction, the Paragons struggle to survive at the Vanishing Point, but luckily Corrigan teaches Oliver how to use the Spectre's power, so he goes to the Vanishing Point to rescue the Paragons and strengthen Barry. Barry drops Kara, Choi, and Lex on Maltus 10,000 years ago, but temporarily loses everyone else in the Speed Force after an encounter with the Anti-Monitor. Kara and Choi convince Novu not to see the birth of the universe before Barry instead takes them and the other Paragons to the dawn of time. There, they learn that the Anti-Monitor will always learn about the multiverse's existence because how they stopped one version of Novu. The Paragons battle the Anti-Monitor and his shadow demons until Oliver uses the Spectre's power to restore the multiverse, while the Paragons provide help via Lex's page. Despite succeeding, Oliver dies again, and Barry and Sarah pay tribute to their fallen friend. Part 5 begins with the Paragons adjusting to the aftermath. They're the only ones that remember the crisis as they recreate the universe, bringing back all the Earths, but combined Earth 1, Earth 38, and Black Lightning's Earth into Earth Prime, officially rebooting the multiverse. Thankfully, Jean has psionic powers that allow him to restore all our heroes' memories, while Sarah tries to find Oliver. She finds Team Arrow with their memories restored, and none of them are more upset about Oliver's death than Diggle.
Their god is gone.
Nash is freed from his penance, but is traumatized to learn of what he did when Jean restores his memories. Anti-Monitor proves to still be alive, so the Paragons and the heroes team up again to stop him once for all. Nash redeems himself and helps them develop a bomb that shrinks Anti-Monitor indefinitely, banishing him to the microverse. Barry, Kara, Sarah, Kate, Clark, Jean, and Jefferson hold a memorial service for Oliver and agree to protect their new world in his memory. Afterwards, Barry unveils the beginning of what will be known as the Justice League. Green Arrow and the Canaries, Living in the Future, was a backdoor pilot for a show that didn't get greenlit, taking place 2 decades after Oliver's death. Star City ended up not becoming that dark, dystopian, crime-ridden city we previously saw. In the long run, the episode isn't important. All you need to know is Oliver's sacrifice wasn't in vain, and Laurel and Dinah encourage Mia to honor her father's legacy and take on the Green Arrow mantle. In the series finale, we see that Oliver's death did more than create a universe. It created a better one. Oliver was able to stop Slade from killing Moira, crime decreased exponentially, and the other characters like Tommy, Quentin, and Emiko are still alive. I guess you could say Oliver finally saved the city. This also sadly means that the city has no more need for vigilantes. Yet Diggle reminds them of something Oliver once told them: the fight never ends. In 2040, a time-traveling Sarah invites Mia to Oliver's funeral. However, the funeral has to wait as a human trafficker on Oliver's list named John Byrne just abducted William. Curtis, Rory, and even Felicity return to assist with the search, during which Roy proposes to Thea and she accepts. Mia rescues William, but takes a lesson from her father and spares Byrne so he can be arrested.
Oliver Queen didn't kill you, then neither will I.
In the aftermath, Diggle and Lila move to Metropolis with their son and daughter. Dinah declines getting promoted to chief of the SCPD, and Renee continues being a mayoral candidate. Oliver's friends and family host a private funeral for him, during which Emiko meets Thea and Moira for the first time, and they welcome her into the family. Mia and Felicity finally meet, and it's an emotional moment as Felicity gets to meet her daughter as an adult. Diggle then says a final few words to his fallen brother, stating that Oliver may be gone, but his mission and what he inspired and the people around him lives on. We then jump ahead to the year 2040, and we finally see where Novu took Felicity. He takes her to be with Oliver in a paradise dimension where he has finally found peace, giving them the chance to have all the time in the world together in the city Oliver saved. Damn, I'm glad this convoluted soap opera story had a happy ending. Oliver deserved one after everything he went through. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to check out our other videos, and if you liked what you saw, feel free to drop a like, comment, subscribe, do all those other awesome things you people do, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.